2 cups of steaming hot tea. Zhang Zesheng walked to the sofa and sat down. He looked at Lin Xuan and asked curiously, "Brother Xuan, what's the matter with you suddenly looking for me?" Lin Xuan took a sip of tea and said slowly, "The company is currently lacking a general manager position for a branch company. You." Before he finished speaking, Zhang Zesheng couldn't wait to say, "I think I'm a good fit." Chapter 321, Brother. This is for sister-in-law. I want to ask you if you have a suitable candidate, Lin Xuan said with a smile. "Ah, you called me here just for this?" Zhang Zesheng looked confused. "What else? Of course, you can also recommend yourself," Lin Xuan said with a smile. Zhang Zesheng was stunned for a moment. Then he sat up straight and said seriously, "Chairman Lin, I now solemnly apply to you for the position of General Manager of Jinwen Branch. Zesheng, it's not that I don't trust you, but you've always been a technician and have no experience in sales. I'm afraid you can't handle it." Lin Xuan nodded slightly, then said with a little concern, "Chairman Lin, who says that a technician can't be a general manager. I just need this." Then Zhang Zesheng talked a lot about what would happen if he became the general manager of the branch. During the performance, he even stood up full of passion. Lin Xuan sat on the sofa and listened for a full half-hour before it finished. Okay, Zesheng, take a break. Let my ears rest too. It's a pity that you don't do sales." Lin Xuan couldn't help but stop him in the end. "What do you think, Brother Xuan? Am I suitable?" Zhang Zesheng sat down and asked with anticipation. Xuan looked at him with a smile but did not answer his question. Instead, he stood up, walked to the desk, picked up a document and handed it to Zhang Zesheng. "Take a good look at it." Zhang Zesheng hurriedly took the document and showed excitement after taking a look at it. Zhang Zesheng took the document and looked at it and immediately became excited. "Brother Xuan, you are so nice to me. You should have told me earlier that the document was ready. I wasted more than half an hour talking. If you get a promotion, work hard. If you don't, I will remove you," Lin Xuan said with a smile. "Don't worry, I promise to complete the task," Zhang Zesheng said firmly. He looked at the document in his hand again, took out his mobile phone to take a picture, and carefully put it back on Lin Xuan's desk. "Brother Xuan, if there's nothing else, I'll go back and get busy first." Lin Xuan picked up the teacup, took a sip, and nodded slightly to show his agreement. Seeing this, Zhang Zesheng turned around and left the chairman's office. A few seconds later, he poked his head out again and said with a smile, "Brother Xuan, how about we get together tonight at the old place?" "Okay," Lin Xuan put down the teacup in his hand and replied. After Zhang Zesheng went back, Lin Xuan took out his cell phone and called Lu Hanwen, asking him to come to his office as well. Not long after, there was a crisp knock on the door. "Come in," Lin Xuan responded. The door was slowly pushed open, and Lu Hanwen walked in and stood respectfully in front of Lin Xuan. "Director Lin, are you looking for me?" "Manager Lu, please sit down." Lin Xuan smiled and kindly gestured for Lu Hanwen to take a seat, and also thoughtfully served him a cup of hot tea. "What does Director Lin want me to do?" Lu Hanwen asked respectfully, sitting opposite Lin Xuan. "Here's the thing. From now on, you can gradually hand over the work in your hands to other people to handle," Lin Xuan said slowly. Hearing this, Lu Hanwen was shocked and asked quickly, "Director Lin, are you planning to fire me? Is it because I always work overtime in the company and waste a lot of electricity? I can correct this problem. From now on, I will work overtime at home. Moreover, I have elderly parents and young children to take care of, and I am already 35 years old. If I lose this job, I really don't know how to face my family and life. So, Mr. Lin, please don't fire me." Lin Xuan was stunned when he heard this. "I haven't finished speaking yet." So he smiled and explained, Who told you I was going to fire you? If I fire you, wouldn't our company lose a capable person?" After hearing this, Lu Hanwen looked a little relieved, but still asked with some doubt, "So, Mr. Lin, what do you mean?" Lin Xuan raised his lips slightly and continued, "At present, the Haitian district branch has just been established, and the conditions in all aspects are not mature enough. We need someone to lead everyone to work together. So I want you to be the general manager of the Haitian district branch. Are you willing?" After listening to this, Lu Hanwen's originally sad expression instantly turned into ecstasy, and he was so excited that he could hardly speak. Of course I am willing. Thank you very much, Director Lin, for your trust and support." After Lin Xuan completed 2 important company tasks, he looked at the time and found that it was already 11 o'clock. He thought there was no other important matter to deal with today, so he decided to leave the company early and drive home. When he returned home, Daba was sitting on Zhang Xuelin's lap. Seeing Lin Xuan coming in, the little guy immediately shouted happily, "Daddy Tilda." When Lin Xuan heard this, he quickly walked to Dabo, gently picked her up and said softly, "Oh, my baby daddy is back." When Dabao saw his familiar father, a happy smile spread across his face. He twisted his little body happily and waved his little hands and feet. "Mom, where is Xiaobao?" Lin Xuan asked his mother while holding Dabao. Zhang Xulan replied, "He is sleeping in the room and Shifang is watching him." Just at this moment, Lin Sissy pushed open the door and walked in. With a big smile on her face, she shouted, "Mom, bro, I'm off work." I saw that she was holding several express boxes in her hands, which were obviously just picked up. "Sissy, what are you holding in your hands?" Zhang Xulan asked curiously. Lin Sissy said excitedly, "Mom, these are the little gifts I bought for you, and I bought them with my own money." After saying that, she went to the living room and sat down, impatiently starting to open the express boxes one by one. "Mom, this is a gift for you, and this is for Aunt Fang." Lin Sissy took out 2 exquisite gift boxes and placed them on the table in the living room. "What about brothers?" Lin Xuan asked. Lin Sissy rolled her eyes at him and said, "Brother, you are rich and powerful. What other gifts do you want?" Then she opened another package and handed it to Lin Xuan. Sister said no, but isn't this still buying a gift for brother? Lin Xuan said with a smile, but just as he was about to open it, Lin Sissy reached out to stop him. "Brother, this is for my sister-in-law." Lin Xuan. After the family had lunch, Lin Xuan returned to the master bedroom and fell headfirst onto the soft, big bed. Lin Xuan narrowed his eyes and his body gradually relaxed. Just as he was about to close his eyes and take a nap, he suddenly noticed something new on the bedside table. He reached out and picked up the gift box, opened it curiously, and saw that it was an exquisite small Gundam mecha model. It looked like it was not cheap. Just then, he noticed a piece of paper pressed under the model. Lin Xuan smiled slightly after seeing it. There was a grimace drawn by Lin Sissy on the note. There is a line of words next to the ghost face. "Stupid brother." Chapter 322 Lin Xuan, Let's Talk. Night falls and the lights come on. Lin Xuan prepared to go out to have dinner with his university roommates at the agreed time. He walked towards the garage, glanced at every car, and suddenly realized that it seemed like it had been a while since he had driven that cool Lamborghini Lightning. With an idea in his mind, Lin Xuan walked straight to the Lamborghini, gently opened the door and got in. The engine was started, and with a low and powerful roar, the car drove out of the garage like an arrow and headed straight for Jinghai University. Because Chen Jingeming's car was driven away by his girlfriend, Lin Xuan had to pick him up first. About half an hour later, Lin Xuan drove the Lamborghini sports car slowly into the Jinghai University campus. Along the way, countless pairs of eyes stared at this luxury sports car, revealing expressions of envy or amazement. Lin Xuan drove the car to the downstairs of the laboratory building, where Chen Jingeming was with ease. The college students passing by along the way were all curious about this dazzling luxury car, and they all guessed which beauty Lin Xuan was here to pick up. What's more, some girls came directly to the car window to ask questions and tried to chat with Lin Xuan. However, Lin Xuan ignored these people and always maintained an indifferent attitude. More than 20 minutes passed before Chen Jingeming finally hurried down from the laboratory building. At a glance, he saw a Lamborghini parked not far away, and Lin Xuan, who was leisurely playing with his mobile phone in the car. "Sorry, brother Xuan, I'm late. Damn, why did you change your car again? And it's a Danyu sports car," Chen Jingeming said in surprise. "Get in the car quickly. I'm starving to death waiting for you," Lin Xuan said. "Oh, okay. It's all because my instructor suddenly asked me to provide some experimental data just now, so I'm late." Chen Jingeming sat in the passenger seat and complained while fastening his seat belt. "Okay, let's go to the old place. Zhou Quan and Zi Sheng should be waiting there," Lin Xuan said with a smile. Then he started the Lamborghini and drove out of Jinghai University after a roar. "You haven't been here for a long time. The private room has been reserved for you." The proprietress smiled and warmly welcomed them into the store. "Yes, the last time we came here was when we just graduated from college," Zhou Quan said with emotion. "Time flies by so fast. What would you like to order? I'll give you a 20% discount," the proprietress said as she took out a ballpoint pen from her pocket, ready to write it down. "Just arrange some signature dishes." Lin Xuan smiled slightly, expressing his trust in the proprietress. "Okay, wait for me." Then the proprietress smiled and left the private room. "Brothers, it's my treat today," Zhang Zesheng said proudly. "Wow, what's going on? Why are you so generous today?" Chen Jingeming asked curiously. "He, brother Xuan promoted me to be the general manager of the branch." Zhang Zesheng's face was filled with joy and pride. "Then I'll give you a good meal today. I'll ask the boss lady to bring the most expensive dish." After saying that, Zhou Quan couldn't wait to walk out of the private room and go to the proprietress to order food. Jingaming now were the only one missing. How are you doing? Lin Xuan asked. Well, that's it. I've already finished my first year of graduate school and I'm very busy now, Chen Jingaming replied with a helpless sigh. Look at you all now, one by one. You are all shining in your favorite fields, but I am still in dire straits. Chen Jingaming complained somewhat aggrievedly. Hold on a little longer. As soon as I have the chance, I will arrange for you to come to work in the company, Lin Xuan comforted. I'm counting on you, Brother Xuan, Chen Jingaming said gratefully. Why should we talk about these things between brothers? Lin Xuan said with a smile. At this time, Li Menjiao, who was far away in Corning City, was living a fulfilling life. During the day, she studied the school's training courses seriously, and at night she went out with her colleagues to check out the local delicacies. That day, they came to a popular internet celebrity dessert shop. The decoration style of this store is extremely warm and cute, making people feel very comfortable. Li Menjiao ordered a strawberry pearl souffle. When the waiter brought the exquisite dessert to the table, a rich, milky aroma instantly filled the air, making people salivate. She picked up the spoon and gently scooped out a piece and put it into her mouth. The wonderful taste that melted in her mouth made her close her eyes involuntarily and enjoy this incomparable deliciousness to her heart's content. Suddenly, Li Menjiao thought of her husband, so she raised her phone, took a photo, and sent it to Lin Xuan with the text, "Husband, the strawberry pearl souffle here is delicious." Soon, Lin Xuan received the message and replied, "My husband can also make this. I will make it for you when you come back." Li Menjiao smiled slightly when she saw it, and her heart was filled with sweetness. So she sent a love you emoticon. Then she asked, "Husband, what are you doing now?" Lin Xuan quickly replied, "I'm having dinner outside with my roommates." "Oh, then have fun, but don't play too late," Li Menjiao reminded. "Don't worry, I will listen to my wife," Lin Xuan replied with a smile. After Lin Xuan and his brothers finished their dinner, they began to disperse and return to their homes. Lin Xuan sent Chen Jingaming back to school. After arriving at the destination, Chen Jingaming got out of the car and waved goodbye. "Brother Xuan, I'll go back first. Let's meet next time." Lin Xuan smiled and nodded in response. "Okay, no problem, let's make an appointment next time." Then he restarted the car and slowly drove out of the campus. As he just walked out of the school gate, he suddenly felt a little thirsty. So he parked his car on the side of the road, walked quickly into the convenience store at the school gate, and bought a bottle of Fat House Happy Water. Burp comfortable. Lin Xuan returned to the car, took a big gulp, and burped with satisfaction. Just as he was about to continue driving away, a voice suddenly came. "Lin Xuan, it's really you." Lin Xuan subconsciously turned his head and found that the person who spoke was his ex-girlfriend Yi Zixuan. Yi Zixuan's face was filled with astonishment, and she couldn't believe what she saw. The poor boyfriend whom she once despised is now driving a valuable Lamborghini sports car. Lin Xuan didn't want to say anything more to her and was ready to step on the accelerator and leave. But at this moment, Yi Zixuan suddenly rushed to the front of the car and blocked his way. "Lin Xuan, wait a minute. What's the matter?" Lin Xuan looked at her coldly. Yi Zixuan ran to the car window and put on a pitiful look. "Lin Xuan, let's talk." Chapter 323, You're on your own. "I don't think there's anything to talk about with you." Lin Xuan had a stern face and a cold tone. Yi Zixuan was slightly startled, then bit her lip and asked softly, "Then can you take me back?" Lin Xuan frowned and answered without thinking, "It's not on the way." After saying that, he was ready to step on the accelerator and leave. Upon hearing this, Yi Zixuan hurriedly shouted, "Wait, Lin Xuan! I was wrong, can we get back together?" Her voice was trembling and pleading. Lin Xuan turned his head, looked at her with cold eyes, and said slowly, "Do you think it's possible?" Yi Zixuan's face showed pain, tears welled up in her eyes. She choked and said, "How is it impossible? We can get married right away and have a child together." However, before she could finish her words, she was rudely interrupted by Lin Xuan. "Enough! Didn't you despise me for not being able to buy you a brand name LV bag and flirting with a rich second generation in school? Why do you come back to me now?" Lin Xuan's eyes were full of indifference and disdain, as if the woman in front of him was no longer worth his second glance. Yi Zixuan was suddenly speechless and stood there in a daze. She opened her mouth to argue, but found that she couldn't say anything. She knew that what Lin Xuan said was true. In fact, Lin Xuan's family conditions were not bad, but after going to college, he no longer wanted to rely on his family's money to live. Instead, he chose to earn his living expenses and tuition fees through part-time jobs. But Yi Zixuan thought that Lin Xuan's family was very poor and could not satisfy her vanity. Just when Yi Zixuan wanted to continue speaking, Lin Xuan spoke again. "I don't want to make it so embarrassing. You can take care of yourself. After saying that, Lin Xuan stepped on the accelerator without hesitation. The Lamborghini made a roar and quickly left the scene. Yi Zixuan stood there blankly, watching Lin Xuan's departing back, her heart filled with regret and pain. After Lin Xuan returned to the Haitian Yijing villa, he felt that he had eaten too much and needed to digest the food, so he went to the private indoor swimming pool on the second underground floor. He took off his clothes, put on his swimsuit, then jumped into the pool, swimming freely in it like a nimble fish. After swimming for a while, Lin Xuan heard his cell phone ringing. He came out of the swimming pool, wrapped himself in a towel, sat on a chair nearby, and then made a video call. When Lin Xuan saw Li Menjiao's beautiful face appear on the phone screen, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise slightly. On the other side, Li Menjiao screamed, "Ah, husband, why are you not wearing clothes again?" There was a hint of coyness and reproach in her voice. Lin Xuan smiled heartily and explained, "I was just swimming." Li Menjiao's eyes fell on Lin Xuan's shirtless body. She was attracted by his firm muscle lines and obvious eight-pack abs. A strong desire surged in her heart. She wanted to touch. "What's wrong? Is your wife stunned again?" Lin Xuan noticed the change in Li Menjiao's eyes and couldn't help but teasing. Li Menjiao blushed, nodded gently, and admitted, "Yes, I was stunned." Although they had only been separated for a few days, Li Menjiao's longing for Lin Xuan became stronger and stronger. She wanted to hug him immediately and feel his warmth and love. Hearing this, Lin Xuan smiled happily. Then the two started the video chat mode. "Wife, is it fun over there?" Lin Xuan asked first. "Not bad. I study hard during the day and go out for a stroll with my colleagues at night, walking around and shopping." Li Menjiao lay lazily on the bed and smiled. "What about you, husband?" Li Menjiao asked curiously. "Everything is the same here." Lin Xuan thought about it and decided to say it out loud. "By the way, wife, when I came back tonight I met." Lin Xuan hesitated slightly. "Who did you meet?" Li Menjiao asked. My ex-girlfriend," Lin Xuan said, scratching his head awkwardly. Li Menjiao's heart skipped a beat when she heard that, but she quickly calmed down. Then Lin Xuan told her the whole incident in detail. "Honey, I'm really happy because you tell me everything without reservation, which can avoid many unnecessary misunderstandings." After listening to this, Li Menjiao laughed happily as if a heavy burden had been lifted off her shoulders. "Of course, I can't hide it from anyone but my wife," Lin Xuan responded with a doting smile. Tusk, are you so enlightened?" Li Menjiao asked with a smile. There was a hint of teasing in her tone, but her eyes were full of trust and love for Lin Xuan. "What, my wife doesn't believe it?" Lin Xuan said with a smile. "I believe it, and I trust my husband unconditionally." Li Menjiao nodded gently, a happy smile on her face. Just then, a girl's voice came from Li Menjiao's side. "Yiao, come and take a look. Let's go shopping here tomorrow." Hearing this voice, Li Menjiao said to Lin Xuan, "Okay, husband, go back to your room and put on your clothes. Don't catch a cold." "Okay," Lin Xuan nodded with a smile. Then the two hung up the video call. Lin Xuan also finished his swimming exercise. He returned to the master bedroom, washed up, and went to bed. In the next few days, Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao would video call each other every night. Time quickly came to the day before Chinese Valentine's Day. This morning, Lin Xuan came to the company early to handle affairs. At the same time, he was also planning to take a plane to Corning City to find Li Menjiao tonight, when he was immersed in the beautiful picture that emerged in his mind, in which he suddenly appeared in front of Li Menjiao, making her ecstatic. There was a gentle knock on the door, pulling Lin Xuan back to reality from his fantasy. "Come in." "Good morning, Mr. Lin." Liu Wen walked in, holding a document in his hand, and gently pushed open the door. "Is there anything I can help you with, Mr. Liu?" Lin Xuan asked with a smile as he looked at Liu Wen, who walked in. "It's like this. We have an important project tomorrow, and I'm afraid we'll need Director Lin to be present in person," Liu Wen answered truthfully. "Oh," Lin Xuan frowned slightly. "Tomorrow is the Chinese Valentine's Day. Is it necessary to attend this meeting?" Lin Xuan asked. "Yes, I have turned down all other small meetings for you. But tomorrow's meeting is indeed very important and is related to the long-term cooperation between the two parties. And the other party's chairman also attended in person, so," Liu Wen explained. After hearing this, Lin Xuan frowned. Chapter 324, A Familiar Figure. When night fell, Lin Xuan turned on his phone as usual and made a video call with Li Menjiao, who was far away. Mom Tilda, at this time, Xiaobo, who was sitting next to her, saw Li Menjiao on the phone screen and called her in a baby voice that was childish but full of expectation. "Xiaobo, have you been well behaved at home?" Li Menjiao asked with a smile. When Xiaobo saw his mother smile, He also grinned and waved his little hands and feet excitedly. Then Dabao also heard his mother's voice, came over, and immediately squeezed out Xiaobao's seat. Mom, Dabao smiled brightly as soon as he saw Li Menjiao, and he looked so cute. Babies, just hold on for a few more days. Mom will be home soon, Li Menjiao said with a gentle smile. However, Xiaobao, who had just been squeezed out, was a little unconvinced. He came over again and bumped into Dabao with his little head. Seeing this, Dabao glanced at Xiaobao and said, "How dare this little brother bump into me, his sister? You are really rebellious." So the two little guys started to wrestle with each other. Seeing this, Lin Xuan hurried forward to separate them and put them aside. "Honey, when will you come over?" Li Menjiao sat on the bed and asked Lin Xuan on the mobile phone screen. "Well, sorry, wife, I may not be able to go tomorrow," Lin Xuan said with a frown. "Ah, why?" Li Menjiao's voice was full of loss and confusion. "There happens to be an important meeting at the company tomorrow, and I must attend," Lin Xuan explained. "Is that so? Okay, it's okay, husband. I will be home in a few days." Li Menjiao quickly smiled again. "Wife, I will give you another Chinese Valentine's Day later," Lin Xuan said with heartache. "Okay, husband," Li Menjiao replied gently. The two continued chatting for a while, and when they saw that the time was almost up, they reluctantly hung up the video call. Late at night, when everyone was asleep, Li Menjiao curled up in her bed, feeling a faint melancholy in her heart. She had been looking forward to spending a romantic Chinese Valentine's Day with Lin Xuan, but the reality left her somewhat disappointed. But she also understood that there was nothing she could do if her husband really had something to do and couldn't get away from it. Just treat tomorrow as an ordinary day. As long as I can be with him, every day will be happy. Li Menjiao gradually fell asleep. The next day, Chinese Valentine's Day arrived. Lin Xuan got up early, washed up and went out. He attended the meeting as planned with Liu Wen and some of the company's senior executives. At the same time, Li Menjiao has also started a new day. She plans to stay at Corning No. 1 Primary School to gain a deeper understanding of the educational model and teaching methods here. After a whole day of hard work and study, night gradually falls. Li Menjiao finished her day's trip and returned to the hotel to rest for a while. Then I went out with Li Huaru and Zheng Kiki to drink milk tea and relax. They came to a famous local milk tea shop, ordered 3 cups of milk tea with different flavors, and then found a seat outside. The autumn wind blew gently, bringing a hint of coolness, but they didn't feel cold with the hot milk tea in their hands. On the contrary, this cool feeling makes people feel very comfortable. They chatted while sipping the delicious milk tea. Zheng Kiki said with emotion, "When I was observing and learning today, I found that the children in their school were learning very seriously." Li Huaru smiled and said, "Of course, this is an open class. So many teachers are watching who dares not to take it seriously." As she was talking, Li Huaru suddenly realized that today was Chinese Valentine's Day, and the area around her was filled with sweet couples. So she asked Li Menjiao curiously, "Hey, Yayayo, today is Chinese Valentine's Day. Why didn't your boyfriend come to accompany you?" "He suddenly had something to do at the company today, so he can't come," Li Menjiao said with a smile. Just then, a voice came from behind. "What a coincidence, hello." Li Huaru turned around and saw that it was the 3 male colleagues who had been training with them. Because they had trained together for a period of time, they knew each other and often ran into each other during training. "Is it convenient for us to sit together? It seems there is no space anywhere else," one of them said with a smile. Li Huaru looked around and found that it was indeed the case. Except for their seat, which still had some empty seats, the rest were almost all occupied by young couples. "Of course, we will be colleagues from now on," Li Huaru replied with a smile. So the original gathering of 3 people turned into 6 people sitting together. Soon, Li Huaru and Zheng Kiki started chatting with them. Li Menjiao sat aside, only responding occasionally, and most of the time she was quietly sipping the milk tea in her hand. Her shiny black hair falls on her fair shoulders like a waterfall, giving people a gentle feeling. The aroma of the milk tea filled the air, as if adding a bit of charming charm to her. These 3 male colleagues all look good, but one of them stands out more than the others. He is tall and handsome and can easily attract the attention of girls. Chen Hao quickly noticed Li Menjiao, the gentle and lovely beauty. He always considered himself handsome, so he naturally would not miss this opportunity. He smiled and said to Li Menjiao softly, "This beautiful lady seems to be very quiet. Is she feeling unwell?" Li Menjiao raised her head and looked at Chen Hao in front of her with a faint smile on her face and replied softly, "No, I just don't talk much usually." Chen Hao showed a confident smile. "It's okay, we will have more to talk about in the future. Don't be too reserved, relax, we are all colleagues." He thought that this beauty must be shy and didn't like to talk, so he just needed to take the initiative. Li Menjiao nodded politely but did not continue talking. Instead, she picked up her phone, opened Lin Xuan's chat box and sent a message. "What is my husband doing?" However, after waiting for a long time and seeing no reply from Lin Xuan, she couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. She silently put down her phone, picked up the milk tea on the table, and took a sip. Seeing that Li Menjiao did not respond, Chen Hao continued to look for topics to talk about and asked her with a smile, "What subject do you teach?" Li Menjiao answered simply and clearly, "Chinese." "What a coincidence. I'm also a Chinese teacher. It seems we have a lot of common topics to talk about," Chen Hao said with a smile. "Let's add each other on WeChat so that we can communicate more conveniently in the future. Shall I scan you?" Chen Hao took out his mobile phone with a smile on his face. Hey, what's the matter? You fell in love with my best sister right away." Li Huaru couldn't bear to watch it anymore and couldn't help but speak up. This guy has been chatting up Li Menjiao from the very beginning and completely ignored everyone else. "Yes, I do have a crush on this beautiful lady." Chen Hao did not hide his true thoughts and admitted them directly and confidently. "Then don't waste your energy. She has already been married and has children," Zhang Kiki reminded. "Sorry, I'm already married," Li Menjiao said with an awkward smile. Hearing this, Chen Hao first showed a shocked expression, as if he didn't quite believe this fact, and then he looked Li Menjiao up and down again seriously. Soon, he regained his composure. After a moment, Chen Hao raised his lips slightly and said with a smile, "You are lying. Since you are married, why doesn't this beautiful woman wear a wedding ring?" "Yes, Yiao, where is your big, sparkling diamond ring?" Li Huaru also suddenly reacted. She took Li Menjiao's left hand and asked in confusion, "I forgot to bring it when I went out today." Li Menjiao smiled slightly. Then she said to Chen Hao, "I'm really married, so forget about adding WeChat." At this moment, on a street not far away, Li Menjiao saw a figure that was very familiar to her, walking slowly towards her from a distance. Chapter 325, The Beautiful Little Princess. Lin Xuan held a large bouquet of Western region Mandragora Langelos in his hand and walked slowly towards Li Menjiao with steady and firm steps. This Western region Mandragora Rangaros is as beautiful as a dream. Each flower blooms brilliantly, and the colors on the petals are clearly layered, like a colorful painting. It also has a simple name, Rainbow Rose, which symbolizes pure love, rare love meeting you is a miracle. When Lin Xuan was halfway there, Li Menjiao could no longer contain her excitement and joy. She quickly stood up and ran towards Lin Xuan impatiently. She opened her slender arms and lightly threw herself into Lin Xuan's arms. "Honey, be gentle, don't crush the flowers." Lin Xuan hugged Li Menjiao's delicate body lovingly, with a gentle smile on his lips. Half a month later, he smelled that familiar fragrance again. That unique fragrance belonged only to Li Menjiao, making him feel extremely warm and at ease. "My stinky husband, you lied to me again. Didn't you say you couldn't come?" Li Menjiao acted coquettishly in Lin Xuan's arms and rubbed him hard. "The schedule was really tight, but I still managed to slip away 2 hours early and just caught the last flight here in the evening," Lin Xuan said softly, with an affectionate light in his eyes. After listening to this, Li Menjiao was silent for a while, then suddenly raised her head and kissed Lin Xuan's lips hard. Lin Xuan was a little surprised, because his wife rarely took the initiative like this in public. However, he quickly reacted and responded enthusiastically to Li Menjiao's gentle kiss. Chen Hao widened his eyes and stared at the scene blankly, his heart filled with shock and jealousy, especially when he saw Lin Xuan's handsome face. A strong sense of frustration surged in his heart. "Now you see it, that's her husband," Li Huaru said to Chen Hao. Chen Hao awkwardly picked up the milk tea on the table and drank it in big gulps, trying to hide his inner loss and embarrassment. Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao hugged each other tightly and kissed each other passionately. After a while, they finally released each other's lips. At this time, Li Menjiao's whole body was hanging weakly on Lin Xuan, her face flushed, and she was very shy. Lin Xuan noticed his wife's shyness and said to Li Menjiao's colleagues with a smile, "I'll take my wife away first, you guys continue chatting." "Okay, I'll leave Yiao to you," Li Huaru replied with a smile. "Ha, take it away quickly, otherwise we will have to eat a lot of dog food," Zhang Kiki said jokingly. Then Lin Xuan hugged Li Menjiao and left the milk tea shop, leaving behind a group of envious eyes. "Wife, these are flowers for you. Happy Chinese Valentine's Day." Lin Xuan handed a large bouquet of rainbow roses in his hand to Li Menjiao. "Wow, it's beautiful. Thank you, husband." Li Menjiao happily took the flower, lowered her head and smelled it gently, and there was a faint floral fragrance in the air. Wife, you are familiar with this place. Please take me around, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Okay, Tilda, Li Menjiao nodded happily. She held Lin Xuan's hand tightly and took him for a stroll through the streets of Corning City. As autumn deepens, the nights in Corning are enveloped in a light chill. Neon lights are dancing on both sides of the street, interweaving with the dim street lights to form a dazzling galaxy. The trees on both sides of the street have turned golden. The autumn breeze blows gently, and the fallen leaves flutter, as if the elves of the night are dancing. Li Menjiao took Lin Xuan's arm and came to Corning Park. The autumn chrysanthemums in the park are in full bloom, vying for beauty, and become even more gorgeous under the moonlight. The lake reflects the lights on the shore, sparkling and dreamy. They strolled along the lake, taking in the autumn air and enjoying each other's company, the moonlight casting long shadows on them. Honey, are the babies well behaved at home? Li Menjiao looked at Lin Xuan with a gentle smile on her face and asked softly, You're not a good kid. You always cry for your mom. Lin Xuan shook his head gently and smiled. See, I told you that babies are closer to their mothers. When Li Menjiao heard what Lin Xuan said, she smiled brightly. I really want to go back and hug them right away. Li Menjiao continued with a trace of longing in her eyes. Wife, when will the training end? Lin Xuan said gently. It will be over tomorrow afternoon. Li Menjiao replied with a smile. Then Li Menjiao began to share with Lin Xuan every bit of her training and learning during this period. Lin Xuan listened quietly, interjecting a few words from time to time, and the two chatted as they walked. Before they knew it, they had walked out of the park. At this time, Li Menjiao suddenly pointed to a retro coffee shop in front and said excitedly, Honey, look, there is a coffee shop over there. It looks so cool. How about we go have a cup of coffee? Lin Xuan looked in the direction of Li Menjiao's finger and saw that the coffee shop was particularly eye-catching in the autumn atmosphere, making people want to go in and feel the tranquility and beauty. But he still smiled and said, Drinking coffee so late at night, do you still want to sleep? I can sleep later. Li Menjiao raised her eyebrows mischievously, then leaned forward actively and whispered in Lin Xuan's ear in a gentle and slightly coquettish tone. Lin Xuan knew what his wife meant, so he hugged her, lifted her delicate chin slightly, and kissed her softly, smiling. My wife is becoming more and more like a little goblin. Hearing this, Li Menjiao's cheeks instantly flushed, and she said coquettishly, How can you describe your wife like this? Lin Xuan looked at her cute appearance and couldn't help laughing. He quickly changed his words. My mistake, my wife is not a little goblin, but a beautiful little princess. That's more like it. Li Menjiao snorted. Then she took Lin Xuan's hand and pushed open the door of the cafe together. The girl at the front desk greeted us warmly. Welcome, both of you. What would you like to drink? What do you want, honey? Li Menjiao said gently. I'd like a cup of mocha coffee, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Li Menjiao nodded, took out her mobile phone to pay the bill, and then found a seat by the window with Lin Xuan and sat side by side. Not long after, 2 cups of steaming, fragrant coffee were brought over. Li Menjiao held the cappuccino in front of her with both hands. The sweet aroma of milk foam and the mellow taste of coffee were intertwined, lingering around the tip of her nose, making people intoxicated. The swan pattern on it was the finishing touch. She couldn't help but take a sip, feeling the silky texture and rich taste, with a happy smile on her face. Honey, what's the pattern on your mocha coffee? Li Menjiao turned to look at Lin Xuan beside her and asked curiously. Lin Xuan was stunned for a moment, then looked down at the cup in his hand. I was just busy drinking and didn't have time to look at it. Chapter 326, Golden Autumn Brilliance Amber Set. Li Menjiao rolled her eyes at him helplessly. Is this how all boys drink? However, she still leaned her head on Lin Xuan's shoulder, enjoying the warm moment. Lin Xuan also stretched out an arm and hugged Li Menjiao tightly. However, at this moment, Li Menjiao's little hand suddenly reached into his clothes and began to play naughty things on his belly. What are you doing, wife? It's so itchy. You're still outside. Lin Xuan couldn't help laughing out loud. Don't move, let me touch it. Li Menjiao glared at Lin Xuan with a hint of dominance in her tone. Lin Xuan had no choice but to obey. After a while, Li Menjiao suddenly stopped, looked up at Lin Xuan, her eyes full of concern. Honey, haven't you had dinner yet? She asked softly. You figured all this out? Lin Xuan looked at Li Menjiao in surprise. In fact, he was busy catching a plane. After getting off the plane, he went to buy flowers immediately and then hurried to see Li Menjiao. He had no time to eat dinner at all. Why didn't my husband tell me earlier? What if I get hungry? Li Menjiao said with a distressed look on her face. It's not so easy to get hungry. Lin Xuan gently touched Li Menjiao's hair and smiled. No, wait a minute. I'll go get you some delicious food. Li Menjiao raised her head and gave Lin Xuan a light kiss on the cheek, then walked briskly towards the front desk with the clattering of her calves to order food. After a while, Li Menjiao came back. She said to Lin Xuan seriously, "Husband, no matter how busy you are in the future, remember to eat on time. Did you hear me?" "Well, I listened to my wife," Lin Xuan replied with a smile. Hearing Lin Xuan's words, Li Menjiao smiled happily, revealing two cute dimples. Not long after, the waiter brought the food that Li Menjiao ordered, an exquisite blueberry cheesecake, a tuna and ham sandwich, a New Orleans grilled wings, and a set meal of French fries and fried chicken. Lin Xuan happily began to enjoy his delicious dinner. Li Menjiao held her chin with both hands, staring at Lin Xuan without blinking, with a happy smile on her face. "Honey, can you give me a sip of your mocha coffee? Honey, give me a sip of your cappuccino, too." In this season of cool autumn wind, two people who love each other are sitting together in a quiet cafe, drinking each other's coffee, looking at the falling leaves outside the window, and talking about every little thing in life. Their eyes met, full of tenderness and love. After drinking coffee, Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao took a taxi back to the hotel together. "Honey, where is your hotel?" Li Menjiao suddenly asked. Lin Xuan smiled slightly. "In the same hotel as you." "How do you know which hotel I am in?" Li Menjiao asked in surprise. Lin Xuan smiled and pointed at the black diamond technology watch in his hand and said, "Little fool." Li Menjiao then realized that their high-tech watches have always had detailed positioning functions. "Humph, then she is not stupid." So Li Menjiao gently bumped Lin Xuan's chin with her little head to express her dissatisfaction. Soon the car arrived at the hotel entrance. Li Menjiao first returned to her room and began to pack her things. At this time, roommate Li Huaru came back. "Hey, I'll pack up and go to your husband's place as soon as you come back," Li Huaru teased. Li Menjiao blushed and nodded, saying, "Yes, my husband also booked this hotel." "Yao, please don't go. I'm scared to sleep in the hotel alone," Li Huaru said, walking forward to hug Li Menjiao, speaking pitifully. "Ha ha ha, Huaru, you are so grown up. If you are scared, you can ask Kiki to sleep with you." Li Menjiao smiled helplessly and comforted her best friend in her arms. "Oh yes, and Kiki." After hearing what Li Menjiao said, Li Huaru remembered that there was Zheng Kiki and quickly turned to look at Zheng Kiki. "Kiki, come and sleep with me tonight." "Ah!" Before Zheng Kiki could react, Li Huaru forcibly pulled her into the room, and then she smiled and said to Li Menjiao, "Okay, Yao, go to your husband." "Tusk, are you kicking me out now?" Li Menjiao said with a smile. "Okay, let's go quickly. Don't make your husband wait anxiously." Li Huaru pushed Li Menjiao out with a sly smile on her face. Then Li Menjiao, with a red face, dragged her luggage to the door of Lin Xuan's room and knocked gently. When Lin Xuan heard the knock on the door, he immediately opened it and saw Li Menjiao outside. Without saying a word, he pulled Li Menjiao and her luggage into the room. Before Li Menjiao could react, Lin Xuan pinned her against the wall. Lin Xuan put one arm around Li Menjiao's slender waist, quickly closed the door with the other hand, then leaned over and kissed her delicate red lips. It was late at night, and the moonlight was pouring down on the earth like water. Li Menjiao lay on Lin Xuan with the corners of her mouth slightly raised and a happy smile on her face. Lin Xuan looked down at Li Menjiao in his arms and said softly, "Wife, I actually have another gift for you." Hearing this, Li Menjiao immediately perked up, propped herself up with one hand, her eyes sparkling with curiosity and anticipation, and asked impatiently, "What gift?" Then Lin Xuan stood up, took out the Golden Autumn Glory amber-set box from his backpack, and then returned to the bed and handed it to Li Menjiao. Li Menjiao took the gift box, and looking at the exquisite packaging, she guessed that this must be another valuable gift. She carefully unwrapped the paper, and inside were 3 dazzling pieces of jewelry: an amber necklace, an amber bracelet, and a pair of amber earrings. The amber necklace is a rare, extremely pure and rich Baltic blood amber, which has been finely polished into a teardrop shape. The surface is engraved with exquisite golden autumn wheat ear patterns, and the blood amber is surrounded by an exquisite wheat ear texture border made of 18K gold. It is dotted with high-quality yellow diamonds, which are dazzling and complement the deep red color of the blood amber. The amber bracelet is made up of 10 even-sized chicken fat yellow amber beads. Each bead is rounded and exudes a warm luster. The beads are separated by small maple leaf-shaped spacers made of 18K gold. The maple leaves are inlaid with white diamonds, adding to the gorgeousness of the bracelet. Amber earrings are made of golden amber as the main stone. They are oval in shape and present a charming golden color. The amber is surrounded by an 18K gold ginkgo leaf, shaped frame inlaid with pink diamonds. The ear hooks are also made of 18K gold, fitting the curve of the ear, making them comfortable and beautiful to wear. The amber used in the entire set of Golden Autumn Splendor amber set is of superior quality and exquisite workmanship. It integrates the elements of Golden Autumn and shows luxury and nobility. Chapter 327. Your family member is here to pick you up. Li Menjiao gently put down the exquisite box in her hand and turned around. Her eyes, bright as stars, sparkled with emotion. She hugged Lin Xuan tightly, rested her chin gently on his broad shoulders, and said in a tender voice, "Hubby, I already have a lot of precious jewelry. Why do you want to give me such an expensive gift?" The corners of Lin Xuan's mouth rose slightly, revealing a doting smile. He also stretched out his arms to hug Li Menjiao's slender waist, feeling her soft body, and whispered, "Wife, don't you like it?" Li Menjiao leaned back slightly, creating some distance between herself and Lin Xuan, and gazed at him lovingly, her eyes full of love and joy. "I like it, of course I like it." Lin Xuan stretched out a warm big hand, gently stroked Li Menjiao's fair and smooth cheek, and said softly, "This set of Golden Autumn Splendor jewelry is very suitable for wearing in autumn. From now on, I will give you a set of jewelry corresponding to each season." After all, which girl would complain about having too many beautiful jewelry? When Li Menjiao heard these words, she felt an indescribable emotion in her heart. With a little effort, she pushed Lin Xuan onto the soft big bed. Then Li Menjiao took the initiative to move forward and sealed Lin Xuan's lips with her tender cherry lips. The sunlight shines into the room through the curtains, and a new day begins. Li Menjiao woke up early from Lin Xuan's warm embrace. She got up carefully, afraid of waking up Lin Xuan, who was still sleeping soundly. She quickly washed up, packed up, and prepared to go to school for the training course. "Wife, why are you up so early?" Lin Xuan was sleepy and looked vaguely at Li Menjiao, who was combing her hair in front of the mirror. "Honey, you're awake, Tilda." Li Menjiao turned around with a happy smile on her face. Then she walked over to Lin Xuan and gently left a tender kiss on his forehead. This made Lin Xuan feel like he was being kept. "How about letting your husband take you there?" Lin Xuan asked with a smile. "No need, Huru and I will go together. You can continue to sleep, husband," Li Menjiao replied with a smile. "Okay then," Lin Xuan nodded. "Hubby, wait for me to come back and don't run around." Li Menjiao stood up, picked up her cute small bag, and prepared to leave the hotel. "Okay, I promise not to run around." Lin Xuan smiled slightly and gave Li Menjiao a reassuring look. As the door closed gently, Lin Xuan lay on the bed for a while, playing with his phone out of boredom. It wasn't long before he found lying in bed like this boring. So he got up quickly, had a simple breakfast, and decided to leave the hotel and go around Corning. Lin Xuan strolled along the street, feeling the unique atmosphere of the city. The streets are lined with shops of all kinds and are bustling with people full of the breath of life. Afterwards, Lin Xuan followed a group of elderly people for a walk in a small park. Unconsciously, he looked up and found that there was a 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree in the center of the park. It was afternoon, and Li Menjiao finally finished the training organized by the school. "Yayo, don't you want to go back with us?" Li Huru asked. "No, my husband and I will go back later." Li Menjiao smiled and waved her hand. "Oh, forget it, that's what women with families are like," Zheng Kiki joked. The three of them walked towards the school gate, talking and laughing. When they were about to reach the school gate, Li Huru suddenly pointed forward and said to Li Menjiao with a smile, "Hey, Yayo, look, your boyfriend is here to pick you up." Hearing this, Li Menjiao looked in the direction Li Huru pointed, and sure enough, she saw Lin Xuan standing there quietly, with a gentle smile on his lips, his eyes always on her. "Then I'll leave. Let's play together after we return to Jinghai City." Li Menjiao turned around and smiled sweetly at Li Huru and Zheng Kiki. "Go ahead," Zheng Kiki also responded with a smile. So Li Menjiao trotted towards Lin Xuan with a brisk pace, then naturally took his arm and said with a smile, "Hubby, didn't I tell you not to run around?" Lin Xuan smiled slightly, his tone full of pampering. "How can coming to pick up your wife from get off work be considered running around?" "Hee, it doesn't count, Tilda." Li Menjiao's brilliant smile made people's hearts tremble. Then the two of them left the school hand in hand. Their figures gradually faded away and finally disappeared from people's sight. Honey, this doesn't seem to be the way to the hotel." Li Menjiao looked at the road under her feet and asked in confusion. "I changed to another hotel and moved all our luggage there," Lin Xuan said with a smile. "Look, this is the one." Then Lin Xuan pointed to the front. Li Menjiao looked in the direction of Lin Xuan's finger and saw a magnificent building in front of her, the most expensive 5-star hotel in Corning City. The hotel covers a large area, and its exterior is decorated very luxuriously. Its unique architectural style is very representative in the entire city of Corning. Lin Xuan booked the presidential suite of this hotel. When they arrived at the hotel lobby, the staff received them warmly and led them to the presidential suite. After entering the presidential suite, all the equipment is top-notch, and the decoration is extremely exquisite. Li Menjiao could clearly see the bustling city streets of Corning and the flashing lights in the distance from the window. As night fell, Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao enjoyed a sumptuous and luxurious buffet dinner downstairs in the hotel. After eating and drinking, Li Menjiao continued to take Lin Xuan for a walk on the streets of Corning City. It's still lively here. Li Menjiao looked around, feeling the hustle and bustle and vitality of the night. Lin Xuan looked at Li Menjiao with a smile and said, "Wife, let me take you somewhere." Where is it? I seem to be more familiar with this place." Li Menjiao blinked her beautiful eyes. Lin Xuan smiled slightly and said mysteriously, "You will know when you go there." Hearing this, Li Menjiao's eyes flashed with anticipation, and she obediently responded, "Okay, Tilda." Then Lin Xuan took Li Menjiao's hand and came to the small park in the morning. "I've never been to this small park," Li Menjiao said softly. "I come here to hang out when I have nothing to do in the morning," Lin Xuan said with a smile. "It seems there's nothing good to see." Li Menjiao saw that the surroundings were basically filled with dense flowers, plants, and trees, which looked very ordinary. "Don't be in a hurry, walk forward for a while," Lin Xuan said with a smile. So they continued along the park path. Not long after, Li Menjiao was surprised to find that the fallen leaves under her feet gradually changed from withered leaves to golden yellow. When she looked up again, the scene before her shocked her. Lin Xuan had brought her to a huge, 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree. Chapter 328 symbolizes our eternal. At night, the moon is bright, and its silver light pours down on this quiet and ancient village. The 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree stands peacefully on the earth like a sleeping giant. Its trunk is thick and strong, like the body of a giant, solid and powerful. Its crown is like a huge golden umbrella, holding up a vast sky. The golden leaves on the tree swayed gently in the breeze, making a pleasant rustling sound. Occasionally, a few golden leaves float down, dancing and spinning in the air. Finally, it fell lightly to the ground, making a subtle sound, as if it was a beautiful melody played by nature. The moonlight shines through the gaps between the ginkgo leaves, casting mottled shadows on the ground, like a dreamy puzzle, giving people a mysterious and beautiful feeling. Autumn insects are chirping softly in the grass, and the mountains in the distance are looming in the night, with blurred outlines, which contrast with the ginkgo trees, forming a beautiful and poetic picture. "It's so beautiful," Li Menjiao couldn't help but exclaimed. She was deeply attracted by the beauty before her. Lin Xuan gently embraced Li Menjiao in his arms, looked at her affectionately with a faint smile on his lips, and said softly, "Wife, do you know what this 1,000-year-old ginkgo tree symbolizes?" Today, Li Menjiao wore a khaki British-style long coat, a snow-white shirt inside, and a dark gray pleated skirt, which perfectly showed her slender and white legs. At the same time, she wore a set of magnificent amber jewelry, which made her look particularly noble and elegant, complementing the beautiful scenery in front of her. Hearing Lin Xuan's question, Li Menjiao raised her head, her bright eyes revealing deep emotions, and she asked softly, "What does it mean?" Lin Xuan smiled slightly with a firm light in his eyes and replied, "It symbolizes our eternal love." After hearing this, Li Menjiao felt a warm feeling in her heart. She stretched out her arms and hugged Lin Xuan's neck, gently pressing her soft lips against Lin Xuan's lips, their breath intertwined. Looking from a distance, it looked like a pair of lovers were standing quietly under this ancient ginkgo tree, hugging and kissing each other tightly. The stars in the sky seemed to blend into the golden leaves, so bright and dazzling that it is difficult to tell whether it is the stars in the sky that have fallen into the mortal world, or the light of the ginkgo tree that illuminates the night sky. Time passed quietly until the next morning. The sun had just risen, and the warm sunlight shone into the room through the curtains. Li Menjiao fell asleep tiredly on Lin Xuan. They stayed up late again yesterday. Lin Xuan woke up slowly, and as soon as he opened his eyes, he saw Li Menjiao's delicate face pressed tightly against his cheek, rubbing gently. Her beautiful eyes were closed, her breathing was steady and even, and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, as if she was having a sweet dream. Lin Xuan looked at his beautiful wife in front of him with a smile, his heart full of happiness and satisfaction. He looked at the time and found it was still a little early, so he hugged her quietly, enjoying the tranquility and warmth. An hour later, Li Menjiao was gently awakened by Lin Xuan. "Wife, it's time to get up. Lin Xuan said gently. I'm so sleepy, I don't want to get up. Li Menjiao closed her eyes and murmured her answer, with a hint of coquettishness and reluctance in her tone. Lin Xuan smiled dotingly, then leaned over and kissed Li Menjiao's soft and tender earlobe and whispered, Baby, if you don't get up, we will miss the plane. Hearing this, Li Menjiao finally slowly opened her beautiful eyes, revealing a hint of resentment in her eyes. She sat up very reluctantly, pouted and said to Lin Xuan, Change my clothes. So Lin Xuan took charge of all of Li Menjiao's getting up tasks, carefully put beautiful clothes on Li Menjiao, helped her wash, brush her teeth, wash her face, and finally took her downstairs to enjoy the luxurious buffet breakfast provided by the hotel. After everything was packed, the two dragged their luggage, called an online taxi, and arrived at Corning Airport. Li Menjiao held Lin Xuan's arm tightly, looking at the strange and novel environment around her, and whispered nervously, Hubby, I haven't been on a plane yet. From childhood to adulthood, she has hardly ever traveled far, so she usually traveled by car or green train, or at most by high-speed rail. Hearing this, Lin Xuan smiled and said softly, Don't be afraid, your husband is here. Just follow your husband, he won't sell you out. Hearing this, Li Menjiao burst out laughing and teased, How could you bear to part with such a lovely wife? Lin Xuan raised the corners of his mouth slightly, hugged Li Menjiao, kissed her smooth and fair left cheek, and then smiled gently. Of course I am reluctant. After saying that, Lin Xuan took Li Menjiao through the security check and entered the airport. Wherever Li Menjiao's eyes reached, there was a spacious corridor that seemed to have no end. Exquisite shops and restaurants lined both sides, with a wide variety of merchandise in the windows. The aroma of delicious food permeates the air. Some people waiting for their flight are in a hurry, while others are sitting leisurely in comfortable seats, reading newspapers or playing with their phones. Honey, are all airports this big? Li Menjiao looked left and right curiously, and finally leaned over and whispered in Lin Xuan's ear. Lin Xuan smiled dotingly. This is just a small airport. The airport in Jinghai City is much bigger than this one. As they were talking, Lin Xuan had already brought Li Menjiao to the boarding gate and found a seat to wait for the flight. While waiting, Huang Shifeng made a video call, and Li Menjiao quickly picked up the call. Unexpectedly, it was a cute little baby who appeared. The little guy was staring at the phone with his big round eyes. Xiaobo, Mommy is here. Li Menjiao smiled and waved at the camera of the mobile phone. Mom Tilda. Xiaobo looked at Li Menjiao on the phone screen. After hearing the familiar voice, he reacted after a while and called out in a baby voice. Hey, Mom will be back soon. Li Menjiao's face was filled with a happy smile. Yaya, what time is your flight? Huang Shifeng appeared behind Xiaobo and asked gently. The flight is at 10 a.m. and we're about to board. Li Menjiao replied. Okay, then we'll wait for you to come back for dinner, Huang Shifeng said with a smile. Just then, the sound of a broadcast was heard around the waiting room. Dear passengers, please take note. The flight from Kangning to Jinghai, Beijing Airlines 1688, will start registration soon. Chapter 329, Husband, Will We Die Here? Mom, let's stop talking. It's time to board the plane, Li Menjiao said to the phone screen. Okay, have a safe trip. Huang Shifeng's gentle voice came from the phone. Then Li Menjiao hung up the video call, smiled and took Lin Xuan's hand and walked towards the boarding gate. After entering the plane's cabin door, the two quickly found their seats and sat down. The first-class area is spacious and beautifully decorated. The seats are wide and soft, providing excellent body support. The seat spacing is extremely wide, giving you enough leg room. It's completely incomparable to economy class. This is the power of money. Li Menjiao looked out the window with curiosity. Not long after, the plane started to move and then slowly glided on the runway, getting faster and faster. Li Menjiao leaned on Lin Xuan nervously. The strong push on her back made her heart jump. She felt as if she was about to be thrown out, and the scene outside the window was also tilting rapidly. Lin Xuan felt Li Menjiao's nervousness. He hugged her tightly and comforted her softly. Don't be afraid. As the plane took off, the fuselage continued to rise, and after breaking through the clouds, it finally entered a stage of stable flight. Li Menjiao's anxious heart gradually settled down, replaced by endless novelty and excitement. She looked out through the porthole and saw white clouds floating around her like cotton candy. It seemed as if she could touch them with just her hand. The sunlight fell on the sea of clouds, creating patches of golden light. It was like a dream and extremely beautiful. At this moment, Li Menjiao's face blossomed with a surprised smile. She turned her head to look at Lin Xuan and said happily, Look, honey, it's so beautiful. When Lin Xuan saw Li Menjiao so happy, the corners of his mouth couldn't help but rise slightly. He took out his camera with a smile, pressed the shutter button towards the beautiful picture of Li Menjiao leaning against the porthole, and recorded this beautiful moment. The plane was flying steadily in the vast blue sky. Some passengers were enjoying the beautiful scenery outside the window, while others were closing their eyes to rest. Li Menjiao gradually became tired of the scenery outside the window and turned to look at Lin Xuan beside her. Lin Xuan was concentrating on reading the magazine in his hand. The sunlight outlined his handsome profile, which made people feel admiration. She leaned gently on Lin Xuan's shoulder, feeling his warmth, closed her beautiful eyes, and prepared to take a nap. However, an hour later, the originally calm sky began to turn gloomy. The wind and clouds changed suddenly, and without any warning, an extremely rare purple cloud appeared in front of the plane. This cloud is like a mysterious vortex, emitting an eerie light. Immediately afterwards, a strong wind came howling, as if it was going to swallow everything. The plane was instantly sucked into it, and the strong airflow caused the fuselage to shake violently. The cabin was in chaos. Passengers were screaming in fear. Luggage and belongings were flying everywhere, and collisions were heard one after another. "Honey, what's going on?" Li Menjiao hugged Lin Xuan's arm tightly, with a hint of fear in her voice. "It's okay, it's probably just some air current." Lin Xuan comforted her with a smile, but he felt vaguely uneasy in his heart. He glanced out the plane window and saw dark clouds, howling winds and lightning streaking through the dark sky, as if doomsday was coming. Li Menjiao raised her head and noticed Lin Xuan's frown and serious expression. She rarely saw her husband so serious, and it was obvious that the situation might be far more serious than they had expected. In the cockpit, the captain and co-pilot looked solemn, with beads of sweat on their foreheads. They gripped the joystick tightly and kept adjusting the plane's attitude, but they still couldn't completely offset the impact of the strong airflow. "Tower, this is Beijing Airlines 1688. We have encountered a rare purple cloud. The airflow is extremely strong and the plane is experiencing severe turbulence. Please instruct us on the next action." The captain shouted into the communicator while trying to control the plane. Soon, a response came from the tower. "Beijing Airlines 1688, please remain calm and try to stabilize the aircraft. We are coordinating rescue and alternate landing plans for you. Please report your situation at any time." "Understood," the captain replied. He took a deep breath and continued to work with the co-pilot to try to bring the plane back to normal track. However, at this moment, the co-pilot discovered a serious problem. "Tower, the electronic equipment is experiencing strong interference, and some instrument data are abnormal," the co-pilot shouted anxiously. The captain frowned, his heart sinking. "We lost partial control of the aircraft and we..." Before the captain could finish his words, suddenly, a strong electromagnetic pulse was released from the cloud, instantly covering the entire plane. This electromagnetic pulse caused great interference to the aircraft's electronic equipment, causing many systems to fail. At the same time, the captain and co-pilot were also hit by the strong electric current and fell into coma instantly. As the captain and co-pilot fell unconscious, the plane began to gradually lose control. The fuselage swayed in the air, and the passengers screamed in fear. Li Menjiao, who was sitting in her seat, hugged Lin Xuan beside her in fear and asked in a trembling voice, "Husband, are we going to die here?" Her eyes were moist, and tears were welling up in them. "My child is not even 1 year old yet." Lin Xuan patted Li Menjiao's hand gently and said softly, "No, we have to trust the crew members. They will definitely find a solution." Although he himself was filled with fear, he still tried his best to comfort his wife. Lin Xuan looked at the shaky plane in front of him, and a feeling of powerlessness surged in his heart. At this moment, the voice of the system sounded in his mind. But at this moment, the system in his mind suddenly made a sound. "It is detected that the host is in a dangerous situation, endangering life safety. In order to ensure the happiness of the host and the babies, the emergency hedging special reward is now triggered." Then the system continued. "Give the host top-level aircraft driving skills and automatically obtain the qualification to fly domestic civil aircraft. The relevant qualification certificates have been placed in your backpack. Please check." In an instant, a large amount of knowledge about aircraft flying flooded into Lin Xuan's mind, as if it was directly imprinted deep in his soul. At this moment, he has become the best pilot in the world. However, at this moment, the passengers in the cabin were in chaos. A businessman in a suit and tie, his elegant demeanor gone, his face pale, frantically pulling at his tie, shouting, "What the hell is going on? Are we going to die?" A mother with a child hugged the child tightly in her arms, tears flowing like a broken dam, and she coaxed the frightened and crying child incoherently. "Baby, don't be afraid, don't be afraid." An old man with gray hair put his hands together and prayed tremblingly, "God bless you, God bless you." There was also a young couple hugging each other, the girl crying while the boy looked confused, his eyes full of fear and despair. Finally, a burly man waved his fist angrily and yelled at the flight attendant, "What's going on? You must give us an explanation." Chapter 330, Husband, I will always believe in you. At this time, the chief flight attendant Zai Yanbing walked quickly from the middle of the cabin with an anxious look on her face, shouting as she walked, "Everyone please stay calm, everyone please stay calm. Follow the emergency plan first." She had been trying hard to calm the panicked passengers in the cabin, but at this moment, the warning lights in the cockpit suddenly began to flash rapidly, and at the same time, a sharp and piercing alarm suddenly sounded. Zai Yanbing had a bad feeling in her heart, and she quickly tried to contact the cockpit through the internal communication system. However, after calling many times, there was still no response from the other side. Zai Yanbing looked solemn, her brows furrowed, and she prayed silently in her heart that nothing would happen. She quickened her pace and hurried towards the cockpit. Zai Yanbing came to the cockpit door, took a deep breath and opened it. However, the scene before her made her feel as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. The captain and the co-pilot both slumped in their seats with their eyes closed, seemingly having lost consciousness. Zai Yanbing's body began to tremble involuntarily. She hurried forward and patted their shoulders, but no matter how she called, the two did not respond. Zai Yanbing's mood was extremely heavy. She sat down on the ground powerlessly. Her eyes gradually became moist and tears flowed uncontrollably. She felt an unprecedented despair enveloping her whole body. At this moment, Zai Yanbing didn't know how to face all this, as if the whole world had collapsed. She knew that not only the captain and co-pilot had lost consciousness, but everyone on the plane might also die. Lin Xuan saw that the plane was about to fail, and he could no longer sit there and wait for death. "Wife, please stay here and don't go anywhere." Lin Xuan tried his best to make his voice sound calm and gentle. "Husband, where are you going?" Li Menjiao hugged Lin Xuan tightly, her eyes full of fear and reluctance. "I'm going to take over the plane," Lin Xuan answered firmly. He knew very well that this was the only way to save everyone's lives. Although the risk was extremely great, he had no choice but to fight for it. But Li Menjiao hesitated to speak, tears welling up in her eyes. "Wife, do you believe me?" Lin Xuan looked at Li Menjiao affectionately, his eyes full of love and determination. Li Menjiao stared at Lin Xuan as if she wanted to engrave his appearance deeply in her heart, then nodded heavily and said firmly, "Husband, I will always believe in you." After saying that, she gently left a kiss on Lin Xuan's lips, then quickly let go. Seeing that time was running out, Lin Xuan turned around and took out his flight certificate from his backpack, then immediately stood up and staggered towards the cockpit. When he arrived at the cockpit door, he found the chief flight attendant Zai Yanbing slumped on the ground with tears streaming down her face. "Captain, what's going on now?" Lin Xuan asked anxiously. Zai Yanbing raised her head and looked at Lin Xuan, but then her expression dimmed again. She sobbed and said, "Both captains are unconscious. Everything is over. We are all going to die here." Lin Xuan placed his hands tightly on Zai Yanbing's shoulders and lifted her up with force. "We can still be saved. Don't panic. Let me enter the cockpit. I have a civil aviation pilot's license," Lin Xuan shouted at the top of his voice. As he spoke, Lin Xuan hurriedly took out a certificate from his pocket and handed it to Zai Yanbing. Zai Yanbing widened her eyes and looked at the driving license in Lin Xuan's hand, as if hope had been rekindled. She turned around quickly, opened the cockpit door, and asked Lin Xuan to go in quickly. "Captain, go and calm the passengers right now. Tell them not to panic. I will do my best to ensure everyone's safety." After saying this, Lin Xuan quickly walked into the cockpit. "Good." Zai Yanbing also realized at this moment that there might still be a glimmer of hope, but the current situation is beyond imagination, and she can only choose to trust Lin Xuan. She took a deep breath, tried to calm herself down and wiped the tears from her face. Then she turned around, walked quickly into the cabin, and began to calm the frightened passengers. Lin Xuan walked into the cabin and saw the captain and co-pilot both unconscious in their seats. Without thinking too much, he hurried forward and moved the two people away from their seats and placed them aside. Then he quickly sat in the driver's seat of the plane, looking forward with a firm gaze. However, the situation was worse than he had imagined. Due to the strong electromagnetic pulse interference, the electronic equipment on the aircraft has been severely affected, and most of the conventional electronic instruments have failed and cannot work normally. Faced with such a dilemma, Lin Xuan could only fly the plane manually. The strong wind was like the devil's giant hand, tearing at the plane desperately, as if it wanted to tear this huge metal bird into pieces. Thunder and lightning exploded all around, and every flash was terrifying. Lin Xuan began to take over the plane. He gripped the joystick tightly, veins bulging in his hands due to extreme tension and effort. Lin Xuan's eyes quickly scanned the complex dashboard, his brain working rapidly, analyzing every piece of data and instruction. The plane was shaking violently in the strong wind, as if it would lose control at any moment. Lin Xuan tried hard to stay calm and concentrated on feeling every subtle change of the plane. Relying on the skills granted by the system, he accurately adjusted the angle and strength of the joystick to stabilize the aircraft's attitude. Sweat kept dripping from his forehead and running down his tense cheeks, but he had no time to wipe it off. His eyes were always fixed on the front, not daring to relax for a moment. Every time the plane tilted and bumped, Lin Xuan's heart rose to his throat. But he did not back down at all, but continued to control the speed of the plane to cope with the ever-changing air currents. At this moment, a sudden strong wind swept in, forming a particularly strong airflow, and the plane dived downward suddenly as if it had lost control. Chapter 331 Brother is lucky. He will be fine. At this time, the passengers in the cabin were in extreme panic. Screams of terror came one after another, and the scene was extremely chaotic. Lin Xuan gritted his teeth and used all his strength to pull the joystick upwards, while adjusting the side of the plane. After some hard work, the plane finally raised its nose again. While operating the plane nervously, he loudly reported the plane's situation to the Ground Air Traffic Control Center. Tower, this is Beijing Airlines 1688. I'm trying to control the plane. The situation is critical. However, during another strong lightning strike, some of the aircraft's instruments malfunctioned briefly, and the communication equipment was completely interrupted. Faced with this sudden change, Lin Xuan's heart sank, but he was not frightened. Instead, he relied on the firm belief deep in his heart and the powerful driving skills given to him by the system, and continued to control the plane tenaciously. Time passed by minute, and it seemed to become extremely long. Every second was filled with the severe test of life and death. Lin Xuan always maintained a high degree of concentration and firm determination, because he knew very well that he must not die like this, and his wife must not get into trouble. Our children are not even 1 year old yet. All the passengers on the plane cannot die, as they have families they care about, and everyone must be brought home safely. At this time, the Air Traffic Control Center of Jinghai Airport lost contact after receiving Lin Xuan's last sentence. 10 minutes later, the green light spot displayed on the radar screen of the plane piloted by Lin Xuan suddenly went out. All the staff present fell silent instantly, and everyone's face was filled with tension and worry. This means that the probability of a plane crash is over 90%. At this time, a young air traffic controller turned palely to look at Wang Chenhui, the head of the Air Traffic Control Center, and asked in a trembling voice, "Leader, what should we do now?" Wang Chenhui's eyes were extremely solemn. He took a deep breath and said, "Call nearby flights immediately and ask them to use the emergency channel to call Beijing Airlines 1688. Roger that." The young air traffic controller nodded immediately, turned around and started operating the console. Subsequently, nearby flights were notified and began calling. Beijing Airlines 1688 received, please reply. Jinghang 1688, Jinghai City Air Traffic Control Center is calling you. Beijing Airlines 1688, Corning Air Traffic Control Center is calling you. However, no matter how these flights shouted, there was no response. At this time, the plane had lost contact for nearly half an hour, and this incident gradually attracted the attention of the outside world. One after another, media outlets with a keen sense of smell discovered this unusual situation and began to report on it. According to reliable information, the plane from Corning to Jinghai has lost contact for more than 30 minutes this morning. Beijing Airlines Flight 1688, which took off from Corning at 10 a.m., suddenly lost communications this morning, and there has been no news so far. Based on the information we have so far, the plane is likely trapped in an extremely purple cloud. This purple cloud is extremely powerful and ever-changing. Any plane caught in it will have a very slim chance of survival. In the Haitian Yijing Villa, Zhang Xulan was watching the report on TV intently. Suddenly she remembered that her son and daughter-in-law seemed to be returning to Jinghai City from Corning City, so she prepared to take out her cell phone to call Lin Xuan. Huang Shifeng, who was walking down slowly from upstairs, turned pale with a kind smile on her face after seeing the news report. The teacup in her hand slipped from her hand unconsciously and fell to the floor, breaking into pieces. In-laws, what's wrong? Zhang Xiulan was attracted by the noise coming from behind her. She turned around and saw Huang Shifeng standing there with a pale face like a wooden chicken, staring at the report on the TV screen with empty eyes. Could it be that this is the plane that Lin Xuan, Meng Yao, and the others took? Zhang Xiulan followed Huang Shifeng's gaze towards the TV screen and couldn't help but feel an ominous premonition. Just tell me this isn't true, right? Zhang Xiulan hurriedly stepped forward and grabbed Huang Shifeng's shoulders and asked anxiously, her eyes full of fear and despair. It's this plane. Huang Shifeng's lips trembled slightly as he uttered these 6 words with difficulty. After hearing these words, Zhang Xiulan felt as if struck by a bolt from the blue. Her body involuntarily leaned back and she collapsed onto the ground. Tears instantly burst out of her eyes, blurring her vision. At the same time, Lin Sissy, who was packing up in the room, also heard the sound of a cup breaking outside and hurried out of the room to check the situation. When she saw the news report on the TV screen, she was stunned and at a loss for a moment. After a while, she was the first to come to her senses and comforted the 2 mothers. No, no, my brother is lucky. He will be fine. Dozens of minutes later, just when everyone thought there was no hope, a miracle happened. An airplane broke out from the terrifying cloud, like a phoenix rising from the nirvana. On the radar screen of the Air Traffic Control Center, the signal that had disappeared began to flash again. It was the plane driven by Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan looked out the window, watching the purple clouds gradually moving away. The heavy stone in his heart finally fell. He breathed a long sigh of relief. At this time, the passengers in the cabin also widened their eyes. They were surprised to find that the blue sky and white clouds outside had returned to their original state. For a moment, cheers and screams were heard one after another. "Ah, I'm not dead. I'm not dead. I'm still alive." Someone was so excited that he spoke incoherently with a trembling voice. "That's great. I really thought I was going to die. Woo woo woo." Another person cried with joy, tears streaming down his eyes. Some people reached out their hands and slapped themselves in the face hard. Only after feeling the pain on their faces did they realize that all this was real. "I'm not dreaming, I'm saved." Flight attendant Zai Yanbing looked at the scene in front of her with indescribable joy and emotion in her heart, and couldn't help but shed tears. She took a deep breath, tried to calm herself down, and quickly organized other flight attendants to start dealing with follow-up matters. "Dear passengers, thank you very much for your cooperation and support. The plane has now successfully left the danger zone. But please do not let your guard down, return to your seats immediately, fasten your seat belts, and we will take you back to your destination as soon as possible," Chief Flight Attendant Zai Yanbing said to all passengers via the radio. With the help of the flight attendants, everyone returned to their seats and waited quietly for the plane to land. At this time, Li Menjiao was huddled in her seat. When she raised her head and saw the familiar blue sky and white clouds through the window again, her worried heart slowly settled down. She knew very well that it was her husband who saved everyone. Li Menjiao really wants to find Lin Xuan now, but when she thinks carefully, she feels that if she goes to find her husband now, it will only distract his attention, and she won't be able to help much. So Li Menjiao decided to listen to Lin Xuan's words. "My husband told me not to go anywhere, so I will stay here. After all, only by ensuring your own safety can you avoid causing trouble for your husband." Chapter 332, the plane landed successfully. In the cockpit of the plane, Lin Xuan stared ahead with focused eyes. At this moment, he knew very well that it was not the time to relax because the plane was still soaring at an altitude of 10,000 meters. His eyes were fixed on the instrument panel, his hands firmly grasped the joystick, and he called the tower again. "Tower, this is Beijing Airlines 1688. The captain and co-pilot are both in a coma. I have successfully piloted the plane out of extreme weather conditions. Please give us instructions." When the Air Traffic Control Center far away at Jinghai Airport heard Lin Xuan's voice, the whole room suddenly erupted in cheers, and everyone's hearts, which had been hanging in the air, were finally able to settle down. However, when the air traffic controller was about to respond to Lin Xuan excitedly, Wang Chenhui suddenly snatched the microphone. "This is the control tower. May I ask who you are?" Wang Chenhui asked in a serious tone. "I am a passenger on this flight, but I am also a professional pilot, and my pilot's license is..." Lin Xuan replied. After listening to this, Wang Chenhui immediately asked his subordinates to verify the authenticity of Lin Xuan's pilot's license. Not long after, the search results came out, proving that Lin Xuan was indeed a pilot in the industry. Then Wang Chenhui said excitedly, "Thank you, Mr. Lin. Please fly the plane to Jinghai Airport immediately. We will provide accurate data at any time." At this time, the plane driven by Lin Xuan was not far from Jinghai Airport. Afterwards, Lin Xuan began to communicate closely with the Ground Air Traffic Control Center, and the air traffic controllers continued to provide him with extremely accurate route guidance and detailed weather information. More than 10 minutes later, the outline of Jinghai Airport appeared vaguely in Lin Xuan's sight. After a while, the passengers in the cabin finally saw the airport in the distance. Everyone was immediately excited and began to cheer. Look, look, isn't the airport right in front of us? We are about to land. Wow, it's true, it's really great. We all survived safely. However, as we approached the airport, new challenges arose. Due to the previous severe turbulence in the clouds, Lin Xuan discovered that there was a slight fault in some of the aircraft's hydraulic systems, which greatly increased the difficulty of landing. Fine beads of sweat appeared on Lin Xuan's forehead again. He kept repeating the key steps and precautions of landing in his mind, and constantly fine-tuned the speed and altitude of the plane. As the plane got closer to the runway, Lin Xuan began to gradually increase the resistance of the spoiler to further reduce the speed of the plane. At the same time, he kept a close eye on the center line of the runway and made subtle adjustments to the joystick to ensure that the aircraft always remained on the correct landing trajectory. At the moment the plane was about to touch the runway, Lin Xuan gently pulled up the joystick to reduce the impact of landing. There was a dull collision sound between the plane's landing gear and the runway. Lin Xuan quickly stepped on the brakes and turned on the reverse thrust device at the same time, slowing down with all his strength. Everyone on the plane was watching all this nervously, and the airport staff were on standby at all times. Although the plane was still gliding forward, Lin Xuan's heart had calmed down a little. He continued to maintain a high level of concentration, adjusting the intensity of braking and reverse thrust in a timely manner according to the length of the runway and the deceleration of the aircraft. Finally, accompanied by a slight vibration, the plane slowly stopped on the runway. Lin Xuan successfully landed the plane at Jinghai City Airport, breathed a sigh of relief with fatigue but relief, and collapsed in the captain's seat. At this moment, the sirens of the fire trucks and ambulances outside the plane suddenly sounded, and the staff rushed to the plane like a tide. The ground crew acted quickly and set up a safety cordon around the aircraft to ensure order at the scene. Under the guidance of flight attendants and ground staff, the passengers got off the plane in an orderly manner. Their faces were filled with joy and emotion for surviving the disaster. Many people had tears in their eyes, and some passengers could not help crying bitterly. When all the passengers stepped onto solid ground again, an unprecedented sense of solidity came over them. Everyone hugged each other and burst into tears. Medical staff also rushed to the scene and conducted a thorough physical examination on each passenger. Fortunately, except for a few passengers who suffered minor injuries due to body collisions caused by the severe turbulence in the air, the rest of the passengers were safe and sound. "By the way, where is our captain?" someone suddenly asked. This sentence immediately attracted the attention of other passengers, and everyone looked around for the hero who saved their lives. "Yes, where is the captain who saved us? Why hasn't he come down yet?" someone else echoed. "We should meet him in person. Thank him for saving us all," someone suggested, and immediately received responses from many people. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on the plane door, waiting for the great captain to appear. At this moment, Lin Xuan appeared at the door of the plane and walked down slowly. Since Lin Xuan was wearing casual clothes, everyone mistakenly thought he was just an ordinary passenger who had not yet got off the plane. However, the next sentence shocked everyone. "It was this gentleman who saved us by flying the plane," Flight attendant Zai Yanbing said excitedly, her voice full of gratitude and admiration. "How is this possible? He is not the captain," someone in the crowd questioned. "Yes, where is the captain?" others also echoed. The captain and co-pilot had fallen into a coma during the flight. It was this gentleman who stepped forward at the critical moment, took over the plane, and successfully completed the landing, Zai Yanbing explained. When everyone heard the news, they were all extremely surprised. Just at this moment, the staff carefully carried the captain and co-pilot, who were still in a coma, off the plane. Seeing the scene before them, everyone suddenly realized that the young man in front of them was their savior. At this time, Zai Yanbing was also looking at Lin Xuan with admiration, her eyes full of respect and admiration. Coupled with Lin Xuan's young and handsome appearance, her heart was filled with ripples. Although she is now a flight attendant, she is actually only 28 years old and is still in the prime of her youth. She has been single all this time and has the title of Iceberg Beauty. Her cold and charming appearance and graceful demeanor make people fall in love with her. However, Zai Yanbing always felt that the boys around her could not meet her aesthetic standards for her partner. Until Lin Xuan appeared. After this crisis, she was deeply attracted to Lin Xuan and a raging fire of love ignited in her heart. So she plucked up her courage and prepared to walk towards Lin Xuan to ask for his contact information. But at this moment, a beautiful figure rushed past her like the wind. Chapter 333. It hurts, which means it's not a dream. When Lin Xuan walked down from the plane, Li Menjiao's beautiful eyes sparkled with excitement and joy. She rushed towards Lin Xuan with light steps and threw herself into his warm arms. Li Menjiao hugged him tightly, as if she was afraid that he would disappear again. "Wife, are you hurt anywhere?" Lin Xuan hugged Li Menjiao tightly and said gently. "No, I'm fine. How about you, husband?" Li Menjiao raised her face, and on her fair cheeks were dotted with crystal-clear tears, making her look particularly pitiful. "I'm fine, don't cry." Lin Xuan wiped the tears from Li Menjiao's face with heartache and said softly, "I want to check it out." Li Menjiao's hands began to grope back and forth on Lin Xuan's body. Lin Xuan was amused by her and burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha ha, it's so itchy, honey, I'm really fine." Li Menjiao stopped what she was doing and brushed aside her messy hair, her eyes still full of worry. "Really? Really not? Look at you, your hair is a mess." Lin Xuan smiled and nodded, then carefully combed Li Menjiao's messy hair. Li Menjiao pouted and said coquettishly, "It's already this time who still cares about hair." Then she put her little face on Lin Xuan's chest and listened quietly to his strong heartbeat. Every beat was so real and powerful that made her feel extremely at ease. "Hiss, why are you pinching me, wife?" Lin Xuan looked down at Li Menjiao. She just had a silly smile on her face and seemed a little bit unbelieving. "It hurts, which means it's not a dream, we are still alive." Lin Xuan was speechless. "Then why don't you pinch yourself, wife?" "I'm afraid of pain. Would you be willing to let your wife get bruises all over?" Li Menjiao blinked her bright eyes like a deer and stared at Lin Xuan with an innocent look on her face. Lin Xuan choked. If there weren't so many people present, he would definitely pin this annoying goblin to the bed and give her a good lesson. Before the two of them had enough time to get along, a large number of passengers gathered around them. Thank you for saving us all. Hero, without you, the consequences would be disastrous. This is my business card. If you need help in the future, please feel free to contact me." Everyone expressed their gratitude to Lin Xuan, and some business people also handed over their business cards. Lin Xuan suddenly had dozens of small cards in his hand. At this moment, the airport staff also found Lin Xuan and expressed their highest respect for his heroic behavior. "Mr. Lin, thank you very much for stepping forward in the moment of crisis and saving the lives and property safety of many passengers," said a uniformed staff member. Lin Xuan just replied modestly, "Of course I should." Afterwards, all passengers were sent to the lounge for a comprehensive examination by medical staff under the arrangement of airport staff. According to reliable information, Beijing Airlines Flight 1688 landed safely 10 minutes ago. Beijing Airlines Flight 1688, which lost contact this morning, miraculously escaped danger and landed safely at Jinghai Airport at 11:32. According to the relevant person in charge of the airport, except for 5 passengers who were slightly injured in this accident, all others are safe and sound. In the Haitian Yijing Villa, after Zhang Xuelin and Huang Shifeng learned that the plane had lost contact, they had been checking the latest news on their mobile phones, their hearts always hanging high. When they saw these reports, their hearts finally settled down and relieved smiles appeared on their faces. "I told you brother is lucky, he will be fine." Lin Sissy jumped up happily and cheered. "My dear relatives, it's great that they are fine." Zhang Xuelin hugged Huang Shifeng excitedly, tears of joy in her eyes. "Yes, it's all right." Huang Shifeng was also so excited that she hugged Zhang Xuelin. The two of them hugged each other and cried, releasing the joy and relief in their hearts. It was not until the evening when the sun was setting that Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao finally returned to the Haitian Yijing Villa from the airport. When they pushed open the door, Zhang Xuelin and Huang Shifeng rushed over impatiently and hugged them tightly. "Yiao, are you okay?" Huang Shifeng asked with concern, eyes full of worry. "Son, are you feeling unwell anywhere?" Zhang Xuelin looked at Lin Xuan nervously, her tone full of anxiety. "Mom, I'm fine, right?" Li Menjiao comforted with a smile, a happy smile on her face. "Mom, something happened. Please be gentle. I can't breathe." Lin Xuan felt a little suffocated by Zhang Xuelin's hug and couldn't help but protest. After hearing this, Zhang Xuelin finally let go of her hand. Lin Xuan coughed twice, adjusted his breathing and said, "It was fine before, but now it's almost in trouble." It's good that you're okay, it's good that you're okay. You guys really scared me to death. Zhang Xulan patted her chest and said with relief. You are tired too, I'll go cook. It will be ready soon. Huang Shifeng said gently and turned to walk towards the kitchen. Afterwards, Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao walked into the spacious and bright living room, and a familiar feeling came over them. They finally returned to this warm home. Mom Tilda, suddenly, two tender and crisp voices were heard. Dabo and Zaya Abo were lying on the soft sofa and playing happily at this time. When they saw Li Menjiao, their eyes suddenly lit up, and they shouted excitedly. Baby! Li Menjiao was extremely excited. She threw the luggage in her hands aside, rushed forward quickly, and gently hugged Dabo and Zaya Abo, her eyes feeling sore. Dabo and Zaya Abo happily touched Li Menjiao's cheeks with their little hands, and laughed happily. Mom is back, did you miss her? Li Menjiao gently kissed the babies on the cheeks, one by one, repeatedly, with a happy smile on her face. The babies felt the familiar scent of their mothers, and smiled innocently. Half an hour later, Huang Shifeng brought out a pot of steaming hot soup and shouted, Dinner is ready. Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao carried Dabo and Zaya Abo to the dining table, respectively. The family sat together again and enjoyed this delicious meal together. Especially for them, after experiencing a life and death crisis on the plane, it feels so good to be able to return home safely. Chapter 334, As Long as You Keep Loving Me. When sleeping at night, Li Menjiao hugged Lin Xuan tightly like an octopus, and her soft body kept rubbing against him. Husband, she called Lin Xuan in a tender voice. After hearing her call, Lin Xuan put the phone aside, then turned around and looked at Li Menjiao with gentle eyes. We were nearly dead this morning. Li Menjiao's eyes, which had been lowered, slowly raised up, and her beautiful big eyes stared straight at Lin Xuan's eyes. Well, it was almost there. Lin Xuan leaned over and gently kissed her delicate face, while answering softly. Then, husband, why do you know how to fly a plane? Li Menjiao tilted her head slightly and looked at Lin Xuan curiously. After hearing this question, Lin Xuan stopped all his actions instantly. He really hadn't figured out how to explain it. You said you taught yourself in college. Bah, who would believe such nonsense? If my family taught me, no one in my family works at the airport. Do I have to tell others about the system? No. Seeing Lin Xuan's hesitant expression, Li Menjiao suddenly couldn't help but burst out laughing. Ha, husband, I'm just asking casually. Wife, aren't you curious about where I learned all these skills? Lin Xuan asked with some confusion. Of course I'm curious, but when I saw your silly look just now, I guessed that you must be thinking about how to make up a lie to deceive a naive, kind, and lovely girl like me. But since my husband doesn't want to tell me, you must have your reasons, and it's also for my own good, so I don't want to know any more. As she spoke, Li Menjiao raised her hand and gently pushed a strand of hair floating in front of her behind her ear, a peaceful smile appearing on her face. Then she turned over slightly, lay on Lin Xuan, and gazed at him lovingly. No matter what, I will trust my husband without reservation, as long as you always love me. As soon as she finished speaking, she leaned over and first kissed Lin Xuan's forehead, nose, and face with her seductive cherry lips, and finally landed on his lips. Such a sensible wife is really lovable. So Lin Xuan also reached out and gently placed his hand on the back of Li Menjiao's head, further deepening the kiss. It is the second day, and today is the last day of August. The sunlight shone onto the bed through the gaps in the curtains, and Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao slowly opened their eyes. After they got up and washed up, they walked over to the crib and carefully carried Dabo and Zaya Abo to the big bed so that they could play to their heart's content. Baby, look what this is. Li Menjiao held a colorful rattle in her hand and gently shook it above the babies, making the rattle make clear and pleasant sounds. Dabo was attracted by the attention. He happily kicked his chubby little legs and tried hard to catch the bell. After a while, he successfully turned to the left and continued to reach for the bell. When Zaya Abo saw his sister's actions, he also became excited and turned to the right happily. The two little guys were rolling around on the bed, and as they were rolling, they accidentally bumped into each other. Their two pairs of cute big eyes looked at each other. You looked at me, I looked at you, as if they were sizing each other up. Then Dabo turned back with a look of disgust and left. But Zaya Abo didn't care about his sister's reaction, but slowly crawled towards Dabo. Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao stood aside, looking at the innocent looks of the babies, and couldn't help laughing. Because Lin Sissy was going to report to Jinghai University this afternoon. Lin Zhengguo also rushed from Yunhai City to Jinghai City to send his daughter to school. But as soon as he arrived at the Haitian Yijing Villa, he went straight to Dabo and Zaya Abo. Oh, my dear baby, Grandpa is back. As Lin Zhengguo spoke, he picked up Dabo and Xiaobo with a kind smile on his face. He teased the two little guys and laughed heartily from time to time. After a long while, he remembered that there was a daughter next to him, so he turned around and asked Lin Sissy, "Sissy, have you prepared everything for school?" Lin Sissy, who was playing with her phone, glanced at Lin Zhengguo speechlessly and said helplessly, "Everything is ready." Lin Zhengguo nodded, showing his satisfaction. "That's fine." After saying this, he turned his attention back to Dabo and Xiaobo and continued to play with them, as if accompanying the babies was the purpose of his coming to Jinghai City. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye it was afternoon. The sun shines on the streets, and everything seems exceptionally peaceful and beautiful. Lin Sissy walked lightly in front, holding the car keys in her hand, her face filled with anticipation and excitement. She walked to a dreamy blue Honky Goya, skillfully started the car with the key, then turned around and said, "I say, I'm not a child anymore. You don't have to make such a big fuss." Lin Xuan came over with a smile, carrying a large suitcase in his hand. He stuffed it into the trunk of the Honky Goya and said jokingly, "Why, you don't need me to help you carry your luggage now." Lin Sissy curled her lips and said with a smile, "That is still necessary." At this time, Zhang Xulan also came forward and said, "Do you still want me to make your bed?" Lin Sissy nodded and replied embarrassedly, "That is also necessary." Lin Xuan smiled and shook his head, gently rubbed Lin Sissy's head and said with a smile, "So you are still just a child? Well, it's getting late, we should set off. Stop touching me, you stinky brother. The reason I haven't grown taller is because you always touch my head." Lin Sissy glared at Lin Xuan angrily. Everyone laughed when they heard this. In fact, Lin Sissy is not short now. She experienced a second growth spurt in her senior year of high school, and her height has increased to a level similar to that of Li Menjiao, which made her originally petite figure even taller and more charming. Afterwards, they split into 3 cars and prepared to go to Jinghai University. Lin Sissy drove the Honky Goya alone. Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao sat in the Maybach, and Lin Zhengguo and Zhang Xulan sat in the BMW 8 Series. 3 cars lined up in a row and drove out of the house in a mighty manner, heading towards Jinghai University. Because Lin Sissy had gone to school to complete the admission procedures while working part-time before, she could just go directly to the dormitory today. Soon, 3 luxury cars drove into Jinghai University one after another, like a luxury convoy. Many students along the way cast curious glances and began to talk in low voices. "Are the freshmen this year so rich? Oh my God, which big family is this? Yeah, 3 luxury cars drove over at once. It's a bit shocking." Finally, 3 luxury cars stopped steadily downstairs of the dormitory building where Lin Sissy was sitting. Chapter 335, this scene seems familiar. After everyone got off the bus, Lin Zhengguo and Zhang Xulan were seen walking at the front with their heads held high and their chests puffed out. Lin Sissy and Li Menjiao followed closely behind, arm in arm, talking and laughing. As for the one who was left last, it was of course Lin Xuan, who had the best family status. He was dragging his luggage upstairs, and Lin Sissy's dormitory happened to be on the top floor of the 7th floor. Why doesn't the school dormitory have an elevator? Although I have a system to enhance my physical attributes, I still get tired. Not long after, the people walking in front arrived at the 7th floor first. At this time, Lin Sissy turned around and urged, "Brother, can you hurry up? We are almost there." Hearing this, Lin Xuan responded unhappily, "Sister, if you continue to show off, I will replace your bike with a tricycle and let you ride it to class." Upon hearing this, Lin Sissy panicked instantly and rushed downstairs with a flattering smile on her face. "Brother, how about I help you with your luggage?" Lin Xuan rolled his eyes at her and said helplessly, all right, go find your dormitory quickly." As soon as she finished speaking, Lin Sissy ran away happily. Soon, they arrived at the door of dormitory 712, which was closed. Lin Sissy knocked on the door gently first. Soon a pleasant female voice came from inside, "Come in." When Lin Sissy heard the sound, she reached out and pushed open the door and walked into the room with her parents, brother, and sister-in-law behind her. "Hello, my name is Lin Sissy, and I'm the student assigned to this dormitory." Lin Sissy had a bright smile on her face and greeted them warmly. Since Lin Sissy only arrived at the school to report on the last day of the month, she was the only one left in the dormitory who had not yet moved in. The other 3 roommates had already packed their things and sat in their chairs. One of the girls, who had shoulder-length hair and looked very capable, stood up first and said with a smile, "Haha, hello, I'm Liu Jiaxin. We'll be roommates from now on." After that, she pointed at the other 2 girls and introduced them one by one. "This is Wu Min, and this is Li Jing." "Hello, Tilda." Wu Min and Li Jing also greeted Lin Sissy with a smile. After everyone greeted each other, Zhang Xulan and Lin Zhengguo began to help their daughter make her bed. After Lin Xuan entered the room, he began to look around the dormitory with interest. The standard layout of a four-person room with a bed above and a table below makes the space appear particularly spacious and bright. The whole dormitory looks clean and tidy, making people feel very comfortable. This is the legendary girls' dormitory, the girls' dormitory that my roommates often joked about during college. Now I am actually standing here. Thinking of this, Lin Xuan couldn't help laughing. However, just as he was looking around, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his waist, which almost made him cry out. He held his breath, endured the pain, and quickly turned around to look at Li Menjiao. He saw Li Menjiao staring at him with cold eyes. Lin Xuan leaned close to Li Menjiao's ear with an innocent look on his face and asked softly, "Wife, why did you pinch me suddenly?" Li Menjiao's face flashed with anger, and she lowered her voice and said, "Don't look around, go out and wait." Oh, so Lin Xuan had to listen to his wife and walked out of the dormitory obediently. He lay on the railing and played with his mobile phone out of boredom. After a while, a few girls came back from outside and saw a boy lying near the door of their dormitory. Since Lin Xuan has just graduated for over a year and he is young and handsome, he still looks very much like a college student. The girls immediately became alert. One of them stepped forward and said to Lin Xuan rudely, "Classmate, this is the girls' dormitory. Please leave." An hour later, Lin Sissy sent Lin Xuan and the others out of the dormitory. "Sissy, don't cause trouble at school, okay?" Zhang Xulan warned. "I know, Mom, I'm not a child anymore." Lin Sissy nodded obediently. "Sister, rub my hair again." Lin Xuan gave a sly smile. "No, you guys go back quickly. Don't worry about me. I can take good care of myself," Lin Sissy said, covering her forehead. After seeing her family off, Lin Sissy walked briskly back to her warm dormitory, feeling liberated. As soon as she entered the room, Liu Jiaxin couldn't wait to get close to Lin Sissy and asked curiously, "Sissy, was that guy your brother? Wow, so handsome." "Yes," Lin Sissy replied with a smile. At this time, Wu Min, who was standing nearby, also came over, her eyes sparkling, and she asked curiously, "What about the one next to your brother? Is she your sister-in-law?" "That's right," Lin Sissy nodded. "Wow, she is so beautiful," Wu Min exclaimed, eyes full of envy. In this way, Lin Sissy, who was cheerful and fond of lively activities, quickly became friends with her roommates, and bursts of laughter could be heard from the dormitory from time to time. Everyone was talking excitedly about the interesting things that happened to them during high school and before college started. Only Li Jing was relatively timid, so she seldom participated in the discussion. She just sat quietly aside and listened with a smile on her face. Just then, her stomach suddenly made a rumbling sound. Although the sound was not loud, it still attracted everyone's attention. Everyone turned to look at her almost at the same time. Li Jing's face suddenly turned red. She lowered her head and said timidly in a voice not much louder than a mosquito's hum, Sorry, I'm a little hungry. You guys continue chatting. I have to go to the cafeteria to eat first." Having said that, she stood up and was about to walk out the door. However, just as she took a step, Liu Jiaxin grabbed her arm. Liu Jiaxin smiled and said to her, "Hey, today is our first day at school, so of course we have to have a good meal. Let's go out to eat together." Wu Min also clapped her hands excitedly and happily echoed, "Yes, yes." Lin Sissy stood up and said generously, "What are we waiting for? Let's go now." So after the four people in the dormitory discussed which restaurant to go to, they went downstairs of the dormitory together. "Let me take a taxi." Liu Jiaxin took out her cell phone and tapped the screen quickly with her fingers. Just as she was about to call Diddy, she was stopped by a small hand. "No need to take a taxi, just wait for me," Lin Sissy blinked and said, then turned and left, leaving the other three people with confused looks on their faces. After a while, a gorgeous hunky Goya car slowly drove over and stopped in front of them. The car window rolled down, revealing Lin Sissy's face with a bright smile. "Get in the car." Liu Jiaxin, Zhang Hui, and Wang Jing looked at the luxury car in front of them with their eyes wide open, their mouths slightly open, and their faces full of shock. "This, my roommate, is so rich, and he drives such a luxury car. This scene seems familiar." Chapter 336, The First Day of Teaching Career. The first ray of sunlight in the morning shone into the room through the gap in the curtains. Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao welcomed a new day, which was September 1st. Today, almost all schools have opened, and the whole city is filled with a vibrant atmosphere. Li Menjiao woke up early and looked at the bright sunshine outside the window, feeling particularly happy. Because today is the first day of her teaching career. So Li Menjiao quickly got up and began to dress up carefully to prepare for this important day. At the same time, Lin Xuan had also gotten up and went downstairs to start making a delicious breakfast. He skillfully fried eggs, toasted bread, and boiled a cup of hot milk, filling the whole house with the aroma of delicious food. After a while, Li Menjiao came to the kitchen with a happy face. She gently stretched out her hands and hugged Lin Xuan from behind while he was still concentrating on making breakfast. She leaned her head on Lin Xuan's shoulder, feeling the warmth from him, and said softly, "Thank you for your hard work, husband Tilda." After hearing the voice, Lin Xuan looked back with a doting smile on his face. He put down what he was doing, turned around, gently stroked Li Menjiao's face, and then lightly kissed her plump and attractive lips. After releasing his lips, Lin Xuan smiled and said to Li Menjiao, "Go to the restaurant outside and sit down obediently. Breakfast will be here soon." Today, Li Menjiao wore an off-white shirt with a pleated skirt of the same color and an off-white long coat on the outside. This outfit is full of fashion sense and has a soufflé-light French style. The smooth lines perfectly outline her graceful figure, making her look elegant and charming. Every step she takes exudes a charm of calmness and confidence. Li Menjiao blinked her beautiful eyes, and then still hugged Lin Xuan tightly and refused to let go, and said gently, "Husband, the school has prepared breakfast. You can sleep a little longer." Lin Xuan turned around again and kissed the place she had just kissed, and said with a smile, "The breakfast at school is not as delicious as the one made by my husband, huh?" Li Menjiao hummed, her heart full of sweetness, and walked out of the kitchen happily. She sat obediently at the dining table, waiting happily for Lin Xuan to feed her. After the two finished breakfast together, Li Menjiao picked up the car keys and prepared to go out to work. "Wife, no need to take the car keys, I'll take you there." Lin Xuan smiled and gently held Li Menjiao's soft little hand. "Ah, I can drive there by myself," Li Menjiao said with some confusion. "Today is your first day at work, so let your husband pick you up," Lin Xuan said gently. "Yeah." When Li Menjiao heard Lin Xuan's words, a warm feeling suddenly surged in her heart, and a happy smile appeared on her face. Immediately afterwards, Lin Xuan took Li Menjiao's hand and came to the Honky Goya car together. After the two got into the car, Lin Xuan started the car and slowly drove towards the #1 primary school in Haitian District. About 15 minutes later, the car stopped steadily at the gate of Haitian District #1 primary school. Li Menjiao unbuckled her seatbelt, stood up, walked to Lin Xuan, and gently kissed his cheek. "Bye, husband." After saying that, Li Menjiao pushed open the car door and walked into the school gate with light steps. Lin Xuan had a satisfied smile on his face as he watched his wife's figure gradually recede until she disappeared. Then he stepped on the accelerator and drove away. Li Menjiao came to her desk and began to carefully organize her lesson plans. According to the school's arrangement, she will be responsible for teaching third-grade courses. When everything was ready, Li Menjiao walked towards the classroom of Class 6, Grade 3 with light steps, holding the carefully prepared lesson plan in her hand. She leaned quietly behind the classroom door, waiting for the bell to ring. Ding-ling-ling. With a clear broadcast sound, the class time finally arrived. Li Menjiao took a deep breath and walked into the classroom with firm belief, with a gentle and kind smile on her face. At this moment, the noisy sounds in the classroom suddenly stopped. The children all looked at Li Menjiao, curiosity and anticipation flashing in their eyes. Li Menjiao slowly walked up to the podium, then stopped and said in a clear and soft voice, "Good morning, dear students. I am your homeroom teacher and Chinese teacher this year. I am very happy to meet you and spend the next few days with you." At the same time, at Jinghai University in Jinghai City, the sun was shining warmly on the playground. Lin Sissy was standing in the queue, accepting the ruthless baptism of the sun. As freshmen, they have to participate in a 2-week military training. 2 hours had passed, and Lin Sissy and other classmates had been exposed to the sun, their clothes soaked with sweat. Finally, the instructor announced that we could rest for 10 minutes. Everyone ran to the shade and sat down exhausted to drink water. Lin Sissy also followed her classmates to the shade of the tree. She couldn't wait to take out her mobile phone from her pocket, wanting to see if there was any new news or entertainment to pass this difficult time. When she unlocked her phone's screen, a video call request from her brother Lin Xuan suddenly popped up. "Brother, why did you suddenly come to me?" Lin Sissy grumbled to herself, but still clicked on the video call without hesitation. In the picture, Lin Xuan is sitting in a comfortable office with his legs crossed. There is a plate of chilled watermelon next to him. He looks very comfortable. "Hey, sister," Lin Xuan greeted with a smile, picked up a piece of watermelon and started eating it in big mouthfuls. "Wow, brother, you are actually eating melons." Lin Sissy widened her eyes. Her jealousy was beyond words. Haha, yes, the weather is a bit hot today, so I bought some watermelons to cool down. How was your military training? Lin Xuan asked while eating. We're almost dying of heat. We've been exposed to the sun for 2 hours, Lin Sissy complained. Although it is autumn, it is still very hot to stay in the sun for 2 hours. That's too pitiful, but it's also exercise. Come on, sister, Lin Xuan encouraged, then picked up another piece of watermelon and continued eating. HMPH. Lin Sissy looked at Lin Xuan eating with relish and was so angry that she almost vomited blood on the spot. She quickly turned off Lin Xuan's video, sent an emoticon of beating up her brother, and then temporarily blocked his messages, out of sight, out of mind. Chapter 337 Husband will know after trying it. Lin Xuan sent several messages in the office, but when he saw that his sister had stopped teasing her, he stopped. After ordering a takeaway milk tea for Lin Sissy, he started doing his own things. On the other side, Lin Sissy, who was originally attending military training at school, was exhausted. The next break came and she sat aside playing with her phone. Just then her cell phone rang. It was a call from the delivery guy. She answered the phone with some confusion. Hello, takeout. I didn't order takeout and I'm in military training now. I can't go out to get anything. However, when she heard the other party say that a cup of milk tea was brought, her eyes lit up. Lin Sissy happily ran to the school gate and took the cup of cold milk tea from the delivery boy. She couldn't wait to open the lid, took a deep breath of the aroma, and then took a big sip. Suddenly, a cool feeling flowed down her throat, making her feel refreshed, as if all her fatigue was swept away. Brother still has some conscience. Lin Sissy smiled with satisfaction. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, it is time to get off work at noon. Lin Xuan left the company and walked straight to the Xuanmeng cake shop downstairs. He pushed open the shop door and saw Zhou Yike, who was busy. Yike, how is business today? Lin Xuan asked with a smile. Zhou Yike raised her head, her face filled with excitement and satisfaction. Brother Xuanmeng cake shop has been so popular since its opening. Customers are scrambling to buy. I haven't stopped for the whole morning. This is much more than what she earns from selling things on the street. Lin Xuan smiled slightly. If you feel too busy, you can consider recruiting some guys to help. Zhou Yike nodded quickly. I'm already hiring. By the way, Brother Xuan, come and try my latest product, the super delicious souffle. Having said that, she turned around and walked into the kitchen impatiently and took out plates of colorful and tempting souffle. Lin Xuan looked at the food in front of him and smiled with satisfaction. Then, I'll have this blueberry cheese souffle. Okay. Zhou Yike quickly picked up a piece of blueberry cheese souffle, put it on a delicate small plate, and then brought it to Lin Xuan. This blueberry cheese souffle has a mouth-watering golden color. It is covered with a layer of fresh blueberries. The purple color of the blueberries and the yellow color of the souffle complement each other, which makes people's appetite increase. Lin Xuan took a bite and put it in his mouth and savored it slowly. The souffle has a crispy crust and a soft and delicate filling. The sweet and sour blueberries and the rich cheese blend together to create a unique and wonderful taste experience. Every bite is filled with the fresh, fruity aroma of blueberries and the mellow, milky aroma of cheese, with a rich and layered taste. It tastes great, Lin Xuan praised. Hearing Lin Xuan's praise, Zhou Yike smiled happily. Thank you for the compliment, boss. Lin Xuan continued. Pick another souffle for me and pack it up for the boss lady. Zhou Yike nodded and said, Okay, I happen to have a very nice souffle here. Having said that, she turned around and went back to the kitchen to get busy. Soon, Zhou Yike handed the carefully selected and packaged souffle to Lin Xuan. After Lin Xuan finished eating, he left Xuanmeng cake shop contentedly, carrying an exquisite take-away box. At the Haitian District No. 1 primary school, after a day's classes, Li Menjiao walked briskly back to her office and began packing up to go home. She walked out of the teaching building happily and came to the school gate, where she saw the familiar honky Goya sedan parked there. Li Menjiao showed a bright smile on her face. She walked forward quickly, stretched out her hand to open the passenger door, and sat in lightly. Honey, how do you feel about your first day at work? Lin Xuan turned his head and looked at her gently, while handing the box of souffle in his hand to Li Menjiao. That's great. Those students like me very much. Li Menjiao took the box happily, then moved forward and gave Lin Xuan a light kiss on the cheek. Why? Lin Xuan asked curiously with a smile as he started the car. Because I gave the students some gifts, some delicious candies, and they were very happy, Li Menjiao answered proudly. Anything else? Lin Xuan asked with a slight smile on his face. Then I told them that as long as they performed well, the teacher would reward them, so every student was very obedient. Li Menjiao continued with a beaming smile. How come my wife suddenly became so smart? Lin Xuan laughed. I'm very smart. Li Menjiao pouted cutely and retorted unconvinced. After saying that, she pinched Lin Xuan's face angrily. After returning home, Li Menjiao couldn't wait to put the box on the dining table and gently opened it. Inside was a dreamy pink cloud-edged souffle that exuded an alluring aroma, making one's mouth water. She happily picked up a small fork, gently scooped out a small piece and put it into her mouth, savoring the delicate and soft texture and rich and sweet taste. Every bite made her eyes narrow into slits, and her face was filled with an extremely satisfied smile. At this time, Lin Xuan also came to sit next to Li Menjiao and asked with a smile, "Wife, is it delicious?" "Delicious, Tilda," Li Menjiao nodded repeatedly, with a little cream on the corners of her mouth, looking particularly cute. When Lin Xuan saw this scene, he couldn't help but laugh out loud. "I don't believe it." When Li Menjiao heard this, she rolled her eyes at him helplessly, then forked a piece of souffle and stuffed it into her mouth, saying vaguely, "If you don't believe me, what can I do?" After saying that, she continued to enjoy the delicious souffle, completely unaware of Lin Xuan's little movements. "Hubby, you'll know once you try it." Lin Xuan quietly stretched out his hand, put it around Li Menjiao's slender waist, and then slowly approached her. His handsome face gradually approached Li Menjiao's cheek, and the distance between them was getting closer and closer. Li Menjiao was holding the fork and preparing to put it into her mouth when she suddenly froze. She stared blankly at Lin Xuan in front of her. The only thing left in her eyes was her husband. Their lips touched, and finally Lin Xuan ate the souffle in Li Menjiao's mouth. Time passed like a white horse, and several days went by in the blink of an eye. On a sunny morning, Lin Xuan was just about to go out to the company when his cell phone suddenly rang, and an unfamiliar number appeared on the screen. "Hello, is this Mr. Lin?" A polite and courteous voice came from the other end of the phone. "Yes, who are you?" Lin Xuan asked puzzledly. "I am the assistant to the general manager of Jinghai Airlines. Our general manager would like to invite you to come over. I wonder if you are free today?" the assistant said sincerely. "I can go over now if I'm free," Lin Xuan said, guessing in his heart that it should be related to his successful rescue of the plane a few days ago. "Okay, we'll wait for you here," the assistant said happily. After Lin Xuan hung up the phone, he turned and walked towards the garage, found a car and drove away. Chapter 338, Honorary Captain, Brave Citizen. Soon, Lin Xuan arrived at the building next to the airport. As soon as he got off the car, he noticed a young man waiting downstairs. "Hello, Mr. Lin, hello." The assistant came forward enthusiastically. "Hello," Lin Xuan responded with a smile. "Please come this way. Mr. Zhang has been waiting for you for a long time." The assistant guided Lin Xuan attentively and walked into the elevator together. Soon, the elevator arrived at the top floor, the general manager's office, and the door was open. When Zhang Wei saw his assistant leading Lin Xuan towards them, he quickly stood up and walked forward enthusiastically. "Hello, Brother Lin. I am Zhang Wei, the general manager of Jinghai Airlines." Zhang Wei held Lin Xuan's hand tightly and said with a smile. He looked to be in his 40s, tall and straight, with a steady and powerful step, a resolute and strong face, and deep and bright eyes, revealing an unwavering determination and wisdom. "Hello, Mr. Zhang. I'm an ordinary citizen of Jinghai City, Lin Xuan." Lin Xuan also shook his hand back with a faint smile on his lips. "You are not just an ordinary citizen, but a well-deserved hero of our Jinghai airport." Zhang Wei excitedly pulled Lin Xuan to the sofa and motioned him to sit down. "Thanks to your courageous response a few days ago, you successfully saved more than 400 precious lives on the plane. Here, on behalf of Jinghai Airlines, I would like to express my most sincere gratitude and highest respect to you," Zhang Wei said sincerely. "Thank you, this is what I should do. After all, this is a critical moment of life and death," Lin Xuan replied humbly. "Next, our airport will hold a commendation meeting to praise your courage and bravery in the critical moment," Zhang Wei said. "There's no need for a commendation meeting," Lin Xuan said modestly. He didn't want to be too famous, and it was better to keep a low profile in everything. "That won't do. This link is necessary. By the way, at the commendation ceremony, our airport will give you a generous bonus, a full 10 million yuan, Zhang Wei continued. "This is so embarrassing. When will the commendation meeting be held?" Lin Xuan asked impatiently. "Of course you have to participate if you can get paid. There is no such thing as low-key or not. Although 10 million is not a lot for him, he should not refuse free money." "Ha ha ha, Brother Lin, you are really a real person," Zhang Wei said with a smile. Lin Xuan also smiled and said, No, Mr. Zhang, thank you for the compliment." Brother Lin, I have something else I want to discuss with you. Zhang Wei spoke again. What's the matter? Lin Xuan asked. I see that you have all the qualifications to fly a commercial airliner, and you were able to steer the shaky plane out of danger. With such top-notch piloting skills, I wonder if you would like to come work for our Jinghai Airlines. I am willing to pay you double the top salary. Zhang Wei looked at Lin Xuan with a smile on his face. If Lin Xuan could be brought in to work at his own airline, the media would definitely rush to report on this matter after the commendation ceremony. And when they learned that this heroic captain was an employee of Beijing High Airlines, this would undoubtedly greatly boost the company's business development. Therefore, it was a win-win situation for Lin Xuan and him. Hearing Zhang Wei's invitation, Lin Xuan smiled slightly and politely declined. Thank you for your kindness, Mr. Zhang, but unfortunately, I already run a company, and I really don't have the energy to work for other companies. Oh, so you are also the boss of a company? Zhang Wei was slightly stunned. Then a trace of admiration appeared on his face, and he said with a smile, Then I have to call you Mr. Lin. Lin Xuan smiled modestly and said he was not worthy of the title. However, Zhang Wei did not give up and continued to ask, In this case, can we hire you as the company's honorary captain? It's just a simple title. It won't take up too much of your time and energy. Of course, you will definitely not be treated unfairly in terms of salary. As long as Lin Xuan agrees to become the company's honorary captain, the company can use his fame for publicity, thereby attracting more passengers to choose Jinghai Airlines. Well, Lin Xuan looked a little hesitant. The honorary captain can enjoy free flights at the airport for himself and his family for life, as well as VIP services. Zhang Wei continued. What if I occasionally want to fly the plane myself? Lin Xuan asked with a smile. He already had a bold idea in his mind. Zhang Wei was slightly startled, then replied with a smile. As long as you pass the regular physical examination and training exam at our airport, it will be completely possible. Lin Xuan nodded after thinking for a moment, then stretched out his hand and shook hands with Zhang Wei, saying with a smile, Then let's make a deal. If I could fly the plane myself, then when I take my wife out for a plane trip in the future, I would no longer have to worry about encountering sudden accidents like the ones that happened a few days ago. The next day, the weather was sunny and windy. Lin Xuan, dressed in a neat suit, arrived at the commendation ceremony of Jinghai Airlines in high spirits. When he walked into the venue, thunderous applause broke out and people looked at him with admiration. The leader of Jinghai Airlines personally walked up to the podium and solemnly announced, Today, we are here to solemnly commend Mr. Lin Xuan, award him the title of honorary captain, and reward him with 10 million in cash. There was a sudden burst of cheers and applause from the audience. Then the mayor of Jinghai City came to the stage and presented Lin Xuan with the honorary certificate of Brave Citizen on behalf of the municipal government, and gave him an additional 1 million in cash as a reward. The mayor said excitedly, Mr. Lin Xuan's heroic deeds not only demonstrate his personal courage and responsibility, but also embody the city's spirit. We should take him as a role model and learn from his noble qualities and dedication. My husband is awesome. At this moment, Li Menjiao, standing in the audience, was smiling and clapping with her hands. After the commendation meeting, major news media reported in depth on Lin Xuan's heroic behavior, regarding it as a typical example of positive energy. Whether it is television stations, newspapers, or online platforms, there are special reports and interviews about Lin Xuan. Chapter 339, Lin Xuan's value soars. According to the latest news reports, Jinghai Airlines Flight 1688 encountered extreme weather on August 31. When the captain and co-pilot were both unconscious, passenger Lin Xuan stepped forward and took over the plane in time, allowing everyone to escape danger and successfully saving the lives of 425 people, becoming a hero in aviation history. The news quickly spread across the country, triggering widespread attention and heated discussion. Lin Xuan suddenly became the focus of everyone's attention. People expressed admiration and praise for his brave behavior, calling him a flying hero and the most beautiful passenger. His name has been mentioned countless times on social media, with netizens leaving messages to express their respect and blessings for him. At night, when it's late at night and everyone is asleep, Lin Xuan hugged Li Menjiao's soft body tightly and left a series of gentle kisses on her face. Stop kissing, Tilda. Li Menjiao narrowed one eye slightly, with a cunning light flashing in it, and the other eye was fixed intently on the mobile phone in her hand. Her fingers slid across the screen, and she occasionally revealed a smug smile. Look, honey, you've become a huge hit on the internet. She gently covered Lin Xuan's mouth with her small hands, trying to stop him from kissing her, but the blocking action seemed so weak. My husband also wants to keep a low profile, but there is no other way. Lin Xuan took away the little hand that was blocking his mouth and focused his eyes on Li Menjiao's beautiful face again. I saw a lot of people in the comments asking if you have a girlfriend, and some even said they want to date you. Li Menjiao raised her eyebrows. A hint of jealousy flashed in her eyes. Are you moved? Is my wife jealous? Lin Xuan smiled slightly. He gently held Li Menjiao's hand and placed it on his chest, letting her feel his strong heartbeat. Yes, go and make an announcement and tell everyone that you already have a wife, Li Menjiao said with a smile. No problem. I will make an announcement tomorrow that I already have a wife who is the most beautiful woman in the world, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Why not make a statement now? Li Menjiao pouted. Because there are more important things right now. Lin Xuan pressed his hand against Li Menjiao's earlobe, and his warm breath brushed against her skin, making her shiver. After saying that, Lin Xuan slowly leaned over and put his lips close to Li Menjiao's delicate lips. Time passed quietly. A few days later, Xuanmeng Technology Co., Limited, founded by Lin Xuan, finally embarked on the journey of listing under the careful planning of Liu Wend, a master planner with great talent and strategy. After the media hype in the past few days, people have flocked to buy Lin Xuan Company's stocks. You know, at this time, the stock price is still at a relatively low level, which is a great time to buy. As a result, the stock price of Xuanmeng Technology Co., Limited soared like a wild horse. In just a few days, Xuanmeng Technology Co., Limited obtained a huge amount of funds. As the company's funds grew rapidly, Lin Xuan's net worth also soared like a rocket, instantly reaching an eye-catching $2 billion. That morning, sunlight poured in through the huge glass windows of the chairman's conference room. Lin Xuan sat quietly in the center, his eyes revealing a hint of expectation and thought. He knew that the company's market value had now reached an exciting height of $2 billion. Next, the company must develop to a higher level in order to continue to maintain this vigorous upward momentum. So he spoke slowly, his voice steady and powerful. Now our market value has reached $2 billion and the company is ready to move to a higher level. What do you think? As soon as the words fell, the conference room fell into a brief silence, and everyone seemed to be thinking about how to better promote the development of the company. We are now gradually approaching a bottleneck that is difficult to break through in software development. If we continue along this path, it will be difficult to make further breakthroughs. So I suggest that we develop in the mobile phone industry, said Zhang Zesheng, general manager of the Jinwen district branch. I agree with Mr. Zhang's opinion. This industry is currently in a stage of rapid development. It has a broad market space and unlimited potential. People have shown a strong desire to buy new phones. Moreover, as long as we make good mobile phones, we can continue to iterate and upgrade them, said Liu Hanwen, general manager of the Haitian district branch. Mr. Liu, what do you think? Lin Xuan asked Liu Wend, the general manager of Xuanmeng Company. I also agree that the company should transform and upgrade and move to a higher platform, but we need to consider one issue, which is the lack of experience in hardware design. However, I have already thought of a solution to this problem, Liu Wend said with a smile. What countermeasures? Lin Xuan asked. That is, we acquire a mobile phone company, and there happens to be a company that is more suitable right now, said Liu Wend. After hearing this, Lin Xuan held his chin with both hands and his eyes lit up instantly. Time passed quietly like flowing water, and it came to the next morning. The sunlight shines through the windows onto the tall and majestic building in the Science and Technology Innovation Zone of Jinghai City, as if covering the entire building with a layer of golden glow. In a spacious and bright office in this building, a man who looked to be about 50 years old was pacing back and forth in the room with an anxious look on his face. His figure seemed a little thinner than that of ordinary people, but his eyes were still as bright as the stars, and they faintly gleamed with the courage and decisiveness that had been honed through countless storms. Just then, Mr. Zhang, there is news from Rund Company. The assistant walked into the office cautiously and said softly. When Zhang Hyun heard this, it was as if his heartstrings were touched. He turned around suddenly, a glimmer of expectation flashed in his eyes and asked eagerly, "How is it?" The assistant frowned slightly and shook his head gently. When Zhang Hyun saw his assistant's expression, he seemed to lose all his strength in an instant. He slumped in the luxurious office chair as if his soul had been drained out. His originally resolute face now became solemn. "What's the reason?" he asked in a low voice. The assistant slowly said, "It's the same reason as those companies before. They declined our cooperation request. Hearing this, Jang Hyun couldn't help but sigh heavily, with a flash of grief and anger in his eyes, and muttered to himself, Country M is going to torture us to death. He stood up again, walked to the window with difficulty, put his hands tightly behind his back, and looked up at the vast sky outside the window. Zio Chen, go and get busy first. Mr. Zhang Yu. There was a hint of hesitation in his eyes, and he hesitated to speak. Hyun waved his hand, signaling the assistant to leave. Okay, I'll get busy then. The assistant then left the office, leaving Jang Hyun alone, lost in thought. The man in front of me is the chairman of Xingchen Technology Co., Limited. Chapter 340, Jang Hyun's Helplessness. Under the leadership of Jang Hyun, Xingchen Mobile was once like a shining star, overcoming all obstacles and doing quite well in the mobile phone industry. With its excellent product quality and innovative technical concepts, it has quickly won the love and pursuit of consumers, and its market share has continued to rise. But later, because it offended Country M, this action was like a huge rock thrown into a calm lake, causing ripples. The most fatal of these was that the most important chips for mobile phones were ruthlessly cut off from supply by the United States. Without the support of chips, the Xingchen mobile phone was like a giant that had lost its heart and instantly fell into paralysis. The company's production and operation activities were forced to stagnate, and its former glory seemed to have become a thing of the past. The company was therefore facing the brink of bankruptcy. Faced with the chip sanctions from Country M, although he tried his best to save the company, he seemed a little powerless. The inner anxiety and helplessness added a few strands of silver to his hair. In the end, Jang Hyun had no choice but to seek investment, as he didn't want his employees to lose their jobs. However, in the face of the powerful chip monopoly of Country M, all companies try to avoid it. At that time, Xingchen Technology Company was just a small and medium-sized enterprise, and no one was willing to take the huge risk to invest or lend money to it, as if he had become a destitute forgotten by the world. Jang Hyun felt deeply helpless. Is it just waiting for bankruptcy? At this moment, the assistant's hurried footsteps were heard again. He carefully pushed open the door of the chairman's office and said with a worried look on his face, Director Zhang, people from Country M are here. Jang Hyun's frown deepened immediately. A hint of doubt and vigilance flashed in his eyes, and he frowned and asked coldly, What are they doing here? I don't know. The other party swore that he came to meet Mr. Jang Hyun with full sincerity, said the assistant. Jang Hyun hesitated for a moment, then slowly said, Tell them to wait in the reception room first. Okay, the assistant responded respectfully. He wanted to see what tricks the people from Country M would play next. So Jang Hyun left them alone for half an hour, put on his suit jacket, tidied his appearance, and then walked to the reception meeting room with steady steps. The moment he stepped into the conference room, he saw Mark, the negotiator sent by Country M, standing up to greet him with a smile on his face. Hello, Mr. Zhang, we meet again. Jang Hyun looked stern and asked in a serious voice, What are you doing here this time? Mark remained calm and said lightly, We are here to ask about your company's recent development, but it doesn't seem to be going well. Whether our company is good or not has nothing to do with your Country M, Jang Hyun said seriously. Of course it matters. We in Country M can't bear to see your rising star fall like this. Mark said with a false smile on his face, shaking his head slightly. So what are you doing here? Jang Hyun asked, trying to suppress his anger. Mark just smiled softly, then slowly took out a thick contract from his back, handed it to Jang Hyun solemnly and said, We in the M country have said that we are willing to invest a huge amount of $2 billion in your company, which can quickly solve your current urgent needs and allow your company to continue to operate. Moreover, we will provide the latest chips at a very favorable price. We have shown great sincerity in this offer, and I believe this is a rare opportunity for you. After taking just one look at the contract, Jang Hyun clenched his fists, making a creaking sound at the joints, as if he wanted to vent the anger in his heart through his hands. After a moment, he uttered a word. Roll. What did you say? Mark's eyes widened, his face full of disbelief. Don't be ungrateful. This is a kind gesture from our Country M. I said get out. Jang Hyun couldn't hold back his anger any longer, and he yelled loudly, his voice echoing throughout the room and making Mark's eardrums buzz. Jang Hyun, you will regret this. Just wait for your star company to go bankrupt. Mark laughed contemptuously, then walked away with a swagger. Jang Hyun returned to the chairman's office dejectedly and sighed heavily. It seems that Star Technology Company is really finished. At this moment, the assistant's hurried footsteps sounded again at the door, and he shouted excitedly, Mr. Zhang, the chairman of Xuanmeng Technology Co., Limited, wants to meet you. He may be here to invest. These words, like the sound of nature, instantly broke the silence in the office and made a faint light flash in Jang Hyun's dull eyes. He turned his head sharply, stared at the assistant and asked, "What? Where is the person?" The assistant quickly replied, "In the company's reception room. Hurry, invite them to my office," Jang Hyun said hurriedly. He had heard of Xuan Meng Technology Co., Limited, which had grown from an unknown small company in Jinghai City to a well-known enterprise in Jinghai City. It can be seen that the chairman of this company must be a person with extraordinary vision and strong strength. Led by their assistants, Lin Xuan and Liu Wend came to the chairman's office of Xingchen Company. As they walked in, they saw Jang Hyun standing at the door to greet them with a smile. "Hello, Mr. Zhang. I am Lin Xuan, the chairman of Xuan Meng Technology Co., Limited." Lin Xuan politely extended his right hand to Jang Hyun and said with a confident and friendly smile on his face. Jang Hyun was slightly stunned, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. He originally thought that Lin Xuan should be an experienced, older, and more stable entrepreneur, but the young man in front of him surprised him. "Hello, Director Lin. You are so young and promising. I didn't expect that you are the boss of Xuan Meng Company at such a young age," Jang Hyun exclaimed, his tone revealing his admiration for Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan smiled modestly. "Thank you for the compliment. Mr. Zhang is the senior in the industry. Ha, Director Lin is really good at talking. Please come in." Jang Hyun smiled and gestured, inviting Lin Xuan and Liu Wen to enter the office. Then Lin Xuan and Zhang Xuan entered the office together, followed by Liu Wen. After a few more polite remarks, the conversation got down to business. Zhang Xuan looked at Lin Xuan and asked curiously, "Director Lin, is there something important that you are here for?" Chapter 340, Acquisition of Xingchen Technology. Lin Xuan's face was calm, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised, revealing a confident smile. He slowly said, "Our company has always paid close attention to the mobile phone industry. After in-depth research and analysis, we have discovered that your company has unfortunately been cut off from chip supply by those people in Country M. This has undoubtedly plunged your company into an unprecedented crisis." Having said this, he paused slightly. "Our company is very concerned about the mobile phone industry. We have discovered that your company has been cut off from chip supply by the people of Country M and is facing a direct crisis, so..." Before Lin Xuan finished speaking, Jang Hyun excitedly asked, "So, Mr. Lin is planning to invest in our company?" Lin Xuan shook his head gently. A gleam of determination flashed in his eyes, and he said with a smile, "No, we are here to acquire your company." Jang Hyun stood there in a daze, his expression first showing shock, then gradually turning into loss and helplessness. After a moment of silence, Jang Hyun stared at Lin Xuan and said, "Tell me, what is your relationship with Mark?" "What the hell?" Lin Xuan was a little confused. "It's Mark, the agent of the M Country Chip Company. He just left and you came to acquire our company. Didn't you guys collude with each other a long time ago?" Jang Hyun said seriously. "Mr. Zhang, you misunderstood. I have nothing to do with Mark." Lin Xuan still maintained his signature smile, his eyes revealing sincerity and calmness. "If that's the case, then why did you want to acquire my company?" Jang Hyun frowned and asked again. "Because my company wants to develop into the mobile phone industry, and your company happens to have many of the advantages and resources we need, which fully meets our requirements for further development," Lin Xuan explained patiently. "After you acquire our company, you will turn around and sell it to Country M in exchange for personal gain, right?" Jang Hyun stared at Lin Xuan, his tone full of deep doubt. "This is absolutely impossible. I know that Mr. Zhang is extremely angry and helpless about the chip supply cut from Country M. I solemnly promise you that, once the acquisition is successful, we will definitely invest a lot of manpower, material, and financial resources to develop our own unique chip." Lin Xuan said this with a firm expression, his words full of determination. "Why should I believe you?" Jang Hyun shook his head slightly, a conflicted expression on his face. "Mr. Zhang, you may have no choice but to either believe me or believe the people from Country M, but I sincerely hope that you can consider it carefully and make the right decision," Lin Xuan said with a smile again. "Let me think about it." Jang Hyun slowly stood up, turned around and looked out the window with his hands behind his back, lost in thought. "Of course, no problem. Mr. Zhang, please contact me anytime when you have thought it through. I won't bother you anymore." Lin Xuan stood up and prepared to leave. Just as he was about to leave the office, Jang Hyun suddenly stopped him. "Wait, you look familiar to me. Have we met before somewhere?" Lin Xuan turned around and replied with a smile. "It seems not. No, that's not right. I must have seen you somewhere. Zhang Hian frowned, trying to recall. At this time, Liu Wen on the side smiled and said, Director Zhang, you may have seen Director Lin on TV or in the news reports on your mobile phone. Really? Let me see. Zhang Hian quickly took out his cell phone and started searching. Soon, a series of reports about Lin Xuan appeared on the screen. People's hero, the most beautiful captain. It turned out that the young man in front of him was the hero who saved more than 400 passengers. Zhang Hian's eyes widened, and a feeling of admiration surged in his heart. I believe you, Zhang Hian said suddenly. What? Lin Xuan asked in surprise. It's done so quickly, I thought it would take some time. Since you are the hero of our Jinghai city, then I have no reason to doubt you anymore. Let's sit down and discuss the acquisition, Zhang Hian said solemnly. Afterwards, Lin Xuan and Liu Wen slowly returned to their original seats. In fact, it's useless for you to acquire this company. Country M will not sell high-end chips to you. Zhang Hian sighed slightly and said helplessly, I'm very curious, why does Country M allow the sale to other companies but not to you? Lin Xuan couldn't help but ask. Zhang Hian stared at Lin Xuan seriously and said slowly, because they shamelessly asked us to provide a large amount of user data to Country M in exchange for selling them chips. Hearing this, Lin Xuan's face instantly became solemn. It took him a long time to come back to his senses. This is equivalent to leaking all our important information without reservation. Yes, so I strongly disagreed, and the result was that Country M imposed severe sanctions on Star Technology. Just before you came, Mark from Country M came over and said that he would provide a $2 billion investment as long as I agreed to the previous conditions. I told him to get lost without mercy, but before he left, he didn't forget to humiliate me again, Zhang Hian said very aggrievedly. Don't worry, Mr. Zhang, we will definitely develop our own chip. Lin Xuan stood up, held Zhang Hian's hand, and said in a firm tone, Okay, then I'll put all my hopes on you, young man. Don't let me down. Zhang Hian shook Lin Xuan's hand again with a forced smile on his face. In the end, Lin Xuan acquired Xingchen Technology Co., Limited, at a bargain price of $10 billion. Lin Xuan admires Zhang Hian very much for always sticking to his principles and bottom line, without wavering in the slightest. So he was appointed as the general manager of Star Technology Company. On the way back to the company, Liu Wen asked with some concern, Can we really develop our own chips? When Lin Xuan heard this, a determined light flashed in his eyes and he slowly said, Of course it is impossible now. Let's take it slowly. We can't give up. We must develop our own chip. Having said this, Lin Xuan paused slightly, then looked into the distance, his eyes revealing a different kind of determination. However, Country M will definitely come knocking on our door once they know we've acquired Xingchen. Chapter 342, Ruolong Chip. Time passed like a stream, slowly arriving at that special teacher's day a few days later. It has only been about 10 days since the start of school, and Li Menjiao has suddenly become the goddess teacher that everyone in the school pays attention to. Many young male teachers admired Li Menjiao, but when they found out that she had been married for a long time and had 2 children, they gave up the idea and began to feel deep envy and jealousy towards her mysterious husband. On this day, the sunlight shone through the classroom windows into the corridor, as if covering the entire campus with a layer of golden gauze. Li Menjiao came to the teacher's office with light steps as usual. As soon as she opened the door, she was slightly stunned by the scene in front of her. She saw a large desk filled with various snacks. There are colorful candies, various brands of milk, small and exquisite dolls, and some spicy strips. In addition to these snacks, there were a few small pieces of paper on the table. The handwriting on the paper was crooked, but it was full of the students' sincere emotions. It read, Teacher Li, I wish you a happy Teacher's Day. Looking at these thoughtful gifts and blessings, Li Menjiao felt an indescribable warmth in her heart. Teacher Li, you are really popular. My colleague Teacher Wang said this with a smile, which revealed a hint of sincere admiration. Yes, we have been working here for more than 10 years and have never enjoyed such treatment. Teacher Chen next to him also echoed, with an envious look on his face. Maybe the students will give you gifts later. Li Menjiao looked at her colleagues' empty desks and comforted them with a smile. Then the crisp bell for class rang on time, and Li Menjiao gently held the textbook and walked to the classroom door with steady steps. She walked in slowly, and the classroom suddenly became quiet. Dear students, get ready for class, Li Menjiao said gently, with that familiar smile on her face. Everyone stand up, the squad leader shouted loudly. Then the 60 people in the class stood up in unison and shouted loudly, Teacher, Happy Teacher's Day. This greeting is filled with the classmates' deep love for Li Menjiao. Thank you, teachers. Li Menjiao smiled brightly. At this moment, a naughty student suddenly shouted, "Teacher, can you play the video today? I'll give you candy." Then another student stood up and said, "Teacher, I want to see the doll I gave you. Teacher, I gave you spicy noodles." Li Menjiao's fair and slender hands were elegantly clasped in front of her chest, the corners of her mouth slightly raised. As she quietly looked at the group of energetic students below the stage, she uttered a few words softly. "Not now, I have to go to class." Ah, Tilda, the students' young faces were filled with disappointment. However, Li Menjiao immediately continued, "But maybe in the second half of the class, but it depends on your performance." As soon as he finished speaking, the students all sat up straight and looked at Li Menjiao seriously. Li Menjiao smiled slightly after seeing this, then opened the textbook and started today's teaching course. In the second half of the course, seeing that the students were very serious, Li Menjiao fulfilled her promise and showed them an educational children's skit. After school at noon, Li Menjiao came to the school parking lot, opened the door of Xiaomi SU7, started the car and drove towards Haitian Yijing Villa. After returning home, as soon as she opened the door, she was shocked by the scene in front of her. Lin Xuan was holding a bunch of gorgeous blue roses in his hand. There was a gentle light flashing in his deep eyes. He stood quietly at the door, looking at her with a smile. That handsome face looks particularly charming in the sun. Before Li Menjiao could come to her senses, Lin Xuan had already walked quickly to her side and pushed her against the wall. "Happy Teacher's Day, dear." After saying that, he leaned over and kissed Li Menjiao's slightly opened mouth. After kissing for a while, Li Menjiao's cheeks flushed slightly. She glared at Lin Xuan shyly, but there was a hint of sweetness in her eyes. "Hubby, be careful, Mom will see it," she whispered. "So what if he saw it? We are already an old couple," Lin Xuan said with a grin. "Shame on you." Li Menjiao gently broke free from Lin Xuan's arms, then took the bouquet of blue roses, lowered her head and smelled it. The elegant floral fragrance made her feel even happier. "Thank you for the flowers, my husband," Li Menjiao said happily, with happiness shining in her eyes. She placed the flowers in a vase in the living room and continued, "I'm going to see the kids." Then I went upstairs to see Dabo and Xiaobo. Lin Xuan also smiled and went back to the kitchen to start making lunch. A few days later, it was the 8th month since the babies were born. At this time, Dabo and Xiaobo are continuing to grow in height and weight. Their bodies are becoming stronger, and they have mastered crawling. That morning, Lin Xuan clapped his hands at Dabo and shouted, "Dabo, come here." When Dabo heard this, his big black eyes sparkled with excitement. Then she began to drag her small and tender body, crawling slowly towards Lin Xuan step by step. After a while, Dabo's cute little head finally appeared in front of Lin Xuan. Lin Xuan happily picked up Dabo and kissed his soft cheeks again and again. "Dabo is awesome." Dabo smiled happily. Xiaobo on the other side seemed a little lazy. No matter how Li Menjiao shouted, he just raised his head slightly, took a look, and then stopped moving, still lying there unwilling to move. "Xiaobo, you should exercise regularly so that you can grow healthier." Li Menjiao forcibly picked up Xiaobo, then made him stand on the bed with his feet, while she held his hands tightly to help him practice standing. Although the babies at this stage cannot stand completely independently, they can already stand for a short period of time with the help of external force. Xiaobo's tender little feet stepped on the soft and comfortable big bed as if they were stepping on clouds. He began to move forward slowly and carefully. "That's a good baby." When Li Menjiao saw Xiaobo's hard work, a bright smile broke out on her face. Lin Xuan looked at the two adorable babies, then at his gentle and kind wife, and felt that this moment was the most beautiful moment in the world. At this moment, the system's clear and pleasant voice suddenly sounded again. "Ding dong, congratulations to the host for completing the 8th month of accompanying the babies. The reward is the world's top smartphone chip design, the Ruilong chip. It has been placed on your desk, please check it." Chapter 343, Director Lin, where did you get this? After Lin Xuan received the reward from the system, he was stunned at first. Then he was uncontrollably surprised, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but slightly rise, revealing a bright smile. Isn't this exactly what he wants right now? Lin Xuan couldn't wait to hug Li Menjiao tightly, and then kissed her beautiful lips, feeling the softness and warmth, his heart filled with sweetness. Then he bent down and picked up Dabo and kissed her rosy little face. Dabo seemed startled by this sudden action. She blinked her big round eyes but did not cry. She just looked at Lin Xuan curiously. Afterwards, he picked up Xiaobo again and kissed him on his tender little face. Xiaobo giggled and waved his little hands in the air. After doing all this, Lin Xuan stood up and left the room humming a song. Li Menjiao and the two adorable babies who stayed in the room all blinked their eyes in confusion, looking bewildered, completely unaware of what had just happened. At this time, Lin Xuan was still recalling the voice of the system in his mind. Ruilong chip has the most advanced design in the world. After being manufactured, it has the most advanced processor, which allows the phone to be as fast as lightning. Powerful graphics processing capabilities make every picture presented on the mobile phone screen delicate and realistic. When it comes to photography, it has extremely high pixels, sweeping all smartphones currently and still under development. In a word, far ahead. When Lin Xuan arrived at his office area, he saw a thick stack of papers there and a brand new USB flash drive on top of it. Wow, there are so many. Lin Xuan couldn't help but sigh softly. He picked up the stack of design drawings curiously, spread them out in front of him, and examined them carefully. Looking at the dense lines and complex patterns, Lin Xuan could hardly understand. After all, he is not a professional. Then Lin Xuan picked up the brand new USB drive and inserted it into his host computer. You don't know until you see it, and it's shocking at first glance. The USB flash drive was filled with teaching videos on top-level chips. The videos had clear images and detailed explanations, and they seemed like a door to the world of chips. With these valuable information, Lin Xuan can train a chip research and development team for his own company. Thinking of this, he became extremely excited. Lin Xuan first returned to the master bedroom and shouted to Li Menjiao with a smile. "Wife, I have something to go to the company for." "Oh, Tilda husband, what are you so happy about?" Li Menjiao stopped what she was doing and looked at Lin Xuan with a smile. "Haha, you, my wife, discovered this." Lin Xuan walked to Li Menjiao, took her soft and delicate little hand, and kissed her gently. Li Menjiao rolled her eyes at Lin Xuan in pretended anger, wrinkled her nose slightly, and said, "Humph, the corners of your mouth are about to turn up to the sky." After saying that, he tried to pull his hand out of Lin Xuan's hand, but he couldn't. "You'll know later, baby, give me another kiss." Lin Xuan took advantage of the situation and hugged Li Menjiao tightly in his arms, gently kissing her forehead, cheeks, lips. Li Menjiao muttered, "Didn't we kiss just now? No, Tilda." Although she resisted verbally, her body honestly cooperated with Lin Xuan's actions. She leaned in his arms, enjoying this rare warmth and sweetness. Lin Xuan placed the information about the chip in the trunk of the Honky Goya, then came to the driver's seat, started the car, and called someone. "Boss Liu, are you still drinking tea? Stop drinking and come to my office right now. I have some very important news to tell you." "Boss Zhang, are you still running? Stop running and come to my office right now. I have some very important news to tell you." After finishing the call, Lin Xuan drove towards Xuanmeng building. On the other side, after hearing the phone call, Liu Wen's heart suddenly tightened. His originally calm face instantly became solemn. He put down the teacup in his hand and hurried to the office without saying a word. The same was true for Zhang Hyun. After hearing the call, he stopped running, his face full of anxiety. He quickly tidied himself up and rushed to Lin Xuan's office. When Liu Wen and Zhang Xuan rushed to Lin Xuan's office, they were surprised by the scene in front of them. Lin Xuan was sitting comfortably in the luxurious and huge office, holding a cup of hot tea that his secretary had just carefully brewed. The fragrance of the tea was rising and filling the entire room. His eyes were focused and calm, his gaze fixed on the latest newspaper in his hand. It seemed that everything in the outside world had nothing to do with him, and he looked completely immersed in a leisurely and contented atmosphere. "Mr. Lin, what do you want us to do?" Mr. Liu asked respectfully. Lin Xuan stood up slightly, still with a warm smile on his face, and greeted them warmly. "Oh, you are finally here. Please sit down quickly." After saying that, Liu Wen and Zhang Xuan slowly sat down opposite Lin Xuan and looked at him curiously. "What's the urgent matter that has the chairman called us here in such a hurry?" At this moment, Lin Xuan's gentle voice sounded again. "Don't be in a hurry. Drink some tea to moisten your throat first." As he spoke, he took the lead in picking up the teacup and took a sip. Liu Wen and Zhang Xuan looked at each other. Although they still had doubts in their hearts, they still followed Lin Xuan's instructions, picked up the teacup in front of them, took a sip, and the fragrance of the tea spread on their tongues. "Mr. Lin, is there something urgent that has brought you here in such a hurry?" Zhang Hyun asked with a puzzled look on his face. Lin Xuan smiled slightly, then stretched out his hand, slowly pushed the thick stack of design drawings next to him towards them, and said softly, "Take a look at this." This is." Liu Wen looked at the design drawing in front of him. Although he couldn't understand it, he roughly guessed that it was a chip. This is the design of a mobile phone chip, and the design in every aspect is very novel and advanced. Jang Hyun's face flushed with excitement, his eyes sparkling with fanaticism. Because Star Company has been sanctioned by Country M, he has been working tirelessly these days. He had spent a lot of time and energy on chip research, so when he saw the chip design drawing, he immediately realized that it was completely different from what he had seen before. Yes, this is the most advanced chip design in the world right now, Lin Xuan said with a smile. Mr. Lin, where did you get this? Jang Hyun was still excited. Chapter 344, Can My Husband Read Minds? You know, he had always dreamed of getting a copy of the current mainstream chip design, even if it was a slightly inferior one. But under the tight blockade of Country M, it is difficult to get even a piece of waste paper, let alone a chip design. Don't worry about this. There are also top-level chip design courses here. Mr. Zhang, I will give you an important task now. Lin Xuan's expression suddenly became serious, and determination was revealed in his deep eyes. Mr. Lin, please go ahead, Jang Hyun said solemnly. We will immediately set up a chip R&D team. Everyone in this team may not be at the top level in technology at the moment, but they must be eager to learn and have extraordinary talent. The most important thing is that you must be absolutely loyal. We can offer you the highest salary. Lin Xuan emphasized word by word. Okay, no problem, Jang Hyun responded without hesitation. Also, from now on, this information is designated as the company's highest-level confidential document. Anyone who has seen this information must sign the most stringent confidentiality agreement, including you. Lin Xuan continued slowly. Got it. Liu Wen and Jang Hyun nodded almost in unison, with seriousness in their eyes. That's basically it. Mr. Zhang, please get busy preparing for the relevant matters. Lin Xuan nodded slightly and said, Okay, Director Lin, I'll go back and arrange it right away. Jang Hyun's face was filled with excitement, and he quickly left the room. He was so happy. As long as this mobile phone chip was developed, it would definitely sweep the entire mobile phone industry. Then why would he be afraid of the United States? After Jang Hyun left, Lin Xuan and Liu Wen were the only ones left in the office. Xuan looked at Liu Wen and slowly spoke again. Boss Liu, I have an equally important task for you. Mr. Lin, please give your instructions. Liu Wen responded seriously and respectfully. As for you, you should fully assist Mr. Zhang in building the chip research and development team and supervise him at the same time. Of course, it's not that I don't trust him, but I will feel more at ease if you two work together to keep a close eye on it, Lin Xuan said with a smile. I understand. Liu Wen nodded deeply and said seriously. After explaining everything, Lin Xuan left the company and drove home. In the Haitian Yijing parking lot, he found 2 more cars. Lin Xuan pushed open the door, and sure enough, Lin Zhengguo was sitting on the soft sofa, playing with the cute little baby with a loving look on his face. My husband is back. Li Menjiao walked forward happily with a sweet smile. Well, I'm back. Lin Xuan gently held Li Menjiao's little hand, and they walked towards the spacious living room together. One of the cars in the parking lot just now belonged to Lin Zhengguo, and the other one belonged to his aunt Lin Huijun. Xiaoxuan, you still have to work on weekends. Lin Huijun held Dabo in her arms. A gentle smile on her face, and her eyes revealed her concern for the younger generation. And I just happen to have something to do, Lin Xuan replied respectfully. Lin Xuan. At this moment, a middle-aged male's voice suddenly came from behind, with a hint of majesty in the voice. Uncle, Lin Xuan turned his head in surprise and looked at Wang Zheng, who walked out of the tea room. Wang Zheng smiled with a hint of approval in his eyes. Ha ha ha, not bad, Lin Xuan. You are so rich now. You even live in a luxurious villa. Hearing his uncle's praise, Lin Xuan scratched his head and said, Hee, that's not as good as you, uncle. Ha, when did you learn to be humble? The place I live in now is not as luxurious as yours, Wang Zheng said with a smile on his face. Lin Huijun, who was standing by, glared at him and said unhappily, You are almost retired. Why are you still competing with Xiaoxuan? Aren't you ashamed? Wang Zheng quickly waved his hands and explained, I'm just praising Lin Xuan. As they were talking, Lin Huijun suddenly exclaimed, Hey, did you forget something important? When Wang Zheng heard this, he seemed to suddenly remember something. He slapped his head and said repeatedly, Oh, yes, I almost forgot. After saying that, he took out 3 big red envelopes from his pocket. The red envelopes looked bulging, obviously containing a lot of money. He solemnly handed one of the red envelopes to Lin Xuan, and then handed the other 2 to Dabo and Xiaobao respectively, with a gleam of relief in his eyes. Then he said seriously, Lin Xuan, I happened to be abroad on the day of your wedding and couldn't make it back to attend, so I came here today to make up for this red envelope. It can be regarded as a token of my uncle's kindness. Lin Xuan quickly declined. Uncle, I don't feel comfortable doing this. My eldest aunt already gave it to me during the wedding. She keeps hers and I keep mine. Take them all. Wang Zheng stuffed them directly into Lin Xuan's hands. Then Lin Huijun smiled and said, Xiaoxuan Menjiao, if you are free, you must come to Sichuan province to play. Li Menjiao's lively eyes instantly revealed a look of anticipation. Sichuan province? She opened her mouth slightly and whispered this. Lin Xuan, who was standing next to him, naturally noticed the subtle changes in his wife's expression. Lin Huijun and Wang Zheng stayed at Lin Xuan's house until the evening. After a sumptuous dinner, they got up and said goodbye. Wang Zheng touched his round belly and said with emotion, Lin Xuan, your cooking skills are really amazing. There is nothing to fault, hiccup Tilda. The voice was full of satisfaction and admiration. Okay, aren't you ashamed? Lin Huijun rolled her eyes at Wang Zheng. Although there was a hint of anger in her eyes, there was still a smile on her lips. Then she turned around and said to Lin Xuan's family sincerely, If you are free, come to Sichuan during the National Day holiday. Let's get together as a family and feel the lively atmosphere together. Okay, Huijun, we will definitely go if we are free then. Zhang Xulin, the head of the family, also responded with a smile. Time came to the silent night. Li Menjiao's delicate body once again lay tiredly on Lin Xuan, not wanting to move. Wife, do you want to go to Sichuan province for fun? Lin Xuan gently hugged Li Menjiao and said softly. Li Menjiao was a little surprised. She subconsciously raised her head, her long eyelashes flickering like two small fans. She looked at Lin Xuan with doubts in her beautiful eyes and said with a hint of ridicule in her tone, How did my husband know? Can you read minds? That cute look makes people want to love her. Lin Xuan smiled slightly and said confidently, My husband knows everything. Li Menjiao snorted, then rested her little face on his chest again. If you want to go, let's go together. Lin Xuan's gentle words rang out again. Chapter 345 Yiayo, you are going too far. Li Menjiao raised her head, revealing her graceful swan-like neck. She blinked her elegant eyes gently, and then her delicate little face involuntarily moved closer, and her soft mouth gently pressed against Lin Xuan's ear. Honey, I really want to go, but what about the baby? He's still very young. When Lin Xuan heard his wife's concerns, he also leaned close to Li Menjiao's earlobe and whispered in his gentle and magnetic voice, Take it with you and then rent a big house to live in. Li Menjiao raised her head slightly and gently rested her fair forehead against Lin Xuan's face, her eyes full of confusion and anxiety. Really? Can a baby this young take a plane? Lin Xuan stroked Li Menjiao's hair with his hand and said with a smile, As long as the safety measures are in place, there will be no problem. But isn't it dangerous to take a plane? Let's take the high-speed rail. Although it's slower, it's at least safer. Li Menjiao lowered her eyes, her eyelashes trembling. It was because she almost had an accident on her first flight that the fear in her heart has not dissipated yet. Ha, no need. Let's take a plane. Your husband is here for everything. Lin Xuan held Li Menjiao's little hand lovingly and said with a smile, Then I'll be relieved. Li Menjiao's cheeks were slightly puffed, and her beautiful eyes were narrowed into a slit at the moment. Her hands were hanging on his neck, and she looked very happy. As long as her husband is by her side, she is not afraid of anything. Time slowly passed, and it was a few days later, which happened to be the long-awaited weekend. Li Menjiao sat lazily on the sofa in the master bedroom, her gentle eyes falling from time to time on the babies playing around her. At the same time, she held the mobile phone gently in one hand and had a smooth voice conversation with her best friend Liu Yuxin. At this time, Lin Xuan was still sleeping on the bed. Suddenly, a hurried phone call rang. Honey, your phone number. Li Menjiao took brisk steps with a tap of her calves and handed the phone to the sleeping Lin Xuan. Then she returned to the sofa and continued chatting with her best friend. Who is it, so early in the morning on the weekend? Lin Xuan answered the phone reluctantly. Liu Wen's familiar voice came from the other end of the phone. Hello, Director Lin, I'm sorry to disturb your rest on the weekend. Boss Liu, what's wrong? When Lin Xuan heard that it was Liu Wen, he knew that it might be an urgent matter, otherwise he would not call at this time. Liu Wen said with a little embarrassment, That is, Mark from Country M said he would come to visit you later. When Lin Xuan heard this, he couldn't help but curse. Did this guy choose to visit on the weekend? Doesn't he know that we also need to rest on the weekend? Liu Wen quickly explained. Yes, I also told him that I was not free on the weekend, but he insisted on coming on the weekend. It seems that Mark is still a very stubborn boy. Okay, let me meet him. Lin Xuan showed a wicked smile. After hanging up the phone, Lin Xuan slowly got up, dressed and washed up. Yiao, you are so lucky. Fortunately, you have your husband, Liu Yuxin said with emotion. Yes, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see me, Xingxin, Li Menjiao said. The two of them talked about the thrilling incident when Li Menjiao almost had an accident on her first plane ride. Liu Yuxin joked, "Ha ha ha, I will definitely burn more paper for you when the time comes. HMPH, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost." Li Menjiao pretended to be angry. No, 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 I was wrong. I am most afraid of ghosts, Liu Yuxin said. Ha ha ha, who was so bold as to take our entire dormitory to watch a horror movie together when we were in college. Now you're afraid of ghosts? Li Menjiao teased. This sentence immediately brought back memories of their college days. Liu Yuxin scratched her head embarrassedly and explained, "You three were all there at that time. It's different from now. Now I am often alone at home, and the feeling of loneliness is sometimes really scary. One night I was watching a horror movie at home alone, and was so scared that I never dared to watch one again after that." "Watch your back, someone is watching you," Li Menjiao suddenly said in a sinister tone, with a cunning light in her eyes. "It's broad daylight, do you think I'm scared?" Liu Yuxin said disapprovingly. "Tusk, just wait and see at night. Be careful that something crawls out from under the bed," Li Menjiao said. At this moment, Lin Xuan was already dressed and ready to go out to the company. He came to Li Menjiao, who was talking on the phone, with a warm smile on his face, and said softly, "Wife, I have to go to the company to take care of some things." Okay, Tilda. Li Menjiao's eyes flashed with tenderness when she heard that, and she nodded gently. Just as she was about to continue talking to Liu Yuxin on the phone, she inadvertently raised her head and suddenly saw Lin Xuan's face so close to her. "Husband, Lin Xuan kissed Li Menjiao's tender lips without hesitation, and the latter couldn't help but let out a few humming sounds. "I'll bring you a little cake when I come back." After the kiss, Lin Xuan smiled and turned away, leaving Li Menjiao sitting on the sofa in a daze. "Yiao, you are going too far. How can you feed me dog food so early in the morning?" At this time, Li Menjiao heard the cry of Liu Yuxin, a single dog on her phone. Lin Xuan drove his Maybach to Xuanmeng building. After parking the car, he walked towards his chairman's office. Lin Xuan sat comfortably in the luxurious office chair, holding a cup of steaming hot tea in his hand. After a while, there was a soft knock on the door. "Please come in," Lin Xuan said softly. Then Liu Wend walked in quickly with a respectful expression on his face. "Director Lin, Mark is already waiting in the reception room. Leave him alone for a while I finish this cup of tea." Lin Xuan narrowed his eyes slightly, took a sip of the tea. "Okay," Liu Wend responded, and was about to turn around and leave when he was stopped by Lin Xuan. "By the way, when you entertain Mark later, serve him the bitterest tea in our country and let him feel it." Lin Xuan's mouth corners slightly raised, revealing a sly smile. "I understand," Liu Wend also said with a smile. "It seems that the boss is quite good at playing tricks on people." About half an hour passed quietly as Lin Xuan leisurely sipped tea and waited. He then slowly stood up, straightened his suit, and walked towards the reception room with steady steps. The moment Lin Xuan stepped into the reception room, he saw Mark walking back and forth anxiously in his seat, obviously getting a little impatient. Chapter 346. Come closer and look at my lip shape. "Hey, isn't this Mr. Ma? Nice to meet you." As soon as Lin Xuan came up, he shook Mark's hand with a smile on his face, and he looked so enthusiastic as if they had been good friends for many years. "It seems that Mr. Lin is very busy." Mark smiled lightly, with a hint of imperceptible displeasure in his eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. No, Mr. Ma is not as busy as me. I come to visit you on the weekend. Come, please take a seat." Lin Xuan let go of Mark's hand, but before letting go, he applied a little force, causing his facial features to instantly become embarrassed. Afterwards, the two of them found a seat and sat opposite each other. Just then, the waiter came over with brisk steps and placed 2 cups of tea steadily in front of them. One cup is the best Taiguanian, and the other is the inferior bitter tea. Lin Xuan raised his eyes slightly, looked at the 2 cups of tea in front of him, and couldn't help thinking in his heart. Then he picked up the Taiguanian and took a sip. "I wonder what exactly brought you here this time, Mr. Ma." "I heard that Mr. Lin acquired Xingchen Company." Mark looked superior. "Yes, that's true." Lin Xuan nodded and responded calmly. "So Mr. Lin is planning to develop the mobile phone industry?" Mark asked with a smile. "I have this idea, but the main reason is that I have too much money. I just want to buy a company for fun, just for fun," Lin Xuan said lightly, with a faint smile on his lips. Mark's mouth twitched slightly, but he continued to smile. "Since Mr. Lin has such a unique idea about mobile phone chips, I believe you are also very clear in your mind. 90% of the mobile phone chips in your country are carefully purchased from our powerful country M. This is a fact that cannot be ignored, Mr. Lin. I'm not sure, but please tell me in detail, Mr. Ma. Lin Xuan raised his head slightly, clasped his hands in front of his chest, and still had a faint smile on his face. Let me tell you this. Without our country M's advanced and high-quality chips, your so-called mobile phone brands would not be able to successfully manufacture mobile phones, let alone achieve large-scale production and sales. It's like a magnificent building without a key foundation. It will be difficult for it to stand firm no matter what. Just like Mr. Lin's acquisition of Xingchen Company, if it weren't for the support of our M country chips, it would have been a failure. Mark looked at Lin Xuan, the smugness on his face becoming more and more obvious. What do you mean, Mr. Ma? Lin Xuan asked with a smile. Mr. Lin, you are so young and talented. You shouldn't be as pedantic as that stubborn Zhang Hian. Mark curled his lips in disdain, with a hint of disdain in his eyes. We in Country M can provide the latest, high-performance chips on the market, and we can sell them to you at a more favorable price than any other company. As long as Mr. Lin agrees to the few conditions we put forward, everything will become easy. As he spoke, Mark slowly took out a contract from behind, put it on the table, and then handed it over solemnly. Lin Xuan picked up the contract and read it carefully. The first part of the contract was just as he had expected, containing some routine chip purchase contract matters. The terms were clear and there was nothing unusual. However, when his eyes inadvertently swept to the end of the contract, he suddenly discovered an extremely abrupt provision. The buyer must unconditionally provide customer user information to Country M. Let me take a closer look. Mr. Ma, have some tea first. Lin Xuan smiled, with a hint of comfort in his words. Mr. Lin, take your time. Mark is from Country M and is not used to drinking tea. But at this moment, given the important deal that is going on with Lin Xuan, he can't refuse the other party's proposal. It just so happened that he had just spoken a lot and was indeed feeling a little thirsty, so he picked up the teacup and took a sip. But at that moment, Mark's expression changed drastically. He widened his eyes and almost spit out the tea in his mouth. Damn, this is too hard. At this time, Lin Xuan pretended not to see it and picked up the teacup, taking a sip calmly. The movement was graceful and calm, as if he was holding just a glass of ordinary water. Mark couldn't help but wonder in his heart, doesn't this person feel bitter? Or is it because he can't get used to the tea here? But seeing that Lin Xuan hadn't nodded in agreement, Mark had to endure the bitter taste in his mouth and swallowed the tea with difficulty. In an instant, his face became uglier than crying. I've read the contract, and I think we can cooperate, but... Lin Xuan deliberately didn't finish his words. Mark asked eagerly, just what? Let's finish our tea first. Lin Xuan calmly took the lead in picking up the cup in his hand and holding it high in the air. At this moment, Mark looked at the half-empty teacup in front of him and couldn't help feeling a little hesitant. Mr. Ma, Lin Xuan looked at Mark gently, still with a faint smile on his face. After drinking this cup of tea, can we officially start discussing cooperation? Mark stared at Lin Xuan. Of course, I can agree to your request. Lin Xuan nodded solemnly, with a firm look in his eyes. Well, happy cooperation. Mark also raised his teacup and gently clinked it with Lin Xuan's. The crisp sound echoed in the air. They both raised their heads at the same time and drank the tea in their cups. Lin Xuan let out a satisfied ah, as if he had tasted the most delicious drink in the world. And Mark was coughing bitterly. Mr. Lin, can we start talking about cooperation now? Mark calmed his breath, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. Ha, sure. Come closer and look at my mouth shape. Lin Xuan gave a wicked smile and slowly made the get-out shape with his mouth. Mr. Lin, what did you say? Mark came forward with a puzzled look on his face. I said get out. We don't need your chips from Country M. Lin Xuan suddenly changed his previous smiling face and shouted angrily. What? Mark then realized that he had been severely fooled by Lin Xuan from beginning to end. Anger surged in his heart like a volcanic eruption. He stood up suddenly, grabbed the teacup on the table, and wanted to throw it at Lin Xuan viciously. However, Lin Xuan was quick-witted and quick-handed. He clamped Mark's wrist tightly with one hand like a pair of pliers, and then twisted it gently. With a click, Mark let out a scream like a pig being slaughtered. Chapter 347. I want to restore my husband's authority. Mr. Ma, this is my territory. You are being too presumptuous. If you break something, you have to pay for it. Lin Xuan spoke expressionlessly, while his other hand steadily caught the teacup that was about to fall to the ground. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, but that smile revealed unquestionable majesty. Mr. Lin, it hurts. Don't be like this, let's talk it over. Mark had lost his previous arrogance at this time, and his face was full of pain and pleading. "Get out!" Lin Xuan pushed Mark hard, and he lost his balance and fell to the ground. He got up in a panic, glared at Lin Xuan fiercely, and uttered a fierce threat. "Just wait for the sanctions from Country M. When that happens, you will come to me for help, ha ha ha." Lin Xuan's eyes instantly turned cold, and he said coldly, "I'll give you 1 minute. If you haven't left this building, I will catch up with you, and I will show no mercy." When Mark heard this, he panicked instantly and ran out the door for his life. After finishing, Lin Xuan bought a box of small cakes from Xuanmeng Cake Shop downstairs and went home. That night, Lin Xuan's roommates had a sudden inspiration and took advantage of the weekend to open Summoner's Rift. "Please choose your hero." The cold and familiar computer voice sounded in the room. Lin Xuan sat on the chair in the game room, picked up the bottle of ice-cold happy water, took a sip, and then said to Zhou Quan, "Quaner, I'm warning you seriously. When you have a big move, you have to find the right time to use it. Don't hide it until the end. You are the support and you are the initiator of the team, don't you know?" After saying that, he chose the Happy Windman without any hesitation. "Don't worry, Brother Xuan, believe me, we can do it," Zhou Quan vowed. "I'm telling you, this is my promotion match, so you all should cheer up and don't let me down," Chen Jingeming reminded. "Save this for Zhou Quan. Brother Xuan and I have always been able to carry the whole game," Zhang Zesheng said proudly. "Welcome to Summoner's Rift." Following this passionate declaration, everyone began to fight. At this moment, a beautiful face slowly emerged from the door of the game room. Li Menjiao saw that her husband was concentrating on playing the game. Her beautiful eyes turned slightly, and she knew that her chance for revenge had come. "Humph, she secretly kissed me this morning while I was happily chatting with my bestie, and now it's finally my turn." She moved carefully, walked in quietly, came behind Lin Xuan, and then stood there quietly with a hint of expectation and mystery in her eyes. After a while, Lin Xuan's passionate voice rang out in the game room. "Pay attention to the back, I'll be the C-nice." Although Li Menjiao was a little confused about the game terms, she could feel how intense the battle was just from her husband's excited expression. She stared closely at the scene where Lin Xuan and the others were struggling to fight for the big dragon, secretly calculating in her heart. The time was finally ripe. She saw the moment when Lin Xuan and his men concentrated their firepower on the big dragon and quietly came to Lin Xuan's side. Lin Xuan suddenly noticed someone standing next to him and subconsciously turned his head to look. When he saw that it was his wife, a hint of surprise flashed across his face, and then he asked, "Wife, what's the matter?" Li Menjiao smiled slightly and said softly, "Nothing, Tilda." "Oh, I'll continue playing then." After Lin Xuan finished speaking, he turned around again and continued to stare intently at the flashing game interface. Suddenly, like a breeze blowing by, Li Menjiao's nimble figure slowly squatted down, passed lightly around Lin Xuan's arm, and finally came in front of him. Then she gently crossed her long and white legs and sat leisurely on Lin Xuan's body. Li Menjiao leaned close to Lin Xuan with her pretty face and called softly, "Husband Tilda." "Wife you?" Lin Xuan was stunned for a moment. Li Menjiao would not give her husband any chance to react. She directly stretched out her slender hands, wrapped them around Lin Xuan's neck, and then offered her soft lips, kissing him tightly without letting go, and their warm breath intertwined together. At this time, Lin Xuan could only watch his big dragon being snatched away by the opponent. "Brother Xuan, where's your big one? It's almost at low health." "Brother Xuan, why aren't you moving?" "Damn it, Brother Xuan is offline." However, anxious shouts from teammates were heard in the game channel. At the end of a game, a situation that could have been won in 20 minutes was dragged to 40 minutes before being won with great difficulty. Lin Xuan took off his headphones, then turned his head and looked at Li Menjiao, who was sitting obediently on the sofa drinking milk. There was still a hint of milk on Li Menjiao's charming red lips, and the corners of her mouth were slightly raised, revealing 2 cute dimples. "Honey, why are you looking at me? Just keep playing your game." Lin Xuan first showed his signature smile, then turned back to Mai and said, "Brothers, I have something to take care of, you guys go play." At this time, Li Menjiao realized that something was wrong, and her body involuntarily stood up and ran away. However, before she could leave the game room, she suddenly felt her feet go empty, and the whole world began to spin. When she finally came to her senses, she found herself lying steadily in her husband's strong and warm arms. Lin Xuan picked up Li Menjiao by the waist and gave her a princess hug, looking at her with a smirk on his face. "Honey, what are you doing? Put me down now." Li Menjiao struggled slightly, her 2 white and tender little feet shaking. Lin Xuan first kissed the corner of Li Menjiao's mouth, sucked the remaining milk into his mouth, and said with a smile, "I want to regain my status as a husband." After saying that, he carried Li Menjiao all the way to the master bedroom. At the same time, on the other side of Jinghai City, there was a crackling thunderstorm tonight. Liu Yuxin stayed alone at home quietly, curled up in bed, and kept thinking about what Li Menjiao said to her in the morning. Be careful, something may crawl out from under the bed. Gradually, Liu Yuxin recalled the horror movies she had seen before. It seemed like something was really watching me. No, I have to sleep with the lights on. Chapter 348, He is the Heroic Captain. Time quickly came to the end of September, and the National Day holiday was about to come. In the last class meeting that afternoon, Li Menjiao stood on the podium in the classroom and read out the precautions for the holiday with a smile. After reading out all the precautions, Li Menjiao asked with concern, "Students, are there any other points that you are not clear about or have questions about?" As soon as he finished speaking, the most mischievous student stood up immediately, with a sly smile on his face, and shouted loudly, "No, teacher, can you let us leave school early? We will miss you very much." Other students also echoed, Yes, we will miss you very much. You are the most beautiful teacher, Li, in the world." "Of course not. There are still 30 minutes before the end of get out of class, so please wait patiently." Li Menjiao remained calm and composed and smiled. Seeing that they could not leave school early, the students began to whisper to each other unconsciously. For a moment, the classroom was bustling with people talking to each other, as if it had instantly turned into a bustling vegetable market. "Quiet," Li Menjiao shouted loudly, with her hands on her hips and a stern look on her face. Her eyes scanned every corner of the classroom fiercely. When the students saw that the teacher seemed angry, they immediately sat up straight and dared not make a sound. When Li Menjiao saw this, she burst out laughing. "Would you like to see a movie?" "Yes," the students shouted in unison. Li Menjiao nodded with satisfaction and said, "Then you are not allowed to talk loudly while watching the movie, understand?" "No problem, we promise not to talk," the students answered obediently. Afterwards, Li Menjiao skillfully turned on the projector and started playing animated films for them. When the bell rang, the students picked up their school bags and ran out. As they left, they turned back and shouted, "Goodbye, fairy teacher. Didn't I just tell you not to run around?" Li Menjiao looked at the chaotic scene and shook her head helplessly. It seems that she just spent most of the class talking, but the students just listened to her. Li Menjiao then returned to her office, said goodbye to her colleagues, and drove her Xiaomi SU7 home. After a while, she arrived at the door of Haitian Yijing Villa. The moment she gently pushed open the door, a rich fragrance came to her nose, a smell that made people feel warm and comfortable. At this time, Lin Xuan was busy cooking in the kitchen, wearing an apron. He was concentrating on stir-frying the ingredients in the pot, with a happy smile on his face. At this moment, he suddenly lowered his head, and a pair of slender white hands slowly embraced his waist. "My wife is back." Lin Xuan turned around in surprise and asked with a smile, "Well, thank you for your hard work, husband." Li Menjiao stood on tiptoes and gave him a deep kiss on the right cheek. "Tusk, it's all saliva," Lin Xuan teased with a smile. "Ah, you're disgusted by my stinky husband. Why didn't you say anything when you kissed me?" When Li Menjiao heard this, her eyes suddenly widened slightly, and her rosy little mouth smacked and muttered something blaming Lin Xuan. What kind of kissing maniac? Too poor self-control towards her, too thick-skinned, etc. "Okay, honey, everything smells delicious. Get ready to wash your hands and have dinner. I made you the most delicious spicy braised fish fillets and bassa fish with garlic vermicelli tonight," Lin Xuan coaxed. Li Menjiao listened to Lin Xuan's words, and her little mouth curled up slightly. "HMPH, I'll give you another kiss." She bit Lin Xuan's left cheek hard again, then washed her hands and served the dishes contentedly. The family gathered together at the dinner table. "If our whole family goes, Huijun's house may not be able to accommodate us," Zhang Shulin asked. "Yes, Lin Xuan, please see if there are any hotels available for reservation when the time comes," Lin Zhengguo said. "I have already booked a house, and you can just move in when the time comes." Lin Xuan replied calmly while eating his meal slowly. At this time, Lin Sissy suddenly said, "By the way, brother, we are going to take a plane tomorrow. What should we do if we encounter such a terrible accident again?" She couldn't help but shudder, and the scene where her brother and sister-in-law almost encountered a plane accident immediately emerged in her mind. She felt scared in an instant. "It's okay, my brother is here." Lin Xuan smiled confidently. This month, social media has been frantically reporting and promoting Lin Xuan's heroic deeds. Lin Zhengguo and Zhang Shulin naturally knew about this. However, they did not ask Lin Xuan where he learned to fly a plane. As long as he was fine, it was fine. Who knew what this brat learned in 4 years of college? It was late at night. After Li Menjiao coaxed Dabo and Zaya Abo to sleep, She climbed onto the bed and softly snuggled into Lin Xuan's arms. "Honey, when did you book this house? I haven't seen it yet." She looked up and showed a charming smile. "I forgot to tell you. I'll show it to you now." Lin Xuan opened the photo album on his mobile phone and handed it to Li Menjiao. "Wow, so beautiful, it's actually a courtyard villa," Li Menjiao shouted in surprise. The next morning, after Lin Xuan's family had breakfast, they packed up their things and drove to Jinghai Airport. The group walked into the airport, passed security check, and went to the corresponding waiting room to wait. Lin Xuan suddenly turned around and whispered to Li Menjiao beside him. "Wife, I have something to ask the airport staff. You guys wait here for a while." "Yeah," Li Menjiao nodded gently. Then Lin Xuan stood up, straightened his clothes, and left the waiting room with firm steps. Even in the relatively quiet morning, the lobby of Jinghai Airport is like a bustling stage with people coming and going. People either hurried past dragging their suitcases or stood aside waiting anxiously, each with different moods and purposes. About 15 minutes later, a distinctive figure appeared like a shining star, instantly attracting everyone's attention. He was a young and handsome man, wearing an exquisite and majestic airline captain's uniform, walking slowly towards us. Wow, could he really be? Yes, that's right, he is the heroic captain. Wow, so handsome. Some passengers around couldn't help but start talking in low voices. Then more and more passengers looked at him. After all, the captain usually would not appear in the waiting room, let alone the heroic captain who had just become popular not long ago. Li Menjiao, who was looking down at her mobile phone at the time, looked up in confusion after hearing the noise. When her sight met the figure walking towards her, her eyes were suddenly shocked and her mouth opened slightly. Lin Xuan stood tall and straight, his navy blue captain's uniform gleaming with a mysterious sheen under the light, his golden badge shining with glory. He walked through the crowd and came to Li Menjiao with big strides. The noise around them disappeared in an instant, and the only thing left in the world was their gazes towards each other. Lin Xuan gently held Li Menjiao's face, leaned over, and kissed her forehead affectionately. Chapter 349. Husband, are you playing cosplay? Honey, are you playing cosplay? Li Menjiao whispered softly, looking at Lin Xuan with loving eyes. It's safest for me to fly the plane. Lin Xuan raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a confident smile. When Li Menjiao heard these words, a warm torrent surged in her heart. No wonder my husband insisted on taking a plane to Sichuan province. It turns out that he personally piloted the flight to ensure flight safety. Then my captain husband, you should go and get busy. There are so many people watching us. Li Menjiao lowered her head shyly, with a happy smile on her face. Lin Xuan nodded gently, stroked Li Menjiao's hair lightly, then turned around and walked towards the plane with firm steps. Li Menjiao smiled, raised her cell phone, and took a picture of Lin Xuan's handsome back. Then Lin Xuan boarded the plane and went to the cockpit with the co-pilot. The co-pilot was a young man who had just obtained his certificate and had just turned 30 this year, but his flying skills were already quite proficient. Although he is a little older, the talent and ability displayed by Lin Xuan make him admire him. After entering the cockpit, Lin Xuan said to the co-pilot with a smile, "Hao Bin, go check the plane now." Gu Heibin immediately responded, "Got it." Then he picked up the checklist, left the cockpit, and began a comprehensive inspection of the aircraft before takeoff. Lin Xuan stayed in the cockpit, carefully checking whether the various instruments of the aircraft were operating normally. He operated the control panel skillfully, confirming the status of each indicator one by one. Just then, there was a slight noise from the cockpit door. Lin Xuan looked back and unexpectedly saw a familiar figure. He stood up, opened the cockpit door, smiled, and said, "Are you the chief flight attendant from last time?" The woman standing in front of him was Zai Yanbing. Her face is pure and beautiful, and her fairy-like temperament makes people fall in love with her. At the same time, she was wearing a stewardess uniform, with a slender and straight figure, especially the pair of beautiful legs in black stockings, which exude a kind of enchanting and charming charm. Zai Yanbing smiled slightly. "Captain Lin, long time no see." Lin Xuan smiled, his eyes revealing a trace of emotion, and replied, "Yes, the last time we met, we were on the verge of life and death." Zai Yanbing blinked. A hint of playfulness flashed in her eyes and said with a smile, "So, in this case, we can be considered friends of life and death, right?" "Ha ha ha, it should count." Lin Xuan nodded in response. Zai Yanbing smiled and said seriously, "Last time, you saved all of our lives, and I never had a chance to thank you." After saying that, she reached into her pocket and took out an exquisite little box, quickly handed it to Lin Xuan, and bowed deeply to him to express her sincere gratitude. "Thank you, Captain, you are." Lin Xuan's face was full of confusion. Before she could finish her words, she left the cockpit as quickly as a gust of wind. Zai Yanbing was leaning slightly against the door at this moment, her heart beating wildly. Why does my heart start beating wildly whenever I see him? Lin Xuan is still as handsome as ever. His handsome face seems to be able to illuminate the whole world, and at a young age he has already become a remarkable honorary captain. Am I really in love with him? But it's too late after all. Zai Yanbing knew very well that Lin Xuan already had his own family, and he had his own warmth and happiness, so she didn't want to disturb his life too much. Last time in a critical moment, it was Lin Xuan who saved her life, so she must thank Lin Xuan no matter what. So she carefully selected this Rolex watch worth hundreds of thousands as a gift. Lin Xuan stared at the box in his hand in a daze. If his wife found out, she would probably be jealous. After all the takeoff movements of the aircraft were checked, it began to accept passengers in an orderly manner. Passengers boarded the plane one after another like a trickle. Li Menjiao and Lin Sisi walked side by side in the front. Zhang Xulan and Huang Shifeng each held their babies carefully, and Lin Zhengguo walked at the end with steady steps. Everyone slowly came to the first-class cabin of the plane. The flight attendants had already been waiting here. They were dressed in elegant uniforms and were busy and orderly arranging the passengers to their seats. Zai Yanbing had sharp eyes and quickly spotted Li Menjiao and her group and turned her attention to her. She is Captain Lin's wife and she has two lovely babies. She is so happy. Zai Yanbing has always been very confident about her appearance and figure, but when she saw Li Menjiao, her confidence seemed to be instantly impacted. In comparison, she actually felt that she was a little dull. At this time, Li Menjiao and her group finally found their corresponding seats and were ready to sit down with peace of mind. However, Li Menjiao seemed a little flustered, and she frowned at the seemingly complicated baby seat. What cute two little babies. Zai Yanbing walked forward with a smile. Hello, I'm not very good at using this infant seat, Li Menjiao said apologetically. It's okay, let me help you. It's very simple, just like this. Zai Yanbing was very skilled, and in no time she secured Dabo and Zaya Abo firmly in their seats. The two little guys seemed full of curiosity about the new environment. They didn't cry or make a fuss. They just blinked their big eyes and looked around. They looked so adorable. What a well-behaved baby. He's worthy of being Captain Lin's child, Zai Yanbing exclaimed. Huh, do you know my husband? Li Menjiao asked in surprise. Of course, he saved my life last time, Zai Yanbing replied with a smile. Were you also on the last flight? Li Menjiao asked. Yeah, I'm the flight attendant from last time. Then Zai Yanbing took out two pairs of exquisite baby earplugs from her pocket and gently handed them to Li Menjiao. I think the children are still young. The change in air pressure during the flight may cause discomfort to their ears. This pair of baby earplugs can effectively reduce this effect. Thank you. Li Menjiao took the earplugs and expressed her gratitude with a smile. You're welcome. Zai Yanbing smiled gently, then turned and left. After a while, the plane was ready to take off. Lin Xuan turned on the radio and said in a steady voice, Dear passengers, welcome aboard this flight. I am the captain of this flight, Lin Xuan. The plane is about to take off. Please make sure your seat belts are fastened, especially for the beautiful lady carrying two babies. The children are very cute. Thank you for your cooperation and wish you a pleasant journey. When the passengers heard this, they all showed surprised expressions. They turned their heads and looked at Li Menjiao. Chapter 350, Queuing Pavilion. Li Menjiao blushed again. Wasn't she the one with the two babies? Then other passengers started talking. Someone whispered, Is this the heroic Captain Lin Xuan from before? Another person chimed in. Wow, so lucky I met a hero on my first flight. Someone else excitedly said, It seems that the plane is very safe this time. Everyone has great respect and trust for this heroic captain. As the roar of the engine gradually increased, the plane started slowly and began to taxi on the runway. It accelerated forward, faster and faster. Until it reached a certain speed, the nose of the plane lifted up. The plane left the ground and rushed into the sky. Lin Xuan skillfully controlled the plane, allowing it to rise steadily. He keeps a close eye on the dashboard to make sure everything is running smoothly. Under his piloting, the plane flew through the clouds and headed towards its destination. After the plane flew smoothly at an altitude of 10,000 meters, Li Menjiao sat in her seat gracefully. Her fair and delicate hands gently held up her pretty face, and her beautiful eyes looked quietly out the window. Although I almost had an accident the first time I flew, my husband was flying the plane today, and I didn't feel any fear at all. Instead, I was surrounded by a strong sense of security. Mother, suddenly a tender and clear childish voice was heard. It turned out that the cute little baby was turning his round little head, approaching Li Menjiao with curiosity on his face, and calling in a baby voice. "What's the matter? Xiaobo also wants to see the scenery outside," Li Menjiao asked softly with a smile. Xiaobo just opened his big watery eyes and stared at Li Menjiao intently, but did not give any verbal response. Seeing this, Li Menjiao gently unbuckled Xiaobo's seat belt, and then gently held him in her arms so that the little guy could more freely appreciate the beautiful scenery 10,000 meters above the ground. Iyayas. When Xiaobo looked through the porthole and saw the boundless blue sky and white clouds below, he was so excited that he danced with joy and let out a series of cheerful shouts. "SHH, be good, Xiaobo, and keep your voice down. Other passengers may be sleeping." Li Menjiao quickly put her index finger to her lips, making a gesture of silence. For example, Dabao fell into a sweet dream as soon as he got on the plane. Just like that, after letting Xiaobo enjoy the show for a while, Li Menjiao put him back into the baby seat. It takes about 3 hours to fly from Jinghai City to Chuncheng, so Li Menjiao gently closed her eyes and prepared to take a short nap. Time passed quietly, and 3 hours went by in a flash. After a slight turbulence, the plane landed steadily at Sichuan City Airport. The cabin door slowly opened, and the tourists got off the plane one after another. Li Menjiao and her group arrived at the airport exit. After waiting for a while, they saw a brand new BYD Han sedan slowly driving to the door. The car window rolled down, revealing Lin Xuan's familiar and handsome face. "Honey, where did you get the car?" Li Menjiao asked in surprise. Lin Xuan smiled and replied, "This car was given to me as a gift when I booked the Courtyard Villa. I can use it for free until the end of the lease." After saying that, he swiftly opened the car door, walked to the rear of the car, and skillfully placed everyone's luggage into the spacious trunk. "Wow, the service is so thoughtful," Lin Sissy on the side couldn't help but exclaimed. She walked up to the car with great interest and took a closer look at it. Although the car was cheap, it had a stylish appearance and an exquisite and comfortable interior, and it looked really good. "Sister, stop being in a daze and get in the car." Seeing that Lin Sissy was still standing there, with her chin in her hand, looking thoughtful, Lin Xuan couldn't help but stretch out his fingers and tap her forehead gently. "Oh, I got it," Lin Sissy said coquettishly, then sat in the back seat. Then Lin Xuan returned to the driver's seat, started the car, and sped towards Emerald Garden City. Emerald Garden City is located in the prosperous city of Sichuan, where there are green trees, colorful flowers, tranquility, and elegance, and it is a well-deserved high-end residential community. The Courtyard Villa that Lin Xuan booked is here, and his aunt Lin Huijun also lives here. 40 minutes later, Lin Xuan finally arrived at the parking lot of Qiuting Pavilion. Everyone got off the bus. "Wow, what a beautiful villa," Lin Sissy couldn't help but exclaimed. "Yes, compared with our Sea View Villa, the style is completely different," Li Menjiao said with a smile. What appeared before them was a huge courtyard villa, covering an area of about 2,000 square meters. The entire villa cleverly combines log elements with modern style, retaining the rustic charm of nature while showing a fashionable and trendy feel. "How about this villa?" After Lin Xuan parked the car, he walked over quickly, gently put his arm around Li Menjiao's shoulders, and asked with a smile. "It looks very beautiful." Li Menjiao looked up at Lin Xuan, her eyes full of joy. "Then let's go in and take a look." As he spoke, Lin Xuan took Li Menjiao's soft little hand and walked towards the villa with brisk steps. At the entrance, there is a wide bluestone path that winds along and is full of greenery. The path is surrounded by lush greenery, as if you are in a green ocean. When people slowly walk into the villa, they will first be attracted by the original wood facade and large glass curtain wall. There is a seamless connection between the two. This design allows the indoor and outdoor scenery to blend perfectly together, as if there are no boundaries, allowing people to appreciate the beauty of nature anytime and anywhere. Entering the living room, you will feel it is spacious and bright. The high ceiling is matched with wooden beams, which not only adds a sense of layering to the space, but also shows a sense of grandeur and elegance. On one side of the living room is an exquisite Chinese restaurant and a modern kitchen, equipped with all kinds of high-end kitchenware, which is eye-catching. Continuing walking forward, a courtyard covering an area of 1,200 square meters appears in front of the living room. There are colorful flowers, green lawns like soft carpets, and well-arranged rockeries and rocks. In the center of the courtyard, there is a small artificial lake with clear water, and the bottom of the lake is covered with round pebbles. "This is simply a magnificent painting." At this time, Zhang Xiulan said, Let's go back to the room and rest for a while, and then visit Huijun's house in the evening. Chapter 351 Wife, Who Made You Angry? It was already 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and lunch had been taken on the plane. Then everyone returned to their rooms to rest. Lin Xuan gently took Li Menjiao's hand, walked up the spiral staircase, and finally arrived at the luxurious master bedroom upstairs. When you open the door, a warm and romantic atmosphere hits you. The entire room is decorated very elegantly, with a comfortable and pleasant seating area, a spacious and bright dressing room, an exquisite and elegant private bathroom, and an extremely soft big bed in the center of the room, fully displaying the luxurious quality. Li Menjiao jumped lightly onto the bed and looked out through the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. What came into her sight was a lush green scenery, as if she was in a quiet cottage deep in the forest. Lin Xuan also climbed onto the bed and gently held her in his arms. The breeze blew and the leaves rustled, as if nature was playing a beautiful lullaby. Li Menjiao gradually closed her eyes in Lin Xuan's warm arms and soon fell into a sweet dream. Looking at the beauty sleeping peacefully in his arms, Lin Xuan's face was filled with a happy and satisfied smile. He kissed Li Menjiao's forehead gently and whispered, "Sleep well, my baby." Li Menjiao felt Lin Xuan's kiss. Her eyelashes moved slightly, and the corners of her mouth raised. 2 hours later, the sunlight shone through the gaps in the curtains onto the soft big bed. Li Menjiao woke up slowly and opened her eyes slowly. The first thing she saw was Lin Xuan's strong and broad chest. She couldn't help but look up, and what she saw was Lin Xuan's handsome face, high nose bridge and well-defined chin, every part of which exuded charming charm. Li Menjiao was overjoyed and quickly kissed Lin Xuan on the cheek. Then she sat up lightly and prepared to start packing her luggage. She opened her suitcase, packed her clothes one by one, and placed all kinds of daily necessities in an orderly manner in their appropriate places. Soon, the virtuous woman finished the task. Suddenly, Li Menjiao noticed the captain's uniform her husband had worn that morning hanging nearby. The uniform lay straight on the hanger, but one of the pockets seemed a little bulging. Did my husband secretly buy me a gift again? Curious, Li Menjiao couldn't help but stretch out her slender little hand and gently reached into the pocket to feel around. After a while, she took out an exquisite Rolex watch box. Li Menjiao opened it curiously, and a dazzling Rolex men's watch came into view. Just then, a small piece of paper floated down from somewhere. Li Menjiao quickly squatted down and picked it up. When her eyes fell upon the words on the note, her pupils suddenly contracted, and an expression of disbelief appeared on her face. Half an hour later, Lin Xuan woke up slowly, feeling relaxed all over. He stretched out his arms comfortably and stretched himself comfortably. However, when Lin Xuan turned his head, he was suddenly startled. He saw his wife puffing up her cheeks and glaring at him angrily. She looked like a kitten with its fur standing on end and a bit of anger. Lin Xuan suddenly felt a chill on his back and thought to himself that something was wrong. He quickly hugged Li Menjiao tightly and asked in a very gentle voice, "Wife, what's wrong? Who made you angry?" Li Menjiao remained unmoved and continued to stare at Lin Xuan with her cold eyes, which made him feel uneasy. "Are you hiding something from me?" Li Menjiao's tone was cold as ice. Lin Xuan frowned and began to think hard. But after thinking about it, it seems that there is nothing particularly important worth hiding. So he scratched his head and answered innocently, "It seems not. Wife, did you misunderstand?" Hearing this, Li Menjiao's face became even gloomier. She still had that delicate face and said in a frighteningly calm tone, "Really?" Although she looked calm on the surface, the expression between her eyebrows clearly showed that she was not happy at all. Seeing this, Lin Xuan was completely at a loss, so he could only helplessly plead, "Wife, please give me some hints." Before she finished her words, Li Menjiao suddenly opened her little mouth and bit Lin Xuan's chin hard. Although she bit, Li Menjiao didn't really use much force. After biting, she even kissed him with her little mouth. "Wife, whatever's going on, just tell me directly." Seeing Li Menjiao's reluctant but angry expression, Lin Xuan hugged her tightly in his arms and asked softly. Li Menjiao looked at him with a grieved and angry look, looking very pitiful. "What's the matter with that Rolex watch under your clothes and this note?" As she said this, she pointed towards the bedside table. Lin Xuan looked in the direction she pointed and noticed a Rolex box and a note on the bedside table. He quickly reached out and took the note. He looked at it carefully and saw a line of beautiful handwriting clearly printed on it. It was obviously written by a woman. It read, "Thank you, I wish you happiness." Seeing this, Lin Xuan was speechless. Zai Yanbing said, "Just thank you, why should I add the 4 words, I wish you happiness? No wonder my wife is jealous." Li Menjiao sat on the bed with her legs crossed, her hands clasped across her chest, her teeth biting her soft lips, her eyes looking straight at Lin Xuan, and asked, "When did it start?" "What start? Honey, you misunderstood." Lin Xuan hurriedly hugged Li Menjiao tightly in his arms again, his tone extremely gentle. "You say?" Li Menjiao's hair was disheveled, and her beautiful eyes were staring at Lin Xuan with a faint, watery glow. Lin Xuan patiently explained. "She was the flight attendant in the last plane accident. She came here this morning to thank me and sent it to me. After she handed the item to me, she turned around and ran away. I didn't even have a chance to refuse." Hearing this, Li Menjiao couldn't help but think of Zai Yanbing, who carefully fastened the seat belts for her babies in the morning. She nodded and said softly, "Well, I've seen her. She is indeed very beautiful." At this time, Zai Yanbing became clearer in Li Menjiao's memory. She has a graceful figure and charming charm, and her exquisite face is as flawless as a sculpture. She exudes charming charm in every frown and smile, especially her unique temperament, cold and noble yet charming, a typical image of a cold and domineering lady. However, Lin Xuan said without hesitation, "What does that have to do with me? My wife is much prettier than her." As he spoke, he gently held Li Menjiao's cheeks with both hands and began to kiss her intimately. Li Menjiao coquettishly grabbed Lin Xuan's collar and shoulder blades, looked at him with a slightly resentful look, and asked, "What do you plan to do with this precious gift, husband?" Lin Xuan quickly replied with a smile, "Of course I'll leave it to my dear wife. You can do whatever you want with it." Hearing this, Li Menjiao's dissatisfaction instantly disappeared without a trace, and she finally showed her usual sweet smile that made people feel warm. HMPH, that's more like it. She leaned lightly on Lin Xuan's shoulder, rubbing her right cheek against Lin Xuan from time to time. Chapter 352, My wife doesn't believe me, so she has to accept the punishment. This time, Li Menjiao was really overwhelmed with a sense of crisis. After all, Zai Yanbing's beauty was too stunning to be ignored. Although Li Menjiao doesn't think she is worse than her, she prefers a pure and sweet style, which is completely different from Zai Yanbing's cold and noble type. What should I do if one day my husband becomes aesthetically fatigued with my style and longs for new excitement and freshness? Thinking of this, Li Menjiao couldn't help but feel a tightness in her heart. But you can also try some cold and mature look. Maybe after a transformation, you can bring unexpected surprises and temptations to your husband. Thinking of this, Li Menjiao couldn't help but curl the corners of her mouth. Her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, and she smiled softly. When Lin Xuan heard his wife's gentle laughter, he knew that the misunderstanding was resolved, so he exerted a little more force. In an instant, Li Menjiao felt dizzy. When she came to her senses, she found that Lin Xuan was holding her steadily in his arms and they were lying on the bed together. The two of them pressed tightly together. "Honey, what are you doing?" Li Menjiao pouted, stretched out her slender index finger and gently touched Lin Xuan's lips, her eyes bright and charming. "Wife, if you don't believe me, you must accept the punishment." Lin Xuan grabbed Li Menjiao's little hand and said with a wicked smile, "Everyone would be suspicious in this situation, okay." Li Menjiao turned her head away with an angry look on her face, glanced to the side, and pursed her pink lips high. "No excuses allowed." Lin Xuan straightened Li Menjiao's face, and then sealed her tempting red lips. "Ha ha ha, husband, I was wrong, please forgive me." Li Menjiao was kissed by Lin Xuan, and the words she originally wanted to protest suddenly became unclear. Just as they were immersed in this sweet love, a rapid and loud knock on the door sounded in the room without warning. "Brother, sister-in-law, we are getting ready to go to my aunt's house." Lin Sissy's clear and pleasant voice came into the house through the crack in the door. "Hubby, did you hear me? Get up." Li Menjiao took the opportunity to push Lin Xuan away, a triumphant smile on her face. "I'll deal with you tonight." Seeing the current situation, Lin Xuan had no choice but to let Li Menjiao go for the time being. "Sissy will be there soon." Li Menjiao responded to her sister outside the door while sitting up straight with quick movements. The two began to change clothes. Li Menjiao carefully helped Lin Xuan tidy up his slightly messy hair, and then she put on some fresh and elegant makeup. After everything was ready, the family set off for Lin Huijun's home. Because they belong to the same residential complex and are quite close to each other, everyone pushed two strollers and walked there leisurely. This place is worthy of being the premier high-end residential area in Sichuan. Luxurious and high-end villas can be seen everywhere. The unique architectural style demonstrates dignity and elegance. Not only that, the greening work in the entire area has been done to the extreme. Looking around, the lush green trees look like huge parasols. The colorful flowers emit bursts of charming fragrance, which makes people intoxicated. On the other side, Lin Huijun and Wang Zheng were busy in the kitchen preparing a sumptuous dinner. Lin Huijun was seen cutting vegetables skillfully, while directing her husband Wang Zheng to help. "Honey, please wash those vegetables," Lin Huijun said, pointing to a pot of fresh vegetables. "Oh, and let's steam this lobster later." Lin Huijun turned around again and pointed at a lively lobster in the sink and gave instructions. Then she poked her head out of the kitchen and shouted towards the living room, "Ning Ning, clean up the living room quickly. Your uncle and his family will be here soon." "I know," there was only a crisp response. Following the sound, I saw Wang Zinning, who was originally sitting cross-legged on the soft sofa, slowly standing up. Her long chestnut curly hair like seaweed was casually draped behind her. Her delicate facial features were charming and refined, and her pair of long and straight legs made her already tall figure even more graceful and elegant. This person is Lin Xuan's cousin, Wang Zinning, who is 3 years older than him and still unmarried. While carefully tidying up the slightly messy living room, she recalled how she used to bully Lin Xuan when she was a child. "I went abroad to study and just came back recently. When I think about it carefully, it seems like I haven't seen you for 3 or 4 years. I wonder if Xia Oxuan, the little brother who was always teased by me, has become more handsome and mature over the past few years." Ding dong tilde, the doorbell rang. I'm coming." Hearing the doorbell, Lin Huijun, who was busy in the kitchen, walked quickly to the door happily. Looking through the camera outside the door, she saw that it was her younger brother Lin Zhengguo and his family who had arrived, so she quickly reached out and opened the door. "Sister, we are here," Lin Zhengguo, who was standing outside the door, said with a friendly smile on his face. "It's been a while since you last came here. Come in, everyone." Lin Huijun warmly invited them into the house. When her eyes fell on the stroller beside her, and she saw the 2 cute little ones, she immediately reached out and picked up the eldest child first. Looking at the pretty little girl in her arms with skin as white as snow, Lin Huijun exclaimed with joy, "Oh, look at our little chicken. Her facial features are so delicate. She will definitely be a stunning beauty when she grows up." After saying that, she gently pinched Dabao's pink little face. At this moment, the little baby, who had been quietly staying in the stroller, seemed to feel a little uneasy about the unfamiliar environment around him. He began to wave his little hands and feet, making "ah, ah" sounds from his mouth. "Oh, Xiaobo is anxious too. Our Shuyi is also very cute." Lin Huijun put Dabo down and picked up Xiaobo, looking at the chubby little boy in her arms. At this moment, Wang Zinning walked slowly from the living room with light steps and called out affectionately, "Uncle, Aunt." Zhang Xiulan, who was standing nearby, looked over when she heard the voice. A hint of surprise flashed in her eyes, and she quickly responded, "Zin Ning, I haven't seen you for many years. You have become more and more beautiful now." "Really, thank you, Aunt." Then Wang Zinning stood on tiptoe, stretched her neck and looked behind her, then said mischievously, "Brother Xia Oxuan, stop hiding and come out quickly so I can take a good look at you." Chapter 353, Young People Are All Honest. Hearing this, Lin Xuan, who was hiding behind, had no choice but to step forward with a slightly awkward smile on his face. He scratched the back of his head and said, "Hey, Sister Zin Ning, it's been a long time." Wang Zinning blinked her bright eyes and looked at Lin Xuan, who was a whole head taller than her. She felt a little dissatisfied. Without saying a word, she quickly stretched out her slender arms, hooked Lin Xuan's neck like a snake, and pulled hard, pulling his head under her armpits. "Brother Xiaoxuan, I haven't seen you for 4 years. Have you grown taller?" Wang Zinning laughed proudly. "Stop messing around, Zin Ning." Lin Huijun, who had been standing nearby, couldn't help but frown and glared at her daughter in reproach. Then her eyes quietly turned to Li Menjiao, who was standing aside and seemed a little dazed. At this moment, Wang Zinning seemed to suddenly remember something important. It seemed that her cousin had already started a family. "Then isn't this innocent and beautiful girl next to him who looks a little silly my brother's wife?" Thinking of this, Wang Zinning quickly loosened her hands that were hooked around Lin Xuan's neck and pushed him aside. She walked briskly to Li Menjiao, a warm smile on her face, and took the initiative to introduce herself. "Hi, how are you? My name is Wang Zinning, and I'm Lin Xuan's cousin. We have loved playing around like this since we were little, so don't take it to heart." At this time, Li Menjiao was wearing a light oatmeal-colored long trench coat, which perfectly wrapped her graceful body, making her look fashionable and generous. She paired the trench coat with a snow-white lace dress, the hem of which just reached her knees, perfectly outlining the lines of her straight and slender legs. The whole person looks elegant and charming. "It's okay, it just shows that you and your sister have a good relationship," Li Menjiao said kindly with a smile on her face. At this moment, Wang Zheng slowly walked out of the kitchen and greeted everyone warmly. Don't just stand there, come in and sit down and have a good chat. So everyone moved to the spacious and bright living room, sat on the comfortable sofa, and chatted happily while sipping the fragrant tea. Li Menjiao looked around inadvertently and found that Lin Xuan's aunt Lin Huijun also lived in a detached villa. Although the scale of this villa is slightly smaller than my own, it is still considered a wealthy family in Sichuan City. Wow, what a cute little baby. Wang Xining reached out her hand, gently held Xiaobo in her arms, and lifted him up high. The little guy has a chubby face and looks very cute. His little hands and feet are dancing in the air. He looks exactly like Lin Xuan when he was a child. Ning Ning, look how adorable this child is. When can you give me a baby as cute as this? Lin Huijun turned around with Dabao in her arms, her face full of love. Why are you in such a hurry? I'm still young. Wang Xining responded casually with an indifferent look on her face. Girl, you're almost 30 years old. How can you still be considered young? Lin Huijun shook her head slightly and said earnestly, No way, I'm only 28 today. You say I look old at 30. Wang Xining pouted and retorted with a hint of anger. You're already 29 in lunar age, said Lin Huijun. At this time, Wang Xining smiled and turned her gaze to the cute Xiao Lingxuan beside her, and said softly, Young people don't talk about virtual age with you. We all use real age. Right, Xiao Lingxuan. As she spoke, she made a playful face, trying to tease the little guy. Wow, Tilda, Xiaobo might be uncomfortable being held up, or maybe he was a little scared looking at the strange woman in front of him, so he burst into tears. Ah, why are you crying? Wang Xining panicked for a moment. She hurriedly changed her position and hugged Xiaobo tightly, saying, Don't cry, don't cry. But Xiaobo kept crying, and finally Li Menjiao took Xiaobo back. When Xiaobo fell into the arms of his familiar mother, he stopped crying and called out tenderly, Mom. Hearing her son's call, Li Menjiao was overjoyed and responded quickly and gently. Mom is here, don't cry, baby. Your cousin was just playing with you. Wang Xining saw Li Menjiao's gentleness, virtue, and motherly love, and suddenly she wanted to have a child herself. She turned to look at Lin Xuan, then gave him a thumbs up, saying, Brother, you have good taste. At this time, Wang Zheng walked out of the kitchen steadily with a smile on his face, holding a plate of fragrant dishes in both hands. He smiled and said, Everyone get ready to eat. Everyone stood up and sat around the spacious and exquisite dining table with great interest. The table was filled with rich and delicious food, which made people salivate. Everyone was enjoying the delicious food and chatting happily, and the whole restaurant was filled with a warm and harmonious atmosphere. After dinner, Wang Xining took advantage of the fact that no one else was paying attention, quietly pulled up Lin Xuan's sleeve, and stealthily took him out of the villa. As soon as they got outside, Wang Xining couldn't wait to ask, Brother Xia Oxuan, you're doing well. I haven't seen you for 4 years. You already have 2 children. Tell me how you tricked your sister-in-law into your marriage. As she spoke, she also looked at Li Menjiao, who was helping to clean up the dishes in the house. Li Menjiao has a graceful figure and a pure and elegant temperament. Even in a campus full of beautiful girls, she can definitely be called a school beauty. Facing Wang Xining's curious questioning, she replied with a playful smile. Sister, there is no such thing as cheating or not. It's actually very simple. I just did this first, then that, and finally this again, and it all came together. Obviously, Lin Xuan's words were purely perfunctory. Wang Xining was completely confused. She blinked her eyes and asked in confusion, Brother, what are you talking about? Are you trying to fool me? Lin Xuan chuckled and continued to talk nonsense. Sister Xin Ning, I think you should stop being so gossipy. You might as well find a good husband and marry him, and then give birth to a big fat baby and let your aunt help take care of it. How great it would be. After saying that, he turned around and ran away before Wang Xining could react. How dare you, little brat, meddle in my business? I'll teach you a lesson. Wang Xining stamped her feet in anger and hurriedly started to chase him. But who knew that Lin Xuan ran like the wind and slipped into the villa in the blink of an eye. Looking at the direction where Lin Xuan disappeared, she helplessly smiled with relief. Chapter 354, My wife actually learned to run away. After staying at his Aunt Lin Huijun's house until after 9 o'clock in the evening, Lin Xuan and his party returned home. Wang Xining also made an appointment with Li Menjiao and Lin Sissy to go shopping the next day. Of course, he also looked for Lin Xuan, but he righteously rejected him. This woman must want to use herself as free labor again. After washing up at night, Lin Xuan walked out of the bathroom wearing loose and comfortable pajamas, and found that his wife, who had just come out of the bath and smelled fragrant, was gone. In the baby's room, Lin Xuan walked over to take a look. The 2 little guys were sleeping soundly, and there was no sign of his wife. Is it in the courtyard downstairs? just as he was about to turn around and go downstairs. A clear, pleasant, joyful laughter suddenly came from Lin Sissy's room. "Wife, are you in there?" Lin Xuan knocked on the door gently. There was a brief silence in the room, and then a gentle response came. "Not here, Tilda." Then Lin Sissy's mischievous voice sounded. "Brother, my sister-in-law said she wants to sleep with me tonight. You should just enjoy the feeling of being alone in the empty room." "No, give my wife back to me," Lin Xuan said, and was about to open the door but found that it was locked. Unexpectedly, there was a crisp click sound, and the door was actually locked. "Why is it still locked?" Lin Xuan knocked on the door helplessly. "Of course it's to stop you from taking my sister-in-law away by force," Lin Sissy said coquettishly. "Wife, open the door quickly," Lin Xuan shouted from outside. Li Menjiao remained indifferent after hearing this. She still sat cross-legged on the bed, laughing with Lin Sissy. After a while, it became quiet outside the door, and no sound was heard. Li Menjiao thought her husband had gone back obediently and was preparing to announce her victory to Lin Sissy. But at this moment, a slight noise suddenly came from the door. Li Menjiao's heart tightened and she looked in the direction of the sound. She saw that the door, which was originally closed, actually made a slight click sound. Lin Xuan is unlocking the door. Li Menjiao hid behind Lin Sissy in panic, looking at the door. Sure enough, the next moment, there was a slight creak sound and the door was slowly pushed open. Lin Xuan walked in slowly, holding the key and with a sly smile on his face. His eyes were fixed on Li Menjiao, and he smiled softly. "Wife, it's getting late. We should go back to our room and rest. I want to sleep with Sissy today. Please go away." Li Menjiao knew that Lin Xuan was going to punish her tonight, so she ran to Lin Sissy for refuge. "Brother, what are you doing? Don't force my sister-in-law." Lin Sissy stepped forward, opened her arms like a hen protecting her chicks, and blocked Lin Xuan's way. A pair of big watery eyes were full of vigilance, and it looked very cute. 1648. Lin Xuan's mouth corners slightly raised, and he uttered these words slowly. "You want to get rid of me just by one? Dream on," Lin Sissy said angrily with her hands on her hips. 10648. Lin Xuan raised his eyebrows slightly and spoke again. 10 are the ones I want. Sister-in-law, why don't you go back with my brother? I can't sleep well, and it would be bad if I disturb you." Lin Sissy turned around and said to Li Menjiao seriously. Li Menjiao opened her beautiful eyes, her face full of confusion. "Huh." While she was stunned, Lin Xuan seized the opportunity, suddenly exerted force on his feet, and rushed forward like a gust of wind. He nimbly walked around Lin Sissy and came to Li Menjiao in one step. Then, he stretched out his arms without hesitation and picked up Li Menjiao in his arms like a princess. "Husband, put me down quickly." Li Menjiao hurriedly hugged Lin Xuan's neck and complained coquettishly. "Good boy, get ready to go back to bed." Lin Xuan smiled, lowered his head and kissed her lightly on the forehead and said gently, "Hey Tilda, if you want to kiss me, go back and kiss me, brother. Remember to count 10,648s tomorrow," Lin Sissy shouted. "No problem." Lin Xuan carried Li Menjiao out of Lin Sissy's room. As soon as she returned to the master bedroom, Li Menjiao felt her body lighten, and she was gently thrown onto the soft and comfortable big bed. "My wife has actually learned to run away. This is an even greater crime." Lin Xuan's mouth curled up slightly, revealing an evil smile. He supported himself firmly on the bed with his hands, leaned forward, and stared at the lovely and charming Li Menjiao. "I didn't." Stubborn Li Menjiao knew she couldn't escape, and decided to go out on her own initiative. She stretched out her arms and wrapped them around Lin Xuan's neck again, pulling it down hard. Then she opened her cherry lips and bit his chin. Then Lin Xuan's overwhelming kisses fell upon Li Menjiao, instantly drowning her. Time passed quietly, and in the blink of an eye it was the next day, when the first soft and warm sunlight in the early morning gently falls on Qiuting Pavilion. The whole courtyard seems to be endowed with new life and vitality. The morning light shines through the gaps in the leaves, casting mottled shadows. The dewdrops sparkled on the tips of the green grass like tiny diamonds. In the clear pond, fish swim happily, occasionally jumping out of the water, creating ripples. At this time, Lin Xuan and Li Menjiao were still immersed in sweet dreams, sleeping comfortably in the room. It was not until the sun was high in the sky that they slowly woke up. After getting up, the two did not rush to do other things, but played with the lovely Dabo and Xiaobo. Looking at the innocent, smiling faces of the babies and listening to their clear laughter like silver bells, at this moment, life seems so peaceful and beautiful. This is what a holiday should be like. In the afternoon, Wang Xining drove her Porsche to Qiuting Pavilion and took Lin Sissy and Li Menjiao out shopping. Lin Zhengguo and Wang Zheng also went out together and chatted and laughed. Zhang Xulin and Huang Shifeng also took their baby to their aunt's house to chat. For a moment, Lin Xuan was the only one left in Qiuting Pavilion. A bit boring, so Lin Xuan also came to the garage and drove the BYD Han out for a stroll. The vehicle was driving smoothly on the wide road in Sichuan City, and the breeze gently brushed through the window, bringing a hint of coolness. Lin Xuan was leisurely enjoying the scenery along the way. At this moment, a luxurious 4S store appeared not far ahead. Rolls-Royce 4S store. As a car enthusiast, he skillfully turned on the turn signal, then gently turned the steering wheel, and the car drove smoothly into the parking area of the Rolls-Royce 4S store. After parking the car, Lin Xuan pushed open the door and walked towards the door of the luxury car dealership with steady steps. As soon as I entered the door, a beautiful young lady in a well-tailored uniform and black stockings came up to me warmly and asked with a sweet smile, "Welcome, sir. Are you here to buy a car?" This young lady not only has charming body curves, but also has a bright and beautiful face that makes people's eyes light up. I have to say, the higher end the product, the younger and prettier the sales staff are. I don't know who came up with this clever idea. Of course, Lin Xuan was not interested in any of these, as none of them were prettier than his wife. His purpose was simple. He just came to see the cars. "Just take a quick look," Lin Xuan replied in a flat tone. Chapter 355. Do you want to pick one up and give it to Xiaoxuan yourself? Okay then, let me show you around. Salesperson Yi Xiaoan still maintained her professional smile, enthusiastic yet measured. However, just as she was about to lead Lin Xuan on a tour, she was unexpectedly grabbed by the arm by a colleague next to her. "Xiao Wen, who are you bringing in? Look at him. He looks like a fresh-faced kid who just graduated. How can he afford a Rolls-Royce? At most, he's just a little more handsome." The person who spoke was named Zhang Manking. She had just witnessed with her own eyes that Lin Xuan drove a BYD Han worth hundreds of thousands of dollars into the store, and she had already determined in her heart that Lin Xuan could not be a potential customer. After hearing this, Yi Xiaoan smiled and said confidently, "Xiaoqing, remember, never judge a person's purchasing power by his appearance. Help me prepare the POS machine." After that, she quickly followed Lin Xuan's footsteps. Zhang Manking shook her head helplessly. There was no hope. On the other side, Wang Xining, Li Menjiao and Lin Sisi were happily shopping in a bustling shopping mall. They shuttled between the dazzling shops, laughing and chatting happily. "Sister-in-law, come and have a look. I found a great set of clothes that I think will be very suitable for you and Xiaoxuan." Wang Xining shouted excitedly to Li Menjiao, who was not far away. Hearing the shouting, Li Menjiao walked over quickly, and Lin Sisi beside her followed closely behind. When they saw the clothes, both of them couldn't help but light up. "Wow, sister-in-law, I think you and brother will look great in these clothes," Lin Sisi said with envy on her face. Li Menjiao leaned in closer to take a closer look, and her eyes instantly shone brightly like the twinkling stars in the night sky. What I saw in front of me was a set of exquisite panda couples' ancient costumes. "It looks very nice." Li Menjiao reached out and touched the material of the clothes, which was not bad. The men's attire is a light green, wide-sleeved robe made of light gauze. A playful panda is embroidered on the robe with white thread, which looks vivid and natural. Paired with a white inner shirt, the collar and cuffs are embroidered with a circle of bamboo branches and leaves using light green silk thread. The women's version is a long jacket with a cross collar and wide sleeves. On the light green background, large bamboo patterns are embroidered with white silk thread to create the atmosphere of a bamboo forest. Paired with a light green floor-length skirt, the skirt is decorated with panda and bamboo prints. In addition, there is a unique bamboo-shaped hairpin with a three-dimensional panda on the head, lying lazily on the bamboo joint, which is very cute. What will a girl do when she sees a piece of clothing that she likes? Of course, I paid the full amount. "Sir, please take care and welcome back next time." Yi Xiaoan stood at the door with a smile on her face and an elegant posture, watching Lin Xuan leave. The sunlight fell on her, outlining a charming silhouette. "Xiao Wen, you see, I told you, he simply doesn't have the money to buy it." Zhang Manking on the side curled her lips and said with a hint of disdain, "Well, having one more customer always means one more hope, and I think he has a good temperament. Maybe he will become one of our big customers in the future," Yi Xiaoan said with a smile. "Ha ha ha, Xiaoan, you're attracted to him, right? Look how you praise him like a flower." Zhang Manking suddenly came up to Yi Xiaoan, staring at her with her big eyes, a teasing look on her face. Yi Xiaoan's cheeks flushed instantly like a ripe apple. She pushed Zhang Manking coquettishly and said, "No way, don't talk nonsense. Tusk, 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 our Xiaoan also gets shy around boys sometimes. But I have to say, he is really handsome and has a good figure. It would be great if he could be my boyfriend. Zhang Manking blinked and said with a smile. Just then, Zhang Manking turned around and was about to walk out. Seeing this, Yi Zioan hurriedly reached out and grabbed her sleeve. Zioking, where are you going? Zhang Manking turned around, raised her eyebrows, and answered confidently. Go ask him for WeChat. Don't worry, sister, I the best wingman will help you deal with him. Hey, stop it. Look, there are new customers coming in over there. Yi Zioan said, pointing at a few people who had just walked into the store. The two of them played around for a while before continuing to work. At the same time, Lin Xuan continued to drive the BYD Han in Sichuan City. On the other side, three young and beautiful girls finished their shopping trip in the clothing store while chatting and laughing, and then continued to stroll leisurely in the spacious and bright mall. When passing by the rows of neatly arranged, colorful claw machines, Li Menjiao, who was walking in the middle, suddenly had her eyes light up, and she quickly stopped in front of one of the claw machines. The transparent glass window was filled with adorable little panda dolls, some sitting or lying down in various postures, and each one was so adorable. Seeing this, Lin Sissy, who had been following beside him, asked curiously, Sister-in-law, do you like this doll? Yeah, Li Menjiao nodded slightly, then picked up her mobile phone to scan the code and insert coins. Sister-in-law, don't be impulsive. This thing is purely a waste of money. If we really want it, we can just go to the roadside stalls and buy it. The price is much cheaper. Lin Sissy quickly spoke out to stop her. Is that so? Let's go then, Li Menjiao said reluctantly. Although she said this, her eyes were still fixed on the little cuties in the claw machine. Wang Xining, who was standing nearby, took in all of this. She smiled and said, Sister-in-law, you want to pick one up for Zaya Oxuan yourself, right? Yes, I think this panda is so cute. I want to pick one for my husband to play with. Li Menjiao blushed immediately when her thoughts were guessed. Then leave it to me, sissy. The meaning of a doll you make yourself is very different from one you buy from a street stall. After saying that, Wang Xining waved her hand proudly, scanned the QR code without hesitation, and paid for 10 grabbing opportunities. Then she placed both hands firmly on the operating lever and stared intently at the target in the claw machine. My brother doesn't know anyway, and the doll you picked out now, Sister Xining, was not picked out by your sister-in-law herself. Lin Sissy pointed it out. Okay, Wang Xining admitted that she wanted to play, but she was very unskilled, and the food dropped every time she tried to pick it up 5 times. Oh my, why does it always fall down in the middle? Wang Xining stomped her feet in anger and couldn't help but reach out and slap the claw machine hard. Just then, a tall and handsome boy noticed this place for some time. He watched from afar as the 3 beauties were busy in front of the claw machine for a long time, but still got nothing. He was secretly delighted and felt that his chance to show off had come. So he walked up confidently, showing a charming smile, and asked softly, Beauty, do you need help? Wang Xining was furious at the moment. When she heard that someone was trying to flirt with her, she yelled without even looking up, Get lost, don't bother me. This roar was like a bolt from the blue. Not only did it scare the boy, but even Li Menjiao and Lin Sissy, who were standing beside him, were stunned. Chapter 356. What a stimulating taste, I want to eat more. The boy left in disgrace. It turned out to be a tigress. Wang Xining then played it 3 more times and was full of expectations each time, but unfortunately the results were still unsatisfactory. Especially the last time, the doll was about to fall into the exit, but it tilted slightly at the moment of falling and was not caught. No more playing, no more playing. Let me give it to you guys to play. Wang Xining gave up her seat angrily. Her originally fair face turned slightly red because of anger, and her little mouth was pouted high. Sister-in-law, I don't know how to play, you do it. Lin Sissy looked at Li Menjiao with expectation. I only played it once. Li Menjiao walked forward with a smile and reached out to hold the control handle. After a short while, Li Menjiao successfully held the 3 cute and adorable panda dolls in her arms. Wow, sister-in-law, you are so awesome, Lin Sissy couldn't help but exclaimed. Li Menjiao smiled slightly and said modestly, I'm just lucky. After saying that, she handed the 2 panda dolls in her hands to Lin Sissy and Wang Xining respectively, and kept one for herself, holding it tightly in her arms. At this time, Wang Xining suddenly laughed awkwardly and said, Ha ha ha, you are worthy of being my sister-in-law, you are amazing. Let's go, we are all tired from walking around, and my stomach has been growling with hunger for a long time. Now I will take you to find some delicious food to fill your stomach. At this moment, night has fallen, and the sky is full of twinkling stars. The street lights on both sides of the street emit soft light, illuminating the way forward for people. As Wang Xining walked, she turned her head and said to the 2 people behind her, How can we not eat hot pot when we come to Sichuan? Let's go. So Wang Xining took Lin Sissy and Li Menjiao to a famous local hot pot restaurant. The store was bustling with people, and the air was filled with the rich aroma of hot pot. "Sissy, I think you seem to be a little darker than before." Wang Zinning picked up a piece of tender beef, put it into the pot and boiled it for a few times, then put it in her mouth, chewing and speaking incoherently. "Yeah, it was during the military training at the beginning of the school term that I got sunburned." Lin Sissy also picked up a piece of premium pork belly and stuffed it into her mouth, saying, "Is that so? Then I'll take you to do skin care and whiten your skin later," Wang Zinning said considerately. "Okay, Tilda." Lin Sissy nodded happily, but her mouth was still busy, constantly putting food into it. Li Menjiao, who was sitting nearby, was silently eating her own clear soup base, but her beautiful eyes would occasionally glance at the red, spicy hot pot opposite. Looking at the red peppers and various spices boiling in the pot, she couldn't help swallowing. "I have heard that people in Sichuan are famous for their ability to eat spicy food. Although I can't eat spicy